Hey guys, first regardsman here, and today I'll be talking about one of the most powerful builds for Siege mode in patch 9.0 to absolutely demolish bosses. Now to do this, we'll be using the tactical class and the bolt rifle with grenade launcher. Now this weapon used to be like the single most OP weapon in the entire game because way back when, Emperor's Vengeance used to give you all of your grenades back off a single proc, stupidly overpowered at the time, but they did patch that out. But we were once again OP thanks to requisition terminals giving us ammo boxes on command. There's also an amazing perk synergy here with this because we do have the perk here, Spare Power. Collecting an ammo box restores ability charge by 25%. So if you have the perk up here, Vital Data, that gives you 50% of your scan charge back on Extremis or Terminus level scan, you can just dump out all of your grenades like a precise calibration and concentrate fire scan zone, absolutely delete whatever is in like your path or just like what's behind it, to be honest, and you just pick up 2 ammo boxes, get all of your grenades back, and guess what? Your Auspex is back once again. This is amazing for cycling horde clear. You might be thinking that like, wait, like this is going to cost me so many requisition points, but it really doesn't cost you that many. If you use it strategically, you're just going to be doing stupid damage and your horde clear rate is going to be absurd. So it really is that powerful, and Auspex just makes everything more valuable, period, and also enables all of your teammates. Now for the actual setup on the weapon perk tree here, I just build for ammo because you don't actually use the gun portion of this all that much whatsoever. So really we just want to pick up perks like extended magazine, increased capacity, and stuff like that, because these will boost up the total amount of grenades we have with this build, which will come out to like 12. Now we don't actually pick up the perk here, Tactical Precision. Headshots that deal 20% more damage, non-headshot damage decreases by 10%, because this actually lowers all non-headshot damage by 10%, period, including your grenade launcher, so we don't really want that, which is why we kind of skip over it. We just build for everything else and pick up Headhunter here, and also pick up Recoupment for extra armor restore, because Tactical does benefit from this. I won't lie to you guys, you are basically a grenade Andy, but this thing's CHP recovery and damage is just that good that it's still top tier for Siege mode. Super strong, probably the best weapon on Tactical currently for like clearing bosses and hordes, especially in the later waves. Now for the secondary weapon, I do take a plasma pistol. We mainly use this for a rate of fire like stagger on soul can terminators and stuff like that, and occasionally CHP regen and the AoE gun strikes. Now for the perk tree, I just build for full ammo and charge speed because we are going to be taking balanced distribution, so our secondary will not be doing as much damage as say like plasma boost was, because we really just want to max out our nade launcher damage. Now down here, I just take a balanced chain sword or a block chain sword. It's really up to you. It doesn't matter too much. For the most part, just be spamming grenades, and that's kind of the way this build works. But if you want to use a balanced one or even a fencing one, you can sure do that as well. Either way, I just build it this way for the balanced and fencing version because this just gives you the full throttle, momentum gain, and combined onslaught, lets you benefit from your light attacks a lot more. Now for our tactical perk tree selection, I do take balanced distribution first. Your primary weapon deals 10% more damage, but your secondary weapon deals 10% less damage. We are pretty much only going to be using our primary on this build, and when we do use our plasma pistol, it is mainly just to stagger guys, so it doesn't matter too much. This is just free damage for our nades, which is really what we want here. Next perk I take is Heightened Vigor. After a perfectly timed parry, block, or dodge, you deal 10% more melee and gun strike damage, do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. Now having no knockback while firing your grenades is just too damn important to not have, in my opinion. I have tried out the perk here, Relentless Pursuit. After a gun strike, range damage increases by 25% for 5 seconds. This is not a bad perk, but 5 seconds is not a very long uptime. I do wish it functioned more like the other one in the Sniper Prestige perk tree that is 20% damage boost for 10 seconds, but unfortunately it's 175, so Heightened Vigor is just way better. And the next perk I take here is a little strange to a lot of people. It's Steady Aim. Now I know you may be wondering, why the hell would I take Steady Aim over Emperor's Vengeance? Well, it's because you don't actually use the procs of Emperor's Vengeance all that much for your nades because you're spamming ammo boxes in this, and the extra boss damage from this actually matters a lot. I know it doesn't sound like it'd be that good, but when I first heard about it, I thought the exact same thing, and I took it in game, and it was incredibly powerful. Steady Aim really does boost up your AoE terminus damage tremendously, and that's really what you need on this class, period, especially with this build. Now, for the team perk selection, I just take Secure Stockpile. Equipment charge restored by 1 for all squad members. Cooldown is 60 seconds. Now, you could max out your damage with things like Aligned Aim for your grenade launcher, but really, Secure Stockpile is just too good to not take in Siege mode, so this one's just better overall. Now, for the gear perk tree, I just take Vital Data. Scanning Extremis or Terminus level enemy restores Auspex scan charge by 50%. Like I said before, this one will help you cycle back into your spare power and get full value out of 2 grenade boxes to get your grenades back, and just cycle Auspex over and over and over. Very, very powerful, especially in the later waves of Siege, and honestly, just pumping out out Auspex for your team is going to nuke the Horde anyways, so it's totally worth requisition points. Now, next perks I take are Precise Calibration. Enemies marked by Auspex Scan Zone take an additional 75% damage, but Auspex Scan Radius is reduced by 25%, and the perk here, Concentrated Fire. Auspex Scan Zone lasts 60% longer, and enemies marked by Auspex Scan take an additional 120% damage, but they lose a mark when they leave the scanned area. Now, these two perks do stack. This makes it so when you have an Auspex down, anything in the Auspex zone just gets shit on, is like the best way to put it. And if your teammates help you fire on like a boss in here, they're just going to die. Like, the bosses are going to die. They will not be able to withstand your grenades plus plasma and other things from your teammates. It's just too strong. Now, for the signature perk tree, we take Radiant Impact. A melee finisher additionally deals significant area of effect damage in a 10-meter radius. Cooldown is 90 seconds. This is just a super powerful AoE perk, way better than these other two signature perks and is a serious buff, so pretty much always take this, especially in Siege mode, where AoE is so damn powerful. Now for the Prestige perk selection, I do take Skilled Supplier first. Ammo Reserve increases by 15%. This actually gives us more total grenades, so we pretty much always take this with a grenade launcher build. Next perk we take here is Resilience. Medicae Stims restore 40% more HP. We are not that tanky on the tactical class here, we're quite squishy, so having more valuable stims is very good for us, especially since we will be eating into more requisition points than usual anyways, so making those stims a little bit more valuable is pretty damn good. Next perk I take is Fortitude. Health increases by 15%, pretty self-explanatory. This is just a health increase for a class that has like basically no tank perks. Pretty much always take this as well. And Spare Power, collecting an ammo box for its ability charged by 25%. This is like the most fundamental perk to ever have with a grenade launcher build, period. So always take this as well. Now, you may be wondering where the hell is Acuity? Well, we don't really need it because we don't really benefit from headshot damage whatsoever. So skipping over Acuity for this build works just fine. Now, that's pretty much all I have to say about the actual build setup here. Really, the bolt rifle with the grenade launcher is just stupid value and horde clear potential, and even though you are eating through requisition points, your horde clear is so damn good that doesn't actually matter all that much, and you get like full value out of this thing anyways. And like ammo boxes are pretty damn cheap, especially with how cheap they make Guardian Relics and Armor Boost and even the Dreadnought now. Hey guys, first Regardsman here, and today I'll be talking about a Stalker Bolt Rifle build for patch 9.0 Space Marine 2 for the tactical class. Now the Stalker Bolt Rifle did pick up a couple buffs this patch. The Firepower variant now has a times 2.3 headshot multiplier instead of times 2, and the Rate of Fire variant had its rate of fire slightly increased. So they're both very strong options, but today I will be using the Firepower variant because when we stack this with perks like Balanced Distribution for 10% increased primary damage and Aligned Aim for 15% increased range damage overall, we kind of do a stupid amount of headshot damage now. And especially if you have things like the Adamant Hunter perk active, which is when your health is low 30%, headshots deal 25% more damage. This is a very noticeably improved weapon over the previous Firepower variant, and it's kind of ridiculous how quickly you can kill some of the Majoris in this game. Now, I do just move down the top tree for pure headshot damage, and I pick up a very important perk in my opinion, which is Recoupment. Killing a Majoris level or higher enemy with a headshot with this weapon restores one armor segment. Cooldown is 15 seconds. Now the tactical is a very strong class, but he is quite squishy, so having armor restore at range, especially if you're like shooting a Devourer or something, you have to like headshot them instead of actually getting an execute on them. This is really good to give you back an armor you'd otherwise not have and like save you some HP from range like chip and stuff like that. So very, very strong perk on tactical in particular, which is why I pick it this way. And for the secondary weapon selection, I do take the Plasma Pistol Rate of Fire variant. This is a very powerful weapon this patch because they did buff the charge speed to be kind of insane. Super strong, also has great synergy with perks like Plasma Boost to get that overheat extra damage very quickly. Very strong option, and the gun strikes also have an AoE effect, so I really do think this is overall like the best secondary in the game currently. Now for the perk tree, I just build for ammo primarily and shout charge speed to go even faster, and really getting secondary ammunition in this game is kind of hard for like every class except Bulwark, so building for ammo seems to be the best option in general for this stuff. Now for my melee weapon selection, I do take a Relic Tier Blockchain Sword because even though this thing only has one speed, when we stack it with Battle Focus, we are basically one combo skipping any Majoris in the game. Very, very strong weapon on tactical, and the Adrenaline Surge block regen of your armor is overall better to me than fencing or balanced parry because gun strikes really aren't super valuable in this game all the time, and sometimes armor restore and stagger is simply more important, and this really helps that, especially for the tactical class. And the way I build it is just going up here. I take Perpetual Strength after Swift Recovery. I move over into the perk Reverberating Impact for a Stomp area of effect radius increased by 50%. I don't use Stomp too much on this thing, but the perk down here, Saw Blade, to increase my light combo length from 4 to 5 is practically useless because we have one speed, so I just go all the way down here instead and just take the perk Extremis Slayer and skip over this one entirely. I also always pick up the perk Full Throttle because you want to be able to do the combo skip. That's very important on this weapon, period, especially if you have adrenaline surge charges to do stupid damage. Though I will say, if you are using something like the balanced or fencing version, I probably would just build for like light combo damage instead. Just take perpetual strength, move over into swift recovery, perpetual strength again, take the saw blade perk, move into heavy onslaught, pick up full throttle as always. And the major difference here is just taking momentum gain for each consecutive light attack, increasing light attack melee damage by 3% up to 30% for 3 seconds. And we also pick the perk up here, combined onslaught, which is like combo attacks with this weapon deal 10% more melee damage, because we do have 9 speed on the fencing version and 7 speed on the balanced version of the chainsword. So a really good option for these two. Now for the tactical perk tree setup, I do take balance distribution first. Your primary weapon deals 10% more damage, but your secondary weapon deals 10% less damage. In this case, I'm primarily using my plasma pistol for gun strikes and staggers. I don't really care about the 10% loss, but if you find like a 10% boost to the stalker bolt rifle excessive, you could take plasma boost instead. When plasma weapons are 30% overheated, their damage increases by 40%, and their charge shots use 1 less energy. This is still a really good perk here too, and really it's up to you which one you want to pick. Now next perk I think is pretty mandatory for any block setup. Just take heightened vigor. After a perfect time parry, block, or dodge, you deal 10% more melee and gun strike damage. Do not lose control upon taking heavy hits and cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. Very, very strong perk. Pretty much like the best perk in this whole tree, for being honest. Now alternatively, you could take versatility, which is after switching weapons, your secondary weapon deals 25% more damage. The effect lasts until reloading or switching back to your primary weapon. If you do take this perk though, I would also take plasma boost, mainly because if you stack these together with the rate of fire plasma pistol, you have a stupid amount of potential DPS on that thing. Very strong combo, but losing out on no knockback does kind of suck. Now some people do like Relentless Pursuit. After a gun strike, range damage increases by 25% for 5 seconds, but if you're using a like balanced weapon or fencing weapon, the actual time you have this perk active is so little. Like 5 seconds is not very long, and most of the time after a parry or like really anything with a gun strike, you're just going to be shooting them in the face with your gun strike instead of shooting them with your gun. So I don't actually think this one is that beneficial. I think the sniper has a significantly better version of it in the prestige perk tree with exacting focus, because this one lasts 10 seconds even though it's only 20% versus 25%. I do kind of wish the exacting focus perk was the way it worked on the tactical here, but unfortunately it does not. Now next perk I take is Emperor's Vengeance, just for ammo economy, because the stalker bolt rifle is kind of ammo hungry at times. And for the team perk selection, I do take Aligned Aim. Range damage increases by 15% for all squad members. This one just makes your stalker bolt rifle hit like a truck on top of balance distribution, even though it already kind of does. It might be a little excessive to some people, and you could take Secure Stockpile. Equipment charge restored by 1 for all squad members, cooldown in 60 seconds, because this perk is pretty busted. I decided to take this one because I'm maxing range damage. Now next perk I take here is Vital Data. Scanning extremis or terminus level enemy restores Auspex scan charge by 50%. This is a very strong perk when you're fighting bosses. It makes it a lot easier to get back your Auspex, and Auspex with concentrated fires you will be taking is very valuable, even if you aren't taking things like precise calibration on top of it. So I do value this perk pretty highly, especially in things like siege mode. And for the next perk I have here is Battle Focus. A perfectly timed parry or block, it gives the parried enemy a mark from Auspex scan. I mainly use this because I am using the block relic tier chainsword, and this one will hit like an absolute truck with Battle Focus. One shots a lot of guys with like 2 combo lictors. Very, very strong for this. Now if you are using like a balanced or fencing version, you could just take precise calibration instead, because precise calibration is stacked with the perk here, Concentrated Fire, which is Auspex scan zone lasts 60% longer, and enemies marked by Auspex scan take an additional 120% damage, but they lose the mark when they leave the scanned area. Stacked with the 75% Auspex damage buff from precise calibration does have you and your teammates kind of nuking bosses, so very strong option. But if you are using a block chainsword, I would just take Battle Focus. Now for the signature perk tree, I would just take Radiant Impact. A melee finisher additionally deals significant area of effect damage in a 10-meter radius. Cooldown is 90 seconds. This perk is incredible. Honestly, just like one of the best signature perks in the game, and compared to the other two, it's like these ones don't even come close, so pretty much always take this one. And for my prestige perk selection, I do take Acuity first. Each consecutive headshot increases headshot damage by 3% up to 15%. The bonus lasts 5 seconds without a headshot. Kind of a no-brainer for basically any bolt weapon in this game, and having the bonus last 5 seconds without a headshot is very forgiving between shots, so pretty much always take this. Next perk I take is Skill Supplier. Ammo reserve increases by 15%. This just helps out your ammo economy a little bit in those moments that like your Emperor's Vengeance is proccing, or maybe you aren't using Emperor's Vengeance period, so pretty strong perk. Now alternatively, especially in Siege mode, you could take Spare Power, collecting an ammo box restores ability charge by 25%. This is very strong for boss nuking with like precise calibration and concentrated fire in the Siege mode, but I'm playing Operations with this build, so I just take this. Now, next perk I take is Resilience. Medicae stims restore 40% more health. This is a very strong perk because you do get damage at times on the tactical class because you are quite squishy, and having that extra like bit of healing from a stim is quite valuable. So strong perk for sure, and just makes them overall more valuable. Next perk here is Fortitude. Health increases by 15%. This is like one of the only tanking perks on the tactical period, so definitely take this. And that's pretty much all I take on this build. Now, second look is not very good, especially with concentrated fire, because you basically never ever miss an Auspex scan zone with that anyways. And exigency charge, I mean, it could be good if it was like below 50% HP, but 25%, that's pretty dangerous, and only a 15% increased recharge speed for an Auspex is not epic compared to the other options. Now, that's pretty much all I have to say on this build, guys. Thank you for watching. Hopefully this helped. Stalker Bolt Rifle is in a good spot for sure, and this is already like a fan favorite weapon and one of my favorite weapons in the game, and the fact that like its other two variants and the variant I kind of preferred anyways, the rate of fire got buffed, is pretty cool, and having an increased headshot multiplier on firepower variants definitely makes them feel a lot better on many of the weapons, including things like the Marksman Carbine. So, hey guys, First Regardsman here, and so I'll be talking about a Plasma Incinerator build for the Tactical class in patch 9.0 Space Marine 2 for both Operations and Siege mode. Now, the Plasma Incinerator is a very strong weapon in this game. It does great Majoris, Extremis, and even Terminus damage, and the best variant for this weapon, in my opinion, is the Rate of Fire version, mainly because this weapon's common shots kind of suck ass, if we're being honest, so charge shots are just the way to go, and getting to those charge shots is very important for damage and CHP recovery, so Rate of Fire overall the best. Now, for the perk tree setup, I do take Blast Radius first. A damage radius of a charge shot increases by 10%. Since we are charge shotting all the time, having a greater blast radius to do damage is always very beneficial for us. Next perk I take is Rampage. After killing 7 enemies in rapid succession, you deal 25% more damage for 10 seconds. Cooldown is 15 seconds. This is very easy to pull off, and 25% more damage for 10 seconds is really chunky with a very long uptime. Very strong perk for sure. Next perk I take is Efficient Charge. Charge shots from this plasma weapon use 2 less energy. Now, this is really good even with the perk Emperor's Vengeance to give you ammo back, and if you aren't using this perk and you're taking something like Steady Aim, it is pretty much mandatory, so Efficient Charge, very strong. Now, next perk I take is Charge Speed. This just gives our charge shots more projectile speed, very useful to actually hit enemies. Then I move over here to Blast Radius, and then I take the perk Adamant Velocity. Then I move down here even further into Perfect Radius. Now, the reason I don't pick up the perk up here, Adamant Restoration, is because on the tactical class you really don't need this, but you could just move up here if you wanted to, if you're not using Emperor's Vengeance, just like you would take Efficient Charge, but for the most part I just don't value these perks up here that highly. Now, next perk I take is Perpetual Velocity. Shots charge 15% faster. I would say you pretty much always take this perk no matter what. Charge shot speed is just incredibly valuable in this game, so pretty much always take Perpetual Velocity wherever you can find it. Now, I move up here for Home Precision. Equip weapons maximum spread decreases by 50% when firing without aiming. Now, I actually prefer to shoot this weapon in the hip fire more than actually aiming down sights. Same thing for the plasma pistol, so for that reason, I pretty much always take Home Precision. It actually makes your shots very, very accurate in the hip fire, and I think that flows a lot better with the game's melee combat in general, so very strong option in my opinion. You don't have to take this if you like to aim down sights, but I really do think hip fire is very, very strong in this game. Now, I also pick up the perk Efficient Charge again, which is pretty much the same thing here, to just give our charge shots even more ammo efficiency. Very strong option, and then I also pick up Great Might. Damage increases by 10% against Terminus level enemies. Now, if you're foregoing the perks down here and you're moving up here, you're gonna be missing a perk if you want to take Home Precision, so I'd probably just dump this one. And that's pretty much all there is for the actual weapon perk tree. For the secondary weapon selection, I do take a Plasma Pistol charge rate variant, mainly because the Rate of Fire variant of the Plasma Pistol in patch 9.0 did get buffed to have an even faster charge speed. This thing charges incredibly quickly now, and also has great synergy with the perk Plasma Boost. When plasma weapons are 30% overheated, their damage increases by 40%, and their charge shots use 1 less energy. Well, since we charge so damn quickly on the Rate of Fire variant now, your actual DPS can come out to be higher than your primary, especially if you're taking something like Versatility for a 25% damage increase to your plasma pistol. Very, very strong option, and honestly, it's like the best secondary in the whole game. It also has AoE effects on its gun strikes on top of everything else. And for the perk tree, I would just set up this way and pick up the Perpetual Velocity perk here to charge even faster, and all the ammo perks to make it more efficient, because it's kind of hard to get back secondary ammo in this game outside of ammo boxes and ammo caches, so pretty strong to have more ammo for pretty much any class. And for my melee weapon setup, I do take a Relic Tier Blockchain Sword because despite only having 1 speed, this thing hits like a truck, especially on tactical with things like Battle Focus, Close Targeting, and Heightened Vigor. And you can pretty much one combo most Majoris and even Extremis in this game with this thing. Very strong option on him. And tactical especially benefits from Block Charge, Armor Restore more than things like Defensing and Balance Parry on my Norris for armor because he is pretty squishy and getting armor back on command versus bosses and Extremis and Majoris is just more useful for him. And for the perk tree setup, I just move down here. I skip over the perk Saw Blade because we're never getting a 5-strike like combo with 1 speed. So I go up here for the Stomp Area of Effect Radius increase instead. I just pick up the Full Throttle for the Full Throttle skip, and I just go down here to Extremis Slayer because you really don't need the Majoris perk, mainly because you're already 1-comboing them off of things like Battle Focus and Close Targeting anyways. Now, if you want to take the balanced or fencing version, you definitely could. For these, since they are faster, I probably would build them more like this. I'll just go down here into Swift Recovery and move on over and just pick up all the light combo perks like Combined Onslaught down here into the Full Throttle skip, Minoru Slayer, Extremis Slayer again. And then we take Momentum Gain because each consecutive light attack increases light attack melee damage by 3% up to 30% for 3 seconds. And since we do have 7 speed and 9 speed on this one, they are just fast enough to actually take advantage of that. But overall, I still think the Blockchain Sword is the best on tactical. And for the tactical perk tree setup, I do take Plasma Boost first. When plasma weapons are 30% overheated, their damage increases by 40%, and their charge shots use 1 less energy. Now, we are using plasma in both our primary and secondary weapon slots, so it's kind of a no-brainer, free DPS increase. Next perk I take here is Heightened Vigor. After a perfect time parry, block, or dodge, you deal 10% more melee and gun strike damage, do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. Now, this is like one of the best no knockback perks in the entire game. No knockback already saves your life over and over, and having more melee and gun strike damage on top of that is beneficial for balance, fencing, and block, so top tier perk for sure. Now, if you want to have like the ultimate plasma pistol, you could take versatility because this 25% damage stacked with the boost from plasma boost stacked with the rate of fire damage increases, or rate of fire charge rate increases I should say, in patch 9.0 are very, very powerful, and you can actually out DPS your primary with this thing if you take all of these perks. But overall, Heightened Vigor is just way better. And Relentless Pursuit, 25% more range damage on gun strike for 5 seconds is a strong perk effect, but 5 seconds is not a long enough uptime for me to ever actually want to take this. Now, next perk I take is Emperor's Vengeance. Killing a Majoris level or higher enemy restores your primary weapon's ammo by 1 magazine. Cannot exceed maximum ammo capacity. Cooldown is 30 seconds. Now, I value this one a lot on the Plasma Incinerator because it's not super ammo efficient, even with all the efficiency charge stuff. And overall, Steady Aim is a good perk, but this one is just better in my opinion. Now, next perk I take is Aligned Aim. Range damage increases by 15% for all squad members. This perk is very strong, not as strong as Secure Stockpile, which is an equipment charge restoration of 1 every 60 seconds for everybody, but this is also like the best team perk in the entire game period. But I want to take Aligned Aim today for bonus damage. Next perk I take here is Vital Data. Scanning Extremis or Terminus level enemy restores Auspex scans charge by 50%. This just gives you more Auspexes when you're actually fighting Terminus and Extremis, which is what you want to Auspex in the first place, and also kind of pairs pretty well with perks like Close Targeting. When Auspex scan is in cooldown, melee damage increases by 25%, so you're going to be going back and forth between your Auspexes, and very, very powerful option for sure. Next I take Battle Focus. After a perfect time parry or block, you give the parried enemy a mark from Auspex scan. This stacked with our perk Heightened Vigor on top of Close Targeting, which is when Auspex scan is in cooldown, melee damage increases by 25%. You have a stupid amount of damage with the Blockchain Sword. You will one-shot most Majoris and even like almost one combo most Extremis in the game. Very, very powerful combination here. But I do want to also say that if you're playing in Siege mode, I would just take Precise Calibration on top of Concentrated Fire, because Auspex for your team and nuking bosses becomes a lot more important than like dealing serious damage to Extremis and Majoris, which is why this perk combo is better overall for that. Now, for the signature perk, I do take Radiant Impact here. A melee finisher additionally deals significant area of effect damage in a 10-meter radius. Cooldown is 90 seconds. This is just an absurdly valuable team signature perk here, and really these other two don't even compare, so pretty much always take this one. Now, for my prestige perk setup, Acuity does nothing for us because we have no headshot damage multiplier on plasma weapons, so pretty much skip over this all the time. Instead, I take Skill Supplier. Ammo reserve increases by 15%. This just makes you more ammo efficient overall. Then I pick up the perk down here, Resilience. Medicae Stims restore 40% more health, because this class here is not very tanky at all, and having more valuable stims is actually pretty useful for him. And the next perk I take is Fortitude, which is a health increase of 15%, because having more HP on a not very tanky class is also super super valuable. And then I also pick up spare power here, collecting the ammo box restores ability charge by 25%. Now this is way more valuable in siege mode because you can actually buy ammo boxes, but even in the operations, it comes into use at times, and really second look and exigency charge are kind of shit. So pretty much always take these for if you're not using a headshot multiplier weapon, and if you are using a headshot multiplier weapon like heavy bolt pistol or something, I'd probably pick this up over spare power instead, at least for operations. So that is pretty much all I have to say about the Plasma Incinerator tactical build in patch 9.0 Space Marine 2. Now the Plasma Incinerator is really fun, but I do hope the other variants get like a better buff to their charge speed, or maybe the common shots on this thing get a buff at some point, because right now rate of fire is just too damn good to not take on the Plasma Incinerator, and unlike the heavy Plasma Incinerator, the light shots suck, so tactical's kind of like railroaded into this option or the venting speed option. Those are pretty much like the only two good ones, which is kind of unfortunate, but that's just the way it is currently. Hey guys, first regardsman here, until I'll be talking about a bolt rifle tactical build for patch 9.0 Space Marine 2. Now the bolt rifle did get buffed this patch. The accuracy variant now has a tighter spread and reduced recoil on top of a ×2 headshot multiplier, which makes this weapon do tremendously more damage, and I honestly think this is one of the strongest automatic weapons in the game currently, and the tactical class also has stupid amounts of range damage perks anyway, so it's even better than it looks. Now for the perk tree here, I do pick up Headhunter first. Headshots deal 10% more damage. This is a headshot weapon, so pretty much self-explanatory here. Next perk is Adamant Hunter. When your health is below 30%, headshots deal 25% more damage. This one feels like it affects the base damage of your weapon, and it's honestly an incredibly powerful perk when it does proc, though you are on low HP, which does kind of suck, but very, very powerful perk effect for sure. Next perk is Fast Reload. Then I move into the other perk here, Able Reload. After using a class ability, the equipped weapon instantly reloads. This is a pretty strong perk. We don't really use our Auspex that often to reload our weapon, but sometimes it does benefit us. Next perk here is Amazing Recoupment. Killing a Majoris level or higher enemy with a headshot with this weapon restores one armor segment. Cooldown is 15 seconds. This one really helps you maintain like no chip damage whatsoever when you're trying to like shoot a guy at range, like you're popping their head with like a ton of devourers or something. Really strong to keep your HP capped out without actually taking direct damage, sort of like this perk in general. Next perk down here is Great Might for extra terminus damage, and I also pick up the perk Tactical Precision. Headshots deal 20% more damage, non-headshot damage decreases by 10%. It's kind of a no-brainer because we are taking a headshot damage weapon in the first place. Next perk here is Cleaving Fire, which isn't really that useful. And the next perk I take is Rampage. After killing 7 enemies in rapid succession, you deal 25% more damage for 10 seconds. Cooldown is 15 seconds. And now, if you don't want to take this perk, you could move up here instead for Rapid Health. This one is also very good, though it also has a negative perk synergy with Adamant Hunter here, because, you know, you'll get below 30% HP, get the headshot damage buff, and then you'll like overheal yourself with it with the Rapid Health perk. So not that amazing for like the perk synergy here, which is why I decided to take this, but this one is a safer option. Now next perk here is Extend Magazine. Then I move up to pick up extra headshot damage and even more damage flat out. So pretty self-explanatory. It's built for pure damage on this, and overall this weapon does a ton of damage, so I kind of like it currently. Now for the secondary weapon selection, I did go for something kind of different here. I just took the firepower variant of the heavy bolt pistol. I really wouldn't recommend this as much as I would recommend the rate of fire plasma, because really don't need the extra headshot damage from a heavy bolt pistol to begin with, but it is pretty fun sometimes. And for the plasma pistol, just take rate of fire, because even though I will be taking balanced distribution, the extra charge speed really helps with stagger and stuff like that, and CHP recovery. It's just a very strong option. And for the plasma pistol, I would build it this way, and for the heavy bolt pistol, regardless of which variant you're using, I would use it this way. So that's really up to you which one of these you want to pick, and the regular bolt pistol just sucks, so don't touch this one to begin with. And that's pretty much all there is for the secondary selection. Now for the melee weapon selection, I do take a Relic Tier Block Chainsword, because this one has amazing synergy with perks like Battle Focus. It lets you one combo most Majoris in the game, very powerful option, and also the extra armor regen on Terminus, Extremis, and Majoris is very strong for Tactical, because Tactical does kind of lack armor regen and damage reduction, so this really does help with that. Now alternatively, you could use the balance or fencing, that is up to you, but for the blockchain sword, I do build it this way, as go down to Swift Recovery, pick up extra damage perks, skip over Saw Blade because we're never getting 5 strikes with 1 speed, and I take the Stomp Area of Effect Radius increase instead. Then I move down into the Full Throttle perk for the combo skip, and then I also pick up the perk down here, Extremis Slayer and Minora's Slayer for extra Extremis damage mainly. That's pretty much how I set up this one. Now for the balance and fencing versions, I would set them up this way because we can take advantage of the light attacks, with stuff like momentum gain, so I just go all the way down through Saw Blade, pick up the perk Heavy Onslaught, full throttle once again. Then we also pick up Combined Onslaught. Light combo attacks with this weapon deal 10% more melee damage, pretty nice DPS increase. Then we just go down here into momentum gain for the light attack damage increase of up to 30% on consecutive light attacks. A really strong option on the faster versions of this weapon because they are pretty damn fast currently in patch 9.0 because they both got buffed. So pretty good options for sure if you want to take these. And that's all there is for the melee weapon. Now for the perk tree selection, I do just take balanced distribution first. Your primary weapon deals 10% more damage, but your secondary weapon deals 10% less damage. I'm just building to like max out headshot damage on the bolt rifle, so that's why I took this. If you're going to take a plasma pistol, I would pick up plasma boost. When plasma weapons are 30% overheated, their damage increases by 40%, and their charge shots use 1 less energy, because this one makes your rate of fire plasma pistol do stupidly high DPS. Very strong option on the tactical class, so if you want to go that route, you certainly can. And the next perk I would take regardless is Heightened Vigor. After a perfectly timed parry, block, or dodge, you deal 10% more melee and gun strike damage, do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. No knockback in this game is super strong, keeps you alive, and this one is just by far the best perk in this tree. Versatility with plasma boost on the plasma pistol is very strong as well, but this one just keeps you alive more, which is why I prefer it. Now, next perk I take is also kind of mandatory, Emperor's Vengeance. Killing a Majora's level or higher enemy restores your prior weapon's ammo by 1 magazine. Cannot exceed maximum ammo capacity. Cooldown is 30 seconds. Now, the bolt rifle is not super ammo efficient with the accuracy variant, so I really like the Emperor's Vengeance perk on it, and honestly, this thing does enough damage that you don't really need perks like Emperor's Judgment or Steady Aim to like really benefit off of it, so Emperor's Vengeance is just the best way to go. Now, for the team perk selection, I just take Aligned Aim. A range damage increase of 15% for all squad members is very strong. Now, Secure Stockpile is obviously better, but I don't like using this all the time, but really it is up to you which one you want to pick. Now, for the gear perk tree, I do pick up the perk Vital Data first. Scanning an Extremis or Terminus level enemy restores Auspex scan charge by 50%. This just gives you more Auspexes, which is very strong, especially with things like Concentrated Fire that make your Auspex better in general and last longer, so even more value. And for the next perk here, I take Battle Focus. A perfectly timed parry or block, it gives the parried enemy a mark from Auspex scan. This is very, very strong for things like the Blockchain Sword, though if you're using like a fencing or balance weapon, you could pick up Precise Calibration instead, because this one will make your Auspex do 75% more damage, but the Auspex scanner's radius is reduced by 25%, and when you combine this with the Concentrated Fire perk, your Auspex scan does stupid damage buffs to bosses, which is kind of incredible for your team play, but Battle Focus I think is better with the Blockchain Sword. And Concentrated Fire is just the best perk in this tree because this one just makes your Auspex more valuable by lasting longer, on top of just making them take more damage. So super strong option, and like the only downside of it being like stuck in one spot doesn't really matter because bosses are so fat in this game, like to chill around one spot anyways. Now for the Signature perk, I do take Radiant Impact. A melee finisher additionally deals significant area of effect damage in a 10-meter radius. Cooldown is 90 seconds. This perk just does stupid damage to like all the Majoris, Extremis, and Terminus at times in your area. Very, very powerful. Also saves your life at times, to be honest. It's just such a clutch perk, and this is by far the best perk for the Signature tree here, and the Signal Jammer perk sucks ass, and this perk fell off the moment they added in like 30 Extremis and things like that, and all the enraged guys, so Marked for Death sucks compared to this perk. This perk's just the best. Take this. And for the Prestige perk selection, I do take Acuity first. Each consecutive headshot increases headshot damage by 3% up to 15%. The bonus lasts 5 seconds without a headshot. Now, we are using a bolt rifle with a headshot multiplier of 2, so kind of a no-brainer to take an Acuity perk with this. And this is just an amazing DPS increase in general, and kind of a crazy Prestige perk overall, to be honest. So pretty much always take this. Now, next perk here is kind of up to you. You kind of take Skilled Supplier for an ammo reserve increase of 15%, or if you're playing Siege mode, Spare Power can be better because getting out more Auspexes can really save your team, especially in boss waves. That's really up to you, though overall, the best like combo with this perk anyways is a Grenade Launcher, so you're probably using that build instead. Now, next perk here is Resilience. Medicae Stims restore 40% more health. This perk is incredible to give you more value on your stims. A very strong perk option to keep you alive. And this actually makes a huge impact where you really wouldn't think it would, because it's actually quite strong, especially in operations where stims are hard to come by yourself. Very strong perk. I take this pretty much all the time when I can. Next perk here is Fortitude. Health increases by 15%. This is just a tank perk, and HP increases in Space Marine 2 are amazing wherever you can find them, prevents you from instantaneously dying at times, and the Tactical is a very squishy class, so he really needs all the help he can get. And that's pretty much all there is for the setup of the bolt rifle tactical build. This build is pretty strong. The bolt rifle actually feels amazing now. The firepower variant has fallen off so hard compared to this one because headshot multipliers in Space Marine 2 just matter way too much, because if you don't hit a guy in the head anyways, you're basically missing your shot because of how low damage the body shots are in this game. Kind of a huge balance problem at the moment, but that's just the way it is, and headshot multiplier weapons are just super strong. So same thing for things like the headshot multiplier variant on the Stalker bolt rifle, and things like the Marksman carbine variant with the ×2 headshot multiplier. All of these got buffed in this patch, and they're all quite strong options now, and hopefully this build guide helped. Hey guys, first Regardsman here, and so I'll be talking about a heavy bolt rifle build for the tactical class in patch 9.0 Space Marine 2. Now the version down here for the heavy bolt rifle actually got a buff to its base damage a little bit this patch. By no means a major buff, but kind of noteworthy because the heavy bolt rifle hardly gets anything in this game, and today I'm going to be taking this one to operations. Now for the perk tree selection, I do pick up the perk Headhunter first. Headshots deal 10% more damage. This thing is pretty much only good for headshots in the first place, so pretty much always take this. Then I move into an amazing perk here with Adamant Hunter. When your health is below 30%, headshots deal 25% more damage. Now this perk feels like it affects the base damage of the weapon, so actually super valuable when you're below 30% HP. Your damage is greatly increased with this perk, so pretty much always take this. Next perk here is Fast Reload. Moving into the perk Able Reload. After using a class ability, the equipped weapon instantly reloads. This pretty much only works on the tactical class because on heavy it's broken with Iron Halo, but you know, we're playing tactical today, so it doesn't matter too much. Next perk here is Headhunter for more headshot damage. Then we move up here to the perk Tactical Precision. Headshots deal 20% more damage, and non-headshot damage decreases by 10%. Now this affects all non-headshot damage periods, like body shots pretty much do nothing, like all your ranged damage except for headshot damage is decreased flat out, and the actual benefit is not like properly described here, but that's just the way it is, but still worth taking pretty much always. Next perk down here is Great Might. Damage increases by 10% against Terminus level enemies. Super strong perk for just bonus damage versus Terminus, and I don't really pick up the perk down here for increased capacity because we will be taking the perk over here, Emperor's Vengeance, which kind of solves like all ammo economy problems on the heavy bolt rifle. Now for the next perk over here, I take Recoupment. Killing a Majoris level or higher enemy with a headshot this weapon restores one armor segment. Cooldown is 15 seconds. Now Recoupment is a very valuable perk. Armor restores in this game are super strong, especially on the tactical class, because this class is not super tanky and armor restores are kind of hard to come by for him in general, so really strong for him in particular. And the next perk I take is Rapid Health. When your health is below 30%, killing 7 enemies in rapid succession restores your health by 10%. Now this perk is amazing. There is no cooldown on this, so there's like an army of Hormigons coming against you. You just get your HP back up to 30% easily. Now the description of this actually kind of lies because it's not just 30%, you can actually get up to like 35%, so it's a little bit better than it sounds. It does kind of have a negative synergy with the Adamant Hunter perk, because if you fight like an army of Hormigons, you will lose your buff from this because you'll go above 30% HP, but honestly, getting healing in this game for free is pretty rare, so it's a very strong perk regardless, especially on a gun that just like culls hordes anyways. Now next perk I take is the Perpetual Penetration perk. This one doesn't do a ton for us because we already have a piercing value of 4, but I just take this perk to move into the perk over here, Divine Might, for more damage and increase our magazine capacity, because really just like non-stop shooting this gun is a whole shtick with it, so pretty much very useful. And that's pretty much all there is for the weapon perk tree. Now for the secondary weapon selection, I once again pick the Rate of Fire Plasma Pistol because this thing did get buffed in patch 9.0. The charge speed is stupidly fast now. CHP recovery is off the charts with this thing. Stagger and stuff like DPS increases are all a boon to your class, especially when we have perks like Plasma Boost. If you decide to take this, when plasma weapons are 30% overheated, their damage increases by 40% and their charge shots use 1 less energy. This makes the Plasma Pistol very ammo efficient on top of doing stupid damage at times, because you reach that 30% charge rate very quickly on the Rate of Fire version now. And either way, I would always build the perk tree for like Plasma Collection, Perpetual Velocity for even faster charge shots, and just Divine Might down here and even more ammunition, because ammo economy is like the only thing holding this weapon back. Now if you want to use a heavy bolt pistol, you can, but we kind of like cover our headshot multiplier here with our heavy bolt rifle, and the CHP recovery of the Plasma Pistol is just too damn good. And even though I am using balanced distribution in this build, losing 10% damage on this doesn't matter too much because CHP recovery is still very powerful, and it is also very good for staggering all the time. It's just a really strong weapon in general, definitely top tier, and the AoE gun strikes don't hurt either. Now for the melee weapon selection, I do use a relic tier blockchain sword because despite only having 1 speed on the tactical class in particular, not only do you benefit a ton off of block charges armor restoring you, you also are able to use things like battle focus to nearly 1 combo any Majoras in the game. If you take close targeting on top of this, you will 1 combo any Majoras in the game, period. Super strong combo, and really the blockchain sword is still very strong in this game despite only having 1 speed. It may be unwieldy for a lot of people, but it's really up to you if you want to use this. I'm just saying this is certainly an option. This is the one I personally prefer. Now, if you want to take a balanced chainsword or a fencing chainsword, you certainly can do that. I'll show some setups for those in a second. But for the block chainsword, I just build it this way. I go down perpetual strength into swift recovery, and then we just build for like pure melee damage. We skip over the perk here, Saw Blade, because hitting 5 strikes in a light combo on a 1 speed weapon is just never happening. So I just go for the stop area of effect radius instead. Then move down here into the full throttle skip and pick up the perk here for Extremis Slayer and skip over things like momentum gain, because this does nothing for us, because once again light attacks are just not very strong on a 1 speed blockchain sword. Now for the fencing variant or the balance variant, which a lot of people probably want to use instead, I would just build it this way. It's mostly the same, but we just go down this perk tree and pick up perks like Combined Onslaught, because this one says light combo attacks of this weapon deal 10% more melee damage, and since we have a 7 speed on the balance one here or a 9 speed on the fencing version, this is actually pretty useful for us. Then we pick up full throttle for the skip as always. I'll put up like a little video of that and how to do the combo skip up here, and then we move down further once again to Extremis Slayer, and then we actually pick up momentum gain this time, because each consecutive light attack increases light attack melee damage by 3% up to 30% for 3 seconds, and that is very easy to pull off with a 7 speed or 9 speed weapons. Those are the setups for the chainsword if you're curious about those. Now for my perk tree setup, I do pick the perk balance distribution first. Your primary weapon deals 10% more damage, but your secondary weapon deals 10% less damage. I want to maximize my damage on my heavy bolt rifle in this build, though if you want to take the perks plaza boost for the reasons I mentioned previously, you certainly can. It's really up to you. Both of these are good perks, and the perk down here, Crack and Penetrator rounds, not really useful for this build whatsoever. Now the next perk I pretty much always take on any build, Height and Vigor. After a perfectly timed parry, block, or dodge, you deal 10% more melee and gunstrike damage, do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. This simply allows you to do things like gun strikes and parries that you'd otherwise be unable to if you were going to get staggered by sword warriors from behind or something like that. Very strong option for sure, and like no knockback in this game is just incredible, period. I do wish the other perks here were better or like in a different tree, because versatility is good, but losing no knockback for this is just not worth it, and this perk does not last long enough to be super useful, even like a fencing weapon, because a 5-second uptime is just like not super good on this perk. And if you look over here on the sniper's tree, it basically has the same perk as Relentless Pursuit with Exacting Focus. After a gun strike, you deal 20% more range damage for 10 seconds, but instead you lose 5% damage and you just gain an extra 5 seconds. That's way more worth it to me personally, so hopefully they change the perk there at some point, but for now, it's just the way Tactical is, and Height and Vigor is by far the best. Next perk I take is Emperor's Vengeance. Killing a Majora's level or higher enemy restores your primary weapon's ammo by 1 magazine. Cannot exceed maximum ammo capacity. Cooldown is 30 seconds. This perk is mandatory as far as I'm concerned for the heavy bolt rifle. This version is not super ammo efficient without it, but when you have this perk, you pretty much never run out, and it's super valuable, so pretty much always pick this up. And now the next perk I take is kind of up to you. I decided to take Aligned Aim. Range damage increases by 15% for all squad members, because I kind of just like range damage maxing on this class, though obviously Secure Stockpile is better. This one gives equipment to your whole team on a 60-second cooldown. This is the best team perk in the entire game, but like I don't want to play the same build all the time, so I decided to take this today. That was really up to you. Now I'll also mention the perk down here, Transhuman Physiology. All squad members restore 30% more contested health from range damage. This is really good, especially for guns like the bolt rifles that aren't really good for CHP regen anyways, unless we're talking like the bolt carbine, but this really helps enable like some of the shittier guns in the game, to be honest, to be good at CHP recovery. So if you want to take this instead, you certainly can, but like I just prefer range damage. That's just up to me. That's just up to you, I should say. Now next perk is Vital Data. Scanning Extremis or Terminus level enemy restores Auspex scan charge by 50%. I find this one to be by far the most valuable perk in its entire tree. It just refunds your Auspex, and like getting a 50% charge back on your Auspex is super valuable, because Auspex, it does have a pretty long cooldown, and these ones just aren't as good, even though they're not like totally worthless. Now next perk I take is Battle Focus, because I just find this one is incredible, the blockchain sword. If you're not using a blockchain sword to give like the Auspex scan parry a one-shot potential, I would probably just take Precise Calibration, which is enemies marked by Auspex scan that take an additional 75% damage, but Auspex scan radius is reduced by 25%. This one stacks with concentrated fire to give you stupid amounts of value and damage from your Auspex, and if you get like a 50% charge back from vital data, you'll be doing it even more. This one can help your whole team nuke bosses so quickly. Really strong combo for sure, and it's kind of up to you which one you want to use, but like battle focus and precise calibration, by far the best two options in this tree currently. Now the next perk I take regardless is concentrated fire. Auspex scan zone lasts 60% longer, and enemies marked by Auspex scan take an additional 120% damage, but they lose the mark when they leave the scanned area. Now having a longer lasting Auspex just means your Auspex is more valuable on top of doing more damage. Now obviously they can leave the area, but the area is also bigger, the area is also just a longer lasting area, so you actually hit more guys potentially because like walk into it, and sometimes they put down like an Auspex scan and it'll last for so long that like an Extremis will pop out and just like jump into the scan radius and give you 50% of your charge back, so super strong for that for sure. I just like this perk quite a bit. Now the signature perk I take is Radiating Impact. A melee finisher additionally deals significant area effect damage in a 10-meter radius. Cooldown is 90 seconds. Now this perk does stupid damage. The horde clear potential of this is kind of ridiculous. Now it will actually explode wherever you were when you actually hit the execute button on an enemy. So like let's say you're running towards an enemy, when you hit your execute button you'll detonate at the spot you initially hit the button, and then your guy will like move over to the guy to like do the execute. So just keep that in mind, and if you want to kind of like manage the cooldown on this a little bit better, you can actually melee attack any guy in an execute stance, and like a gun strike opportunity will appear before you. You can gun strike them instead of like wasting the execute, so that's also an option you can do. Maybe I'll make a video of that someday, but like that's how you can save the cooldown on this for sure. And these other two perks, they fucking suck, so it's just the way it is. Now for my prestige perk selection, I do pick up Acuity first. Each consecutive headshot increases headshot damage by 3% up to 15%. The bonus lasts 5 seconds without a headshot. Well, since we are using a heavy bolt rifle that benefits off of headshots on top of stacking range damage, extra headshot multiplier damage is incredible, and it's like one of the best perks in the game for just like bonus headshot damage. Kind of silly they put this as like a prestige perk, but what are you gonna do? Next perk is Skilled Supplier. Ammo reserve increases by 15%. I like this perk for operations because it just helps out the ammo economy, but if you are playing siege mode, I would probably take Spare Power because you're able to buy ammo boxes, and being able to spam Auspex on boss waves is incredible. Really top tier build for sure with this perk, but you know, Skilled Supplier is really up to you. Next perk is Resilience. I pretty much always take this. Medicae stims restore 40% more health. This perk might not sound incredible when you first read it, but in practice it feels really good. Your stims become super valuable, and this class is by no means tanky, so having extra survivability is incredible, and Medicae stims being valuable, especially in operations where they're kind of hard to come by, really helps your class out a ton. Now the next perk I have here is Fortitude. Health increases by 15%. Pretty boring perk effect, but also a god tier perk effect because health increases in Space Marine 2 are super valuable. They make your stims worth more, they make your like lower HP damage reduction worth more. Just a super powerful perk in general, and once again the tactical is very squishy, so he really needs this. And Exigency Charge sucks, and Second Look also sucks. And that's pretty much all there is for the prestige perk selections, and thank you guys for watching this build guide video. That's pretty much all I have to say about this. It really is up to you which one you want to actually use for the chainsword, because I know a lot of people don't like the block one right now, but you can use whatever you want. Let's make that very clear. And also on the note of the block knife and like fencing knives, these aren't terrible. I just think the chainsword is overall better. And on the note of other heavy bolt rifle options, you pretty much build them all the same if you decide to use these. And that's pretty much all I have to say on this, guys. Hey guys, first regardsman here, and today I'll be talking about a marksman bolt carbine build for the tactical class in patch 9.0 Space Marine 2. Now the marksman bolt carbine accuracy variant did receive a buff this patch and now has a ×2 headshot multiplier, and this thing actually does a ton of damage now, which is why I will be building for like mostly damage here. So first up, we take Headhunter in the perk tree here, move into rapid health. We also take the perk here, Home Precision. Equip weapons maximum spread decreases by 50% when firing without aiming. Even though this is more useful on the automatic version, it's still pretty strong here. Let's move over here into the perk Divine Might for bonus damage. Let me just pick up headshot damage, Divine Might for even more damage. Then move through here into Adamant Hunter when your health is below 30%. Headshots to deal 25% more damage. When this actually procs, your headshot damage on this build is disgusting. And unlike the Vanguard class, we really don't need to build for like ammunition at all here with things like increased capacity or magazine restoration, because we're tactical class. We have Emperor's Vengeance. Now, the final perk I take here is Recoupment. Killing a Majora's level or higher enemy with a headshot with this weapon restores 1 armor segment. Cooldown is 15 seconds. Now, armor restore, especially on the tactical class, is very, very strong because this class is actually pretty squishy right now compared to pretty much every single other class in the game at the moment, but he does a ton of damage, has aspects and stuff like that to make up for it. That's why I prefer armor regen on him. Now, for my secondary weapon selection, I have decided to take the heavy bolt pistol. Now, really, on this build, we would not be shooting with our secondary a whole lot, so mainly it's pretty much here for gun strikes. The only reason I decided to take the heavy bolt pistol here today is because I will not be taking the plasma boost perk and will instead be taking balance distribution, so I really won't be getting that much benefit out of the plasma pistol as I could be, but if you want to take this anyways, you sure can, and I would set up the heavy bolt pistol this way on the perk tree, and for the plasma pistol, I would just set it up this way, pretty standard. And for the melee weapon selection, I have actually decided to take the relic tier block version this time, because even though it only has a 1 speed, this thing hits like a truck. You can like 2 combo lictors with battle focus and our other perk tree setups here, and really this thing is kind of disgusting right now, and also its speed will be buffed in the future, so it's really only up from here. Now for the perk tree setup, I really do just take like all the perks I can for damage. We don't really benefit off from things like a momentum gain here, which is each consecutive light attack increases light attack melee damage by 3% up to 30% for 3 seconds, because it takes us like 5 business days to ever get a full light combo off, but either way, this sword is still very strong. Though I will say, if you want to take other options, you certainly can. All the chain swords in this game are pretty strong right now, even the block version, and the main thing that I want from block here is the armor regen versus Extremis, Terminus, and Majoris, because the tactical class really benefits from that more than most do, because armor is worth more than HP in this game, and he is the squishiest class currently, which is why I chose this one. And for my perk tree here, I do take balance distribution first. Your primary weapon deals 10% more damage, but your secondary weapon deals 10% less damage. We don't really care about the damage loss on the secondary because our marksman carbine is what we will primarily be shooting here. We really don't struggle with ammo on it in the first place, so really valuable perk for us. Now, alternatively, you could take plasma boost. When plasma weapons are 30% overheated, their damage increases by 40%, and their charge shots use 1 less energy. This is really, really strong right now, especially with the buff to the rate of fire plasma pistol. This thing charges faster than ever, so this is a ton of value, but that's really up to you. Now, the next perk I pretty much always take is Heightened Vigor. After a perfectly timed parry, block, or dodge, you deal 10% more melee and gun strike damage, do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. This is an incredibly valuable perk. More melee damage, more gun strike damage, no knockback, pretty much the best of everything in this game. It's super strong, pretty much always pick it. Now, next perk I take here is Emperor's Vengeance. Killing a Majoris level or higher enemy restores your primary weapon's ammo by 1 magazine, cannot exceed maximum ammo capacity, cooldown is 30 seconds. Now, our marksman carbine is not super ammo efficient, so this really solves that problem, so it's a pretty S tier perk for that. Now, for the team perk selection, this is the kind of an off meta pick in this case. Aligned aim, range damage increases by 15% for all squad members. This is a really strong perk. Secure stockpile is just better because this one gives equipment recharge to your entire team, but this one really does enable our marksman carbine to absolutely slap, which is why I took it today. Now, next perk here on the gear tree is Vital Data. Scanning Extremis or Terminus level enemy restores Auspex scan charge by 50%. This perk tree here really doesn't matter for us that much because our Auspex scan is not that valuable, because I will not be taking precise calibration and things like concentrated fire. Instead, I will be taking battle focus and the perk here Close Targeting to maximize melee damage on both counts here, and also just get Auspex for free on melee bosses. So pretty valuable combo here, but if you want to take precise calibration and the perk Concentrated Fire, you could. These are also very strong picks. I decided to take this today because a blockchain sword absolutely annihilates things off of battle focus with this perk. Now, for the signature perk, we take Radiant Impact. Once again, a melee finisher additionally deals significant area of effect damage in a 10-meter radius. Cooldown is 90 seconds. This perk is disgustingly good, and these perks suck, so pretty much always take this one. The damage is truly significant. Now, for my prestige perk selection, I do take Acuity first. Each consecutive headshot increases headshot damage by 3% up to 15%. The bonus lasts 5 seconds without a headshot. Now, our marksman carbine does benefit a ton from headshots already, and this is just bonus damage for us, for being honest. Super strong perk for sure. Next perk I take here is Skilled Supplier. Ammo reserve increases by 15%. Now, our marksman carbine is not super ammo efficient. This helps with that a little bit, and also even with Emperor's Vengeance, this is still an extra bonus, so pretty good. Now, next perk I take is Resilience. Medicae stims restore 40% more health. This just makes stims more valuable, and we are not very tanky, so this is pretty good good for us. And the final perk I take is Fortitude. Health increases by 15% because this is one of the only like tank perks on this whole class, so S tier for sure. Now, if you want to swap out Skilled Supplier for something like Spare Power, you can. This is pretty strong in Siege mode, but I wouldn't really take the Marksman Carbine to Siege mode for the most part anyways, but either way, that's really up to you. And Second Look is pretty worthless for the most part, and Exigency Charge hardly ever comes into effect, so that's why I picked these ones. But now, alternatively, you could take something like the Ammo Reserve option for this, but really losing out on the headshot multiplier is not very good on this gun, because if you're taking a Marksman Carbine, you're wanting to pop heads, and this one just does that the best. Now, if you're playing Vanguard, maybe I would take this one, but for Tactical and Sniper, your ammo economy is pretty damn good, so this one's definitely the best option. Now, as far as other options go for your chainsword, I would probably set up the tree this way for momentum gain and combined onslaught if you're going to be using a fencing or balanced version, because they are significantly faster, but block does hit like a truck, and honestly guys, I undervalue this weapon quite a bit. The 1 speed is not as bad for this weapon because of how heavy it hits in general, and it's really not as unwieldy as you might think. But that's pretty much all I have to say about this build. Hey guys, it's time to talk about a Bolt Carbine build for the Tactical class in patch 9.0 Space Marine 2. Now, the Bolt Carbine is one of the best weapons on the Tactical class, and really in the game period. It has amazing CHP regen, amazing headshot multipliers at close range, and also with its Marksman variant. And today I've chosen the Ammo Reserve option because this gun does not care about the accuracy stat like at all. Thanks to the perk down here, Home Precision, equipped weapons maximum spread decreases by 50% when firing without aiming. This basically turns your gun into a laser beam at the hip fire, and it's just an incredible perk in general, pretty much the only accuracy perk you need, period. It's a very strong option. Now, the other perks I pick up here are Headhunter into Rapid Health, then I move down here into Divine Might for a 10% damage increase, and I pick up 2 more Headhunter perks, and I also pick up the perk here, Cleaving Fire. Shots will penetrate enemy block stances, dealing 25% of the usual damage. Now, usually this perk kind of sucks, but against things like Biovores and also Sword Warriors, sometimes you'll like gunstrike them, they'll close their little sword arms together, and you just have to shoot them in the face for like 5 damage or something, and this can help with that, so not the worst. Next perk here is Amazing Adamant Hunter. When your health is below 30%, headshots deal 25% more damage. The headshot bonus from this feels like it affects the base damage of the weapon, and your gun's headshots just start to do stupid damage, period. Very strong perk. Then I move over here into the Perpetual Precision, and then up here into Gunstrike Reload. After a Gunstrike, this weapon instantly reloads. Now, even though we have like a magazine capacity of 46 on this thing with our setup here, it is still really good to be able to instantaneously reload this thing because this gun pretty much wants a non-stop fire. So very powerful perk here, and really good synergy with like really any build. Now, the other 2 perks I pick up down here are Extended Magazine for a 15% magazine size increase and a flat damage boost of 10%. That's pretty much the only way I have this set up. Now, alternatively, you could set it up like this and go down basically the same way up until we get to like the point here where instead of going into the Cleaving Fire, we just pick up the perks down here, move into the increased capacity, take the Adamant Restoration perk, or Magazine Restoration in this case, and I just move up for like another 10% damage increase down here and skip over Gunstrike Reload. Now, the only time I would take this setup is if I'm using the perk here, Emperor's Judgment, to instantaneously reload my weapon on a finisher. This perk is very good with this weapon, but I decided to take Emperor's Vengeance today, so I built for Gunstrike Reload instead. Now, for the secondary weapon, I do take a Plasma Pistol Rate of Fire variant. Once again, this gun did get buffed in patch 9.0. The rate of fire charge speed is kind of insane currently, and very good for staggering Soul Cannon Terminators and CHP regen, and also has amazing gunstrike damage of things like AoE gunstrikes. Very powerful option, and the only thing holding back this weapon currently is ammo economy, which is why we build all ammo efficiency on it, because that's pretty much like the best way to build this gun, period. I also pick up the perk here, Perpetual Velocity, for 20% faster charge speed to charge even faster on this thing and go like through the moon on our charge rate. So very, very strong weapon. Now, alternatively, you could use the Heavy Bolt Pistol. I would also take the Ammo Reserve option here, though the Tactical isn't used as primary as much, so if you want to go for like firepower, you can do that too. And I'd probably just build it down the top tree, even though I like the bottom here, but really I would just use Plasma, because Plasma is the best currently. Now, for the melee weapon selection, I will be using a Fencing Chainsword today, because 9 speed is incredibly fast, and a 12 plus strength is not bad by any means. Now, alternatively, you could use the balance or block ones. Really, every single chainsword is good currently, but the reason I'm using fencing is because I want as many gun strikes as possible, because I will be using the perk here, gun strike reloads. The more gun strikes we get, the easier it is to actually reload our weapons. So really good synergy here. Also, I have just like the ability to build into light combos and stuff like momentum gain and combined onslaught, and attacking faster with weapons. It usually feels good across the board, and this one also does pretty good damage. That's why I decided to use this one. Now, for the perk setup here, I do take balance distribution first. your primary weapon deals 10% more damage, but your secondary weapon deals 10% less damage. Now, even though we lose 10% damage on our plasma pistol, it's still really good for stagger and CHP regen, though if you want to take the perk down here, Plasma Boost, when your plasma weapons are 30% overheated, their damage increases by 40% and their charge shots use 1 less energy. This one will allow you to get like the maximum damage out of your secondary here with the rate of fire plasma pistol. It is like a super valuable perk with this weapon, but I decided to take this to maximize my bolt carbine damage today. Next perk here is Heightened Vigor. After a perfectly timed parry, block, or dodge, you deal 10% more melee and gunstrike damage, do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. 10% more melee and gunstrike damage is super valuable, and no knockback for 10 seconds is just top tier, period. Absolutely saves your life. One of the best versions of this perk in the whole game, and pretty much the only perk I take in this line here, because versatility is good for like 25% more damage on your secondary weapon, but having no knockback on top of more melee damage and gunstrike damage for 10 seconds is just nutty, and this perk here needs like a longer uptime to be like super worth it. Now, next perk I take is Emperor's Vengeance. Killing a Majoris level or higher enemy restores your primary weapon's ammo by 1 magazine, cannot exceed maximum ammo capacity, cooldown is 30 seconds. Now, this perk is just amazing for your ammo economy, though I did mention it previously that you could take Emperor's Judgment instead. After a finisher, the equipped weapon, ranged weapon, it reloads automatically, and your ranged weapons deal 20% more damage for 10 seconds. A very strong option for the bolt carbine, especially if you build it the other way I showed earlier, but the Emperor's Judgment I think is like overall worse perk than this one, so I picked up this one instead. Now, for the team perk selection, I do take Aligned Aim on this build for a 15% range damage increase for everybody. This perk is very good. It's obviously not as good as Secure Stockpile, which is a 60-second equipment charge or equipment recharge for your whole team, which is pretty absurd. This perk is kind of busted. Definitely top tier for Siege mode, the single best pick, or just like the single best team perk in the whole game. But Aligned Aim does make your headshot damage go into like the moon, so really strong for this build. If you want to take this, you certainly can. Now, for the gear perk tree here, I do take Vital Data. Scanning Extremis or Terminus level enemy restores Auspex scan charge by 50%. Now, this perk actually works with Battle Focus in Operations. I've never actually seen it trigger the Vital Data off an Extremis in the Siege mode, but in Operations it will. It's really good synergy there. And also, Operations are a ton of fun, so really good option regardless. And in Siege mode, there are a ton of Terminus and Extremis anyways, so you'll get a ton of procs no matter what. So really, really good perk. Now, Battle Focus here, a perfect time parry or block gives the parried enemy a mark from Auspex scan. This basically makes it so the warrior in your face that you parry or perfect block, you can just shoot in the face casually with your bolt carbine and just annihilate their brain with the hip fire. Very, very powerful combo here. Now, down here, Precise Calibration is another option. Enemies marked by Auspex scan take an additional 75% damage, but the Auspex scan's radius is reduced by 25%. This combined with the Concentrated Fire perk gives you stupid amounts of damage in your Auspex zone, but it's kind of redundant for Operations at times. But in Siege mode, this can positively nuke bosses and like later waves of enemies here. Now, the next perk I pretty much always take as well is Concentrated Fire. Auspex scan zone lasts 60% longer, and enemies marked by Auspex scan take an additional 120% damage, but they lose the mark when they leave the scanned area. This is just a pure value perk. 60% longer Auspex scans mean your Auspex does just more when you put it out, and also 120% more damage on Auspex scan is incredible, and the radius of the Auspex is pretty damn big anyways, so like usually an Extremis will just sit in there, or like multiple of them. Very, very easy to like still get the full damage out of this, and by far the best perk in this whole tree. Now, for the signature perk tree, there really is only one good signature perk on the tactical currently, and that is Radiating Impact. A melee finisher additionally deals significant area effect damage in a 10-meter radius. Cooldown is 90 seconds. This perk can save your life and also just wipe out whole packs of Majoris Extremis and deal significant boss damage. If you want to make sure you don't waste the cooldown on this, basically, if there's like a guy in Execute and you whack them a single time with a melee attack, they will be set up into a gunstrike, like a little gunstrike icon will appear on them. You can shoot them instead, not waste the cooldown, and like save it for later. So you can strategically use this. It's a very powerful perk, and like this is honestly like an absolute lifesaver for the tactical class, and by far the best option because Marked for Death has fallen off entirely and Signal Jammer was never good, period. Now, for the Prestige perk selection, we are using a Bulk Carbine, so I always take Acuity. Each consecutive headshot increases headshot damage by 3% up to 15%. The bonus lasts 5 seconds of that headshot. Kind of a no-brainer, just always take extra headshot damage wherever you can find it if you're using a bolt weapon. Next perk I would take is Skilled Supplier. Ammo reserve increases by 15%. This just makes us more ammo efficient and also affects our secondary weapons, so really strong option there. Then I skip over Second Look, go down to Spare Power, putting an ammo buff just ability charged by 25%. Now, if you are playing Siege mode, I would take this over Skilled Supplier because you can get ammo boxes a lot more easily and buy them in the store. But for operations, I'd probably just take this. Now, the next perk I would take regardless is Resilience. Medicae stims restore 40% more health. This actually gives your stims a ton of value. You really notice like this the more you play with it. Really saves your life at times. It makes your stims like a super emergency button. Very strong option. And the next perk here is pretty much mandatory. Fortitude. Health increases by 15%. This perk simply allows you to live where you would otherwise die, period, and get one shot. And this class is already very, very squishy compared to all the other ones right now. He has basically no damage reduction, so he needs HP more than anybody. So pretty much always take this. And that is really all there is for this build guide. Hopefully this helped. And Bulk Carbine is a ton of fun. It really has been for a long time in this game, and it's still one of my preferred weapons on the tactical class. Hey guys, first Regardsman here, and I'll be talking about a heavy plasma build for the heavy class in patch 9.0 Space Marine 2. Now the heavy plasma does stupid damage in this game. They actually buffed a couple variants this patch as well. The rate of fire variant now charges up charge shots a little bit faster, and the venting speed builds up heat less. But still, despite these being buffed, I prefer the magazine capacity version, because the number one thing holding back the heavy plasma incinerator is the terrible ammo economy. So having ammo is just worth more to me, at least for operations, because in siege mode, the rate of fire and venting speed can be very powerful to get off like this massive damage versus the triple boss spawns. For like practical scenarios, I think magazine capacity is just better, and venting speed is actually kind of redundant in like most practical gameplay because of perks like rapid cooling. After killing 7 enemies in rapid succession, this weapon does not heat for 10 seconds, cooldown is 15 seconds. This is basically all the cooling you will ever need. Now, the other perks I take here are things like common cooling. Common shots generate 10% less heat. This weapon is actually very strong with common shots. It's like the only plasma gun that has good common shots, period. Really high damage and really good CHP recovery, so it's actually a pretty useful perk here. Next perk I take is heavy velocity. When in heavy stance, shots charge 15% faster. This is a really good perk for just upping your charge speed, which the heavy plasma kind of struggles with on a lot of its variants anyways. And the next perk I take down here is plasma collection, because ammo economy is very important. Then we pick up the perk efficient charge, which is charge shots from this plasma weapon use 2 less energy. You kind of get the idea. Ammo, ammo, ammo is just the way to go in this gun. And then we pick up the perk adamant restoration. When your health drops below 30%, your ammo reserve is restored by 25% of the maximum capacity. Cannot exceed maximum ammo capacity. Cooldown is 30 seconds. Now, this perk is incredible for ammo economy on all versions. Now, since it is percentage based, the magazine capacity version gets the most benefit out of this, but also since we have the perk here, Fortitude, we can actually sit at a fairly low HP and not be too like in danger compared to other classes, and proc this over and over and over off of like the most minor damage at that low HP. So very strong perk, really good against chaos, especially because they have like a lot of chip damage. It just lets you proc this over and over. Very strong for sure. Next perk I take is heavy fire. While in heavy stance, fire rate increases by 15%. This just helps us charge up our shots even more, because charge shot speed, like really, let's be real, you're not ever going to be charging up your shot outside of heavy stance in the first place, so it's just a free bonus. Then we move up here to supercharged shot to get more charge shot damage, and then we pick up what is an absolute S tier perk, heavy immunity. While in heavy stance, you do not lose control from heavy hits. This perk is so damn important to actually pull off shots at times that it's kind of stupid it's not like built into the gun. I do wish that like heavy stance just had no knockback, because not having heavy immunity on these perks, it just sucks ass, to be honest, but you know, it's just the way it is. Next perk I take here is retaliation. After a perfectly timed dodge, you deal 25% more damage for 10 seconds. Perfectly timed dodges are pretty easy to pull off in this game, and 25% more damage for 10 seconds is a super chunky damage buff for a very long uptime. And the final perk I take here, because I have no other choice, is charge cooling. Now, for the secondary, I once again take a rate of fire plasma pistol, because this one's charge rate did get buffed. It can actually actually dump out stupid DPS now, especially if you stack it with perks like versatility for even more damage on our secondary weapon. Very strong weapon, probably the overall best secondary in the game currently besides the heavy bolt pistol, but honestly this one just does so much damage at times, especially on things like tactical, that it's just kind of insane. Now for the perk tree, once again build ammo, because ammo is super important in Space Marine 2, and we also take the perk perpetual velocity, which is shots charged 20% faster, to make us get those charged shots even more quickly. Now for the heavy perk tree selection, I do take restoration first. Killing 7 enemies in rapid succession restores 1 armor segment. Cooldown is 15 seconds. This perk is by far the best of the first row here. Armor restores while drip fed are super valuable. Armor has damage caps that HP does not. It also has amazing synergy with perks like Conviction to constantly proc this, so super strong perk. Pretty much always take this regardless of the weapon you're taking. Next perk I take is Fortitude. Health increases by 30%. This gives you the fattest HP pool in the game outside of a class like Bulwark. Super strong for tanking and proccing things like Adamant Restoration on your heavy plasma, and also has amazing synergy with the percentage health damage reduction of Conviction. Now alternatively, you could take the perk here Thermal Boost. When ranged weapon is overheated or you have less than 50% ammo in the magazine, range damage increases by 15%. This is a pretty strong perk for bonus damage, but I will say never take this with the venting speed version, because you'll never proc the 50% overheated half the time, and you'll pretty much always be using the 50% ammo and magazine proc instead. So I'd pretty much just use this for like rate of fire or like the magazine capacity version if you do want to take this, but overall I think Fortitude is just way better because it keeps you alive to actually do damage. Now the next perk I take is Versatility. After switching weapons, your secondary weapon does 20% more damage. This is just a free DPS buff for the rate of fire plasma pistol, and this thing already does crazy DPS, so super strong option. Now you could also take Overwhelming Power for a full buff or a 10% range damage buff to your squad members within 10 meters and yourself. This is also very strong, but I'm also going to be using Brute Force, which is a 15% buff for our range damage while our Iron Halo is in cooldown, so this is actually a really easy way to proc this buff anyways, and we don't really need the 10% buff, but this one still helps if you're like shooting back at a Hellbrute or something, so it's really up to you. Now for the team perk selection, just take Encompassing Aegis. All squad members take 25% less damage from range attacks. Flat range damage reduction in this game is super strong because it also procs on armor, and this enables classes like Tactical that have barely any damage reduction period to finally have a little bit of damage reduction, so super strong option. Very strong team perk, probably one of the strongest team perks in the entire game, and these two team perks don't even compare. Next perk I take here is Consecutive Execution for equipment recharge. This is just 90-second melt-the-bomb, shock grenades, and cracks. Very strong option regardless of what mission you're playing, and it really scales up in siege mode. Next perk I take is Field Adjustment. Iron Halo recharges 20% faster, but its durability is reduced by 25%. Now getting your Iron Halo back faster is just way more valuable than actually having a lower durability on this thing, and really half the time you're going to be deactivating your Iron Halo before it ever actually breaks in the first place, so super valuable with like minimal downside. Next perk I take here I mentioned already, Brute Force, just a free range damage increase, and these other two suck, so kind of a no-brainer. And for the signature perk, I do take Offensive Capability. When active, Iron Halo deals damage over time to all enemies within 5 meters. This one actually can get you some executes sometimes. It will one-shot cultists, one-shot spore mines, and one-shot bramble like little barbs on the floor. Very strong for that. Now I will say Conversion Field is also very good if your teammate's like a Bulwark and has a very long cooldown. This one is when Iron Halo is active, all squad members within 20 meters regenerate ability charge 50% faster. You do kind of have to coordinate for this a little bit, or at least stick by your teammates, but it's still a very strong option, especially if you're playing with your friends. But overall, I'm playing it by myself today, so Offensive Capability is the way to go. And for the Prestige perk selection, I do just take Reverberating Impact first. Stomp area of effect radius increases by 50%. This is just the best of the melee perk choices you have here, because this one will like knock back spore mines, knock away bramble. It just gives you more value on your stomp, and usually you're only stomping Minoris, not trying to do damage anyways, so that's pretty much the only reason I take this. Next perk I take is Auxiliary Reload, one of the best perks in this whole tree. Melee kills like Extremis level or higher enemies restore your primary weapon's ammo by 1 magazine. For our actual Plasma Incinerator, this will function as a percentage-based restore, so very strong for that. It also scales up in things like Siege mode because there are so many damn Extremis enemies, and honestly, Absolute 2.0 also has a stupid amount of Extremis now, so really strong on the highest difficulties period. Next perk I take is Conviction. When your armor is fully depleted, you take 25% less health damage for 10 seconds. This is just an S tier perk, prevents you from getting nuked. Very strong, and also since we have a fat 30% increase to our HP of Fortitude, it's even more valuable, so a top tier perk for sure. Next perk I take is indispensable in my opinion, Indomitable Spirit. While performing a gun strike, you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back. This one simply saves your life at times. It lets you like shoot through a sword warrior attack at times as well. Very strong to keep you alive unless you do gun strikes you otherwise could not. So pretty much always take this. And these other perks aren't very good. And that's pretty much all there is for the Heavy Plasma Incinerator build. Not much has changed from patch 8.0, but honestly, Heavy Plasma has just been kind of broken since launch. Pretty brain dead, to be honest, but very, very strong and pretty fun sometimes. So I'll be talking about the best multi-melta build for patch 9.0 Space Marine 2. Now, the multi-melta is a top 3 weapon in this game. Incredible cleaving potential, incredible stagger, and pretty decent damage even on the higher waves of Siege. And even though the ranged and fire rate variant did get buffed this patch, I still take the ammo reserve option because ammo is just too damn important on this weapon, especially for the highest waves of Siege. Now, for the perk tree, I just pick up increased capacity into Elite Restoration. Killing a Majoris level or higher enemy restores 10% of your maximum ammo reserve, cannot exceed maximum ammo capacity, cooldown is 30 seconds. We get a ton of value out of this because we have so much magazine capacity on top of the 2 increased capacity perks we have here, and this is percentage based, so pretty damn good. Next perk here is Heavy Fire to increase our fire rate while in heavy stance, and then we pick up the perk Heavy Immunity. While in heavy stance, you do not lose control from heavy hits. This one can actually save your life and just let you keep firing, so super valuable. Next perk here is God Tier, Executioner's Fire. After a finisher, fire rate increases by 25% for 5 seconds. This perk really enables the fire rate on the ammo reserve option because it is kind of slow at times without this, but this perk really helps out. And this one will also reset its cooldown every single time you execute, so very easy to chain, especially in siege mode. It's a super powerful perk. It really does like all the fire rate you actually need. Next perk here is Heavy Might for more damage in heavy stance. And then I pick up the perk Trick Shot. Killing 5 enemies with 1 shot restores 1 armor segment. Cooldown is 30 seconds. This perk comes out to a ton of armor restore over the course of a game. Very powerful option. And armor restores in this game are just free damage reduction, so I pretty much always pick this up. Next perk I take here is Heavy Might. While in heavy stance you deal 15% more damage. These two just give you 30% more damage in heavy stance. Pretty damn valuable because 9 times out of 10 you will be firing in heavy stance anyways. Then we move over here to the perk Death Strike. After killing a Majoris level or higher enemy within melee combat, you deal 25% more damage for 10 seconds. Free damage buff for the most part, but this also counts for execution, so pretty good there. Next perk is Increased Capacity for more ammo reserves, and the final perk is Divine Might for a 10% damage increase, though alternatively you could pick up the perk down here, Discipline. When you have low ammo you deal 25% more damage, or you can even pick up Effective Range for one more meter of effective range. So pretty good options here either way. Anyways, that's all there is for the primary. As for the secondary weapon, I do take the Rate of Fire Plasma Pistol because this thing's AoE gun strikes are top tier, and the Rate of Fire version did get buffed in patch 9.0 and now charges up incredibly fast. Super powerful weapon. And for the perk tree, I just build all ammo capacity and charge rate because when you have Perpetual Velocity on top of a 5+ rate of fire on this, you fire stupidly fast. Super good option. Now alternatively, if you want to use the Heavy Bolt Pistol, you can, because this thing is really good when you don't have a headshot multiplier, which we don't with the multi-melta. So you're trying to kill like Zoanthropes or Neurothropes in like a true solo. This can be better than Plasma, but I'm using this in siege mode primarily, so I would just take Rate of Fire if I were you. Now for the heavy perk tree, I do pick up the perk Restoration first. Killing 7 enemies in rapid succession restores 1 armor segment. Cooldown is 15 seconds. This is by far the best perk in this first row here. Even multi-kill really isn't that worth it with the multi-melta because you just have enough ammo in the ammo reserve option anyways, and armor restores are just worth more. Next perk here is Fortitude. Health increases by 30%. This one just keeps you alive. It makes you incredibly tanky on top of the Conviction perk down here, so I pretty much always take this. And these other 2 perks aren't terrible, but they are definitely not as good as this one. Next one here is Overwhelming Power. When Iron Halo is active, all squad members within 10 meters deal 10% more range damage, pretty much a free team-wide range buff. And then the next perk here is Encompassing Aegis. All squad members take 25% less damage from range attacks. Absolute top-tier perk. A flat range damage reduction affects armor as well. Very powerful for your whole team. It's actually like one of the only damage reduction perks for the tactical period, so pretty much always take this. Next perk is Consecutive Execution. Killing 7 enemies in rapid succession restores equipment charge. Cooldown is 90 seconds. This perk can give you 90-second melta bombs, shock nades, crack grenades, super valuable wherever you can find it, and top tier on here as well. Next perk is Field Adjustment. Iron Halo recharges 20% faster, but its durability is reduced by 25%. Having your Iron Halo come back faster is just better than like losing durability. Very powerful perk. I do like Obdurate Bastion, but this one just does more, which is why I've been taking it now. Next perk here is Brute Force. When Iron Halo is in cooldown, range damage increases by 15%. This is a free range damage damage buff when your Iron Halo is down, and Commendation, or excuse me, Saving Grace is terrible up here, and the perk down here, Wrath of the Imperium, does good damage, but it requires you to drain your Iron Halo entirely, which also sucks, so Brute Force is just the most value, period. Next perk here for the signature tree is Offensive Capability. When active, Iron Halo deals damage over time to all enemies within 5 meters. A very powerful option to destroy Bramble, Cultists, Spore Mines, and does a lot of damage to the guys in front of you as well if we're touching this, so very powerful perk for sure. Alternatively, you could take Conversion Field, because this is a notable ability recharge for your teammates, especially if they have like a long cooldown like the Bulwark banner, so really strong option too, but it's up to you. Now for the prestige perks, I just take Reverberating Impact. Stomp area effect radius increases by 50%. This just makes our stomp more valuable, and this is far better than the melee damage increase. Next perk is kind of mandatory, Auxiliary Reload. Melee kills of Extremis level or higher enemies destroy your primary weapon's ammo by 1 magazine. This is percentage based for weapons like the Heavy Plasma and the Heavy Bolter and things like that, so really strong for us with so much ammo, and overall this one just enables your ammo economy, so pretty much always take this. Next perk here is Conviction. When your armor is fully depleted, you take 25% less health damage for 10 seconds. This is a super powerful top tier tank perk, and this combined with the 30% increased health just keeps you alive where other classes just get exploded. Very powerful perk. I always take this wherever I can. It's on like 4 out of the 6 classes, and it's top tier on all of them. Final perk here is Indomitable Spirit. While performing a gun strike, you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back. This perk also saves your life, being able to gun strike where you otherwise could not, especially versus things like lictors that will knock you around otherwise. Very strong option, really helps you get back CHP and stagger enemies, and really no knockback in this game is top tier wherever you can find it, and this one's no different. And home precision sucks, melee damage is not very valuable, and duelist doesn't do a ton compared to these. And that is pretty much all there is to the multi-melta build. Now alternatively, you could use the rate of fire or range variant, but these ones run out of ammo significantly faster than this one does, and ammo really does keep you alive in this game. And honestly, this is all you need for the multi-melta, because this weapon has been top tier since the game came out, and it really hasn't changed, because the multi-melta is just that gun, and the heavy is that class. Now the Heavy Bolter did pick up a couple buffs to his variants this patch. Both the ammo reserve option and venting speed option have been improved greatly. This one has more ammo, and this one builds up heat far more slowly. Now today I will be using the magazine capacity version, because ammunition and ammo economy are very important to deal more damage, and the heavy class's whole shtick is dealing damage, so great option for sure. Now accuracy may seem really enticing for a lot of people. This variant is super powerful, but honestly if you manage your spread properly, like the ammo reserve option is even better. Now for the perk tree here, I do pick up fast venting first. Weapons cool 15% faster, just free cooling here, and I pick up the perk perfect cooling. Then I move over here into increased capacity, pick up extra headshot damage, and take what I think is a mandatory perk here with heavy immunity. While in heavy stance you do not lose control from heavy hits. This simply allows you to shoot your gun in your heavy stance while being whacked by sword warrior normal attacks. A very powerful option, and like not having this perk sucks ass, to be honest. Next perk I take is Adamant Hunter. When your health is below 30%, headshots deal 25% more damage. This perk is incredible. I'm pretty sure it actually affects the base damage, so it does even more on top of like the other perks. This perk is just super powerful when it actually procs, though sometimes you won't be sitting at 30% HP, though the heavy class is very good for sitting at low HP anyways, because you do have the Fortitude perk on top of things like Conviction, so you're very tanky at a low HP, so perks like this are more beneficial for you than most classes. Now next perk I take is Heavy Precision, and then I move over here into the Heavy Might perks, because these ones do just buff our damage by like 30% in heavy stance, pretty much a no-brainer. Then I pick up the perk here, Discipline. When you have low ammo, you deal 25% more damage, and the next perk I pick here is Fast Venting. Weapons cool 15% faster, and the next perk up here is Increased Capacity for even more ammunition, because more ammo is pretty much always good. Now you can actually hit like nearly 1,000 ammo with this weapon variant if you also pick up the perk here, Additional Supplies, but I am not doing that today, because really 800 plus ammunition is more than enough, and if you really want more, you could just pick up the perk Adamant Restoration instead. And for my secondary weapon, I do pick up the newly buffed Rate of Fire Plasma Pistol. This weapon's charge speed in patch 9.0 is kind of crazy. It has amazing CHP recovery, DPS, and stagger thanks to that, on top of AoE gun strikes to deal even more damage in hordes. And for the perk tree, I just build like all ammo economy, because the only thing holding this weapon back currently is its like trash ammo economy. And since we are using a Heavy Bolter as like our primary weapon here, the Plasma Pistol having no headshot multiplier really doesn't matter to us whatsoever. So pretty much always pick up this thing, and rate of fire really is just that good this patch, mainly because stagger is just super strong, and this one just dumps out shots like nothing else. Now for my heavy perk tree selection, I do pick up Restoration first. Killing 7 enemies in rapid succession restores 1 armor segment. Cooldown is 15 seconds. Now this perk is by far the best one in this first row here. Armor restores like this are incredible. Armor in Space Marine 2 is just free damage reduction. It also has an incredible synergy with perks down here like Conviction. When your armor is fully depleted, you take 25% less health damage for 10 seconds. Super strong synergy here because, you know, by the time this one's like perk effect is over, you'll probably have this one's effect almost back up, so you get your armor back and then cycle back into them, so really strong there. Now next perk here is Fortitude. Health increases by 30%. This one gives you the fattest HP pool of any class except for Bulwark, and also has an amazing synergy here with the Conviction perk once again because this is a percentage based reduction and your HP pool will be higher, so this one's worth more. Now next perk here is Overwhelming Power. When Iron Halo is active, all squad members within 10 meters deal 10% more range damage. Super strong range damage buff for you and your teammates. I pretty much always pick this. You could take Versatility for more secondary damage, but I just think this one is better. Next perk here is God Tier, Encompassing Aegis. All squad members take 25% less damage from range attacks. 25% less damage flat from range attacks just prevents damage nukes. And when you stack this with Fortitude, Conviction on top of Restoration, you are stupidly tanky because this damage reduction also affects armor, so Encompassing Aegis is just top tier for sure. The next perk I take here is Consecutive Execution. Killing 7 enemies in rapid succession restores equipment charge by 1. Cooldown is 90 seconds. Now a 90-second cooldown on crack grenades, shock grenades, melta bombs is just incredible. Being able to dump out melta bombs, especially against hordes in siege mode, just gives you a total value machine, and honestly equipment in general just saves games, so super top tier perk. Pretty much always take this. Now alternatively, even though I did just say you could always take this, you could also take Adamant Will. After Iron Halo deactivates, you take 20% less health damage for 10 seconds. This one is by no means bad, I just think this one is far better. Next perk here is Field Adjustment. Iron Halo recharges 20% faster, but its durability is reduced by 25%. Super strong perk for sure. 20% faster recharge rate is very noticeable, and losing 25% durability is really not too bad, because most of the time you're going to be manually deactivating the Iron Halo anyways before it even breaks, so you don't really notice like the durability loss that much. Now for the next perk here is just Brute Force. When Iron Halos can cool down, range damage increases by 15%. Super strong range damage buff, and honestly these two perks here, like Saving Grace, is reviving a squad member fully restores Iron Halo's charge in all armor segments. This perk fucking sucks, and this perk down here, Wrath of the Imperium, and Iron Halo expends all its energy. Enemies in a 10-meter radius take significant damage. This perk also sucks because you literally have to drain your entire charge no matter what, and that's just terrible, so pretty much always take Brute Force because it comes into play way more. Next perk here is Offensive Capability. When active, Iron Halo deals damage over time to all enemies within 5 meters. This perk is very strong for cultists, spore mines, bramble vines, and really just dealing free damage to guys. Though if you want to take Conversion Field for cooldown reduction, this perk is also incredible. Now for the Prestige perk selection, I do pick up Reverberating Impact first. Stomp area of effect radius increases by 50%. This one just does more of what you want your Stomp to do, which is not do damage, just knocks back Spore Mines, Cultist, Bramble. Super powerful for what Stomp already does well, like knocking around by Norris, and just like a super value machine. I really think this one is far better than the other option down here. Now next perk is Auxiliary Reload. Melee kills of Extremis level or higher enemies restore primary weapons ammo by 1 magazine. This is just an ammo economy enabler for you. Super powerful option. Incredible value here. Pretty much always take this as well. Next perk I take is Conviction. When your armor is fully depleted, you take 25% less health damage for 10 seconds. This perk is incredible at keeping you alive. A 25% health damage reduction for a full 10 seconds is pretty much long enough to like get your armor back anyways, and having a health damage reduction while your armor is broken is like the most important thing ever, so very, very powerful to keep you alive. Next perk here also keeps you alive, Indomitable Spirit. While performing a gun strike, you do not lose control upon taking any hits, and you cannot be knocked back. Now this one will simply let you gun strike where otherwise you could not, and gun striking is half of how you get your CHP back in this game, especially for the heavy class, so super strong. Pick this up for sure, and honestly like these 4 perks here are just like by far the best setup. or any heavy combo, period. Hey guys, first Regardsman here, and so I'll be talking about a Last Fusel build for the Sniper class for both Operations and Siege mode in patch 9.0 Space Marine 2. Now, the Last Fusel is a very powerful weapon in this game, and by far the best of the two sniper options we have on this class, and the version I have chosen today is the magazine capacity variant, mainly because I just value ammunition way too much on this gun, and even like the base 20 here will give you 3 shots back off of a single versatile precision trigger, so very, very strong. And if you build for like full ammo reserve with things like high capacity and like all the ammo reserve options in this tree, you'd actually get 4 shots back, so pretty much never run out of ammo. Very, very strong for that. And honestly, even though you don't hit some breakpoints if you set it up that way, the only breakpoints you'll really be missing out on with targeted shot are like Tyranid Sword Warriors and Whip Warriors. It doesn't really matter too much because oftentimes you'll just shoot them and then they'll be like 2 shots from dead from your sidearm and you just like blast their heads. So pretty strong regardless. Now, the perks I pick up here are Perpetual Velocity, shots charge 15% faster, and I move over here into a god tier perk, Adamant Velocity. When your health is below 30%, shots charge 25% faster. Now this class doesn't really struggle with being low HP at all, so it's going to actually proc quite a bit. Then I pick up Headhunter, an increased radius perk. It's kind of optional, we can actually move to something else if you want. And then we'll also take the perk here, Perpetual Velocity, again for the same reason as all the other ones. And then we'll move over here to Charging Immunity, pick up Headhunter for more headshot damage, rapid health, and then Headhunter again, and I pick up one more ammo reserve option. Now, for the secondary here, I just take a heavy bolt pistol because this is by far the best. It also has a really good synergy with our like camo cloak with the perk here, Able Damage. After using a class ability, damage increases by 20% for 10 seconds. If we just build all the way down here for like first shot damage and Headhunter, or excuse me, Tactical Precision, we're just be doing a ton of headshot damage and even more off of our cloak, and very, very useful for the synergies of this class. And honestly, the gun strike damage is just like the best part of this whole thing, and really these two kind of suck. Now for the melee weapon selection, I just take a block knife once again because pretty much any downside of a block weapon falls off on this class because you just have things like Purification, Lingering Concealment, and Emperor's Grace, though I will be using the perk here, Exacting Focus, which reads, after a gun strike you deal 20% more range damage for 10 seconds, so if you want to take something like a balanced or a fencing knife for that, you can. I just don't think it matters all that much because the gun strikes are very easy to get even on a block weapon. Now for the perk tree, I do take Perpetual Strength, move over here into Kinetic Energy, which is each consecutive heavy attack increases heavy attack melee damage by 3% up to 30% for 3 seconds. Pretty much free damage because heavy attacks are like the only good thing on this weapon to begin with. Next perk I take is Heavy Onslaught for even more heavy attack damage. Then I move over here to make sure I pick up the perk Shadow Stab because Shadow Stab is just goated. And I also pick up the perk here, Shoulder Bash, because a distance stab sucks ass and Shoulder Bash is really underrated. Very good at getting in on enemies and like going back into combat. A super strong perk, to be honest, so I pretty much always take this. Now the last 2 perks here, Terminus Slayer and Extremis Slayer, they are up to you because they're both good. Just depends what you're trying to do. Like Extremis Slayer helps you kill the Extremis guys, and Terminus is good for just boss killing. And bossing in this thing is actually pretty good. Like the knife is pretty damn good for killing bosses in this game, especially the block knife with like surge charges. Now for the sniper perk tree selection, I do take Melee Mastery first. Melee damage increases by 20% against Majora's level and higher enemies. This is the best perk in this whole tree by far for me. Block Break is not terrible. This one just comes into play far more, so I pretty much always take it. Next perk is Adaptability. Reloading while having low ammo or manually activating Camo Cloak increases melee damage by 25% for 10 seconds. A 25% melee damage buff is very strong, and 10 seconds is a super long uptime, so I pretty much always take this as well. And Lethal Efficiency here, killing more than one enemy with one shot from a Last Fusel restores its charge by 1. This is just more ammo economy for you, and is also the only perk in this tree here that does anything for you on this build, so pretty much always take it. And for the team perk selection, I do take Squad Renewal. A headshot kill restores ability charge by 10% for any squad member. This is basically just a CDR like enabler for your camo cloak, really helps for cloak management, so pretty much always pick this up on this build. And then for Purification here, manually activating camo cloak removes negative status effects, restores all contested health. This perk is god tier. You take this pretty much all the time if you're trying to live. If you combine this with things like Lingering Concealment and Emperor's Grace for invulnerability for 2 seconds upon using your cloak, you're pretty much unkillable, super powerful. You don't even need stims. Purification is just that perk. Now, next perk I take is Targeted Shot. The first range attack that breaks camo cloak deals 75% more damage. Amazing to Last Fusel to like one-shot most Majoras in the game, even with this setup. And the next perk I take is Lingering Concealment. After performing an attack that breaks camo cloak, you remain hidden for 2 seconds. If you do use a perk like, or excuse me, if you use the camo cloak cancel, you are able to just take advantage of Targeted Shot over and over and over with Lingering Concealment and basically lose no camo cloak charge. Very powerful combo, kind of broken, you'll assume you use it in this run, but yeah, it's pretty damn strong. That's why we picked these up. Now, next perk I take for the signature tree is Pattern of Excellence, performing 3 consecutive headshots restores equipment charged by 1. Cooldown is 30 seconds. This just gives you like endless melt-bombs, shock nades, and cracks. Super powerful perk, and like with everything else in this, you're just kind of god tier. Like, you're pretty much unkillable. And the only reason builds like this are not like the absolute top tier of Siege is because it doesn't have the best clear rate, but you are basically impossible to kill, which is pretty damn strong in itself. Now, for the Prestige perk selection, I do just take Emperor's Grace first. When Camo Cloak activates, you become invulnerable to damage for 2 seconds. This is just a god tier perk, and this invulnerability counts as like no knockback, or the ultimate form of no knockback, because whatever says you are invulnerable in Space Marine 2 means that you can't take damage, but you can also not be knocked back by any attack, period. You basically phase through attacks. Super powerful for that reason, so pretty much always take this. Next perk I take is also god tier on this class, Versatile Precision. Performing a kill with your secondary weapon restores 15% of your primary weapon's ammo. Cooldown is 15 seconds. This is just an ammo economy enabler for your last Fusel. Super mandatory in my opinion. Pretty much always take this. And the next perk I take is Conviction. When your armor is fully depleted, you take 25% less health damage for 15 seconds. This is an S tier perk as well because this prevents you from getting nuked, especially since this class likes to sit at low HP, so very, very powerful. And the final perk I pick is Exacting Focus. After a gun strike, you deal 20% more range damage for 10 seconds. So you do gun strikes in this game all the time, regardless of block balance or fencing, and this will actually let you hit the breakpoint to one-shot sword warriors and whip warriors even with the setup, so very strong for that. And really, one-shotting guys isn't that important because like most Majoras already have a breakpoint on them, and like not one-shotting the sword warriors or whip warriors isn't the biggest downside, but this perk does let you do that on the setup regardless. So that is pretty much everything I have to say about this sniper build setup for the last Fusel. I simply value ammo. So that's pretty much all I have to say about the actual perk tree setup and weapon selections for the sniper build here. Now I will say the last Fusel is just strong regardless of hitting every single breakpoint, though if you do want to hit breakpoints on all Majoras, you can build it like this instead. Great Might and Divine Might will push you over the edge to like one-shot Tyranid sword warriors and stuff like that, or alternatively you could pick up something like marksmanship. But like honestly guys, one-shotting or like one execute stancing the sword warriors and whip warriors doesn't matter that much in this game. They're very easy to kill regardless, and like once they get shot once by targeted shot, your heavy bolt pistol is going to do the job pretty easily. You're going to get like versatile precision triggers anyways. And I just value ammo way more because sometimes I just like to spam my shots regardless, and it really just lets you do that. So that's why I picked this one. Hey guys, first Regardsman here. Today I'll be talking about a bolt sniper rifle build for the sniper class in patch 9.0 Space Marine 2 for both operations and siege mode. Now the bolt sniper rifle got some buffs this patch to its firepower and rate of fire variant. The rate of fire variant now has an increased rate of fire, and the firepower variant now has an increased headshot multiplier. And this is the one I'll be using today because I want to hit some breakpoints and just do more damage overall. And really, with our prestige perk of Versatile Precision, our ammo economy on this weapon is not bad by any means, so it's actually a ton of fun to use right now. And for my weapon perk tree, I do take Remote Threat first. Enemies at a distance of more than 25 meters take 20% more damage. This is a pretty chunky damage increase. You mainly use this versus ranged enemies and things like Zoanthropes and even Neurothropes at times, but when it comes to effect, it's pretty good. Now the main reason I take this is to move over here into an S tier perk, Survival Instinct. When your health is below 30%, you deal 25% more damage. Now with the setup we'll be using today with Lingering Concealment plus Purification plus Squad Renewal, you will pretty much be able to sit and cloak and never die in this game anyways. You can kind of just take the 30% HP buff the whole game. Super strong perk. That's what I did in the run I'll be showcasing here. Next perk I take is Adamantine Grip, and then move up here to Finisher Reload. Then we take the perk Unwavering Resolve. After reloading while having low ammo, damage increases by 25% for 5 seconds. This is not an incredible perk, but sometimes it does come into play. I just pick up the extra headshot damage and ammo capacity here with increased capacity. Then move over here to the perk Strong Start. First round in magazine deals 25% more damage. This can actually help you one-shot certain enemies at times, pretty useful for that reason. And the next perk I take here is Cleaving Fire. Shots will penetrate enemy block stances, dealing 25% of the usual damage, mainly so I can go over here into Recoupment. Killing a Majora's level or higher enemy with a headshot with this weapon restores one armor segment. Cooldown is 15 seconds. Well, with this build, we'll be popping heads all the time, and armor restore, especially on the sniper class, doesn't have a ton. It's actually pretty useful and pretty strong in general. Now, alternatively, you could skip this one, just go down here into the extra Great Might perk for Terminus damage and the Reloaded Restoration for extra ammo capacity, or excuse me, ammo restoration. But overall, you really don't need that too much on this weapon, especially for operations. Maybe I take that in siege mode, but for the operations, you can get away with a lot more. And for our secondary weapon selection, we do take the heavy bolt pistol. The Inferno pistol kind kind of sucks, and the bolt pistol definitely sucks, and this thing is the best gun strike damage on this class. Also has a ton of ammo with its ammo reserve and magazine capacity version, and does pretty decent damage on top of being able to get us back primary ammunition with our perk Versatile Precision. Performing a kill with your secondary weapon restores 15% of your primary weapon's ammo. Cooldown is 15 seconds, so really the more ammo on your secondary the better. And for the melee weapon selection, I do just take a block knife because the block knife is by far the best knife in this game, even after the balanced and fencing buffs. This class really doesn't need to parry all that often, and doesn't really need the armor restore off of my Norse especially, so damage is the way to go, and the block knife is best for that by far, and the 4+ speed is still very strong. Now for the perk tree setup, I just go down here in Perpetual Strength and move over here through Kinetic Energy. Each consecutive heavy attack increases heavy attack melee damage by 3% up to 30% for 3 seconds. Very strong perk, and then we move over here into Perpetual Strength, and then we pick up another heavy onslaught perk. Heavy attacks with this melee weapon deal 15% more damage, because really the knife is a heavy attack weapon primarily, either with your Skull Crushers or your Shadow Stab, which we will be picking up here. And then I do like to move up here into Tide of Battle for the power wave increased distance, and I also take the perk Shoulder Bash. Replace the distance stab with Shoulder Bash while evading / sprinting. Tap the attack button to quickly perform an area of effect forward attack. I feel like this is far better than distance stab and less clunky, so I prefer it by far. Next perk I take is Extremis Slayer. This is really up to you, because you could also take Terminus Slayer, but either way it's a pretty standard build for either the fencing or balanced as well. Now for my sniper perk tree setup, I do take Melee Mastery first. Melee damage increases by 20% against Majora's level and higher enemies. This is a pretty damn strong perk because it just gives you free damage on your block knife, which you're going to be using all the time anyways. Now alternatively, you could take Block Break. Shots will penetrate enemy block stances, dealing 50% of the usual damage, because if we combine this with the Bolt Sniper perk tree Cleaving Fire, we can get this up to 75%, but this is primarily only useful for things like Zangor Shield Guys, the Tyranid Sword Warriors, and definitely Biovores, but overall I really don't value this perk that highly. Now a perk I do value highly is Adaptability. Reloading while having low ammo or manually activating Camo Cloak increases melee damage by 25% for 10 seconds, so a 25% melee damage increase on top of this is 45%. A 10-second uptime on this is insanely long, so this pretty much just comes into play all the time, and it triggers off of something you're doing all the time regardless, which is cloaking and meleeing guys with your sniper class. So very valuable perk for whenever you need to horde clear. Now alternatively, you could take the perk High Capacity. The maximum amount of ammo you can carry increases by 10%. This will give you a little bit more ammo back off of Versatile Precision because it is percentage based, but overall I don't value this one as highly as this, and Vantage Point is really good at all. Now next perk I take here is Iron Grip. Weapon spread and recoil are reduced by 20%, and range damage against Terminus level enemies is increased by 15% for both snipers and Stalker bolt rifles. So this is pretty much a no-brainer because this is the only perk here that works with our primary weapon, so pretty much always take this. Now for the team perk selection, you can choose between Marksmanship, which is headshot damage increases by 10% for all squad members, or Squad Renewal. A headshot kill restores ability charge by 10% for any squad member. Now the Marksmanship perk here on the Bolt Sniper can hit some breakpoints or do significant damage with our headshot multiplier on the Bolt Sniper variant here, but really I just value Squad Renewal more because you don't actually lack for damage that much even if you aren't hitting all the breakpoints on the melee guys. This mainly affects the melee Tyranid Sword Warriors, and not hitting the breakpoints on them does kind of suck sometimes, but it doesn't matter that much, and having survivability with things like Squad Renewal plus Purification means you pretty much never ever die, and with these two perks combined, you can pretty much just take your Bolt Sniper and live on Survival Instinct forever and just have zero problems just headshotting guys for extra damage anyways. But if you want to take this, I would also take the Renewal perk down here, just in case you mess up your Camo Cloak cancel and you can't get your Camo Cloak back. Now for the next perk I take here is Target Shot. The first range attack that breaks Camo Cloak deals 75% more damage. Now we combine this with Lingering Concealment, we do benefit off of Targeted Shot for these 2 seconds, and if we Cloak cancel, we can pretty much just infinitely loop our Cloak here. This is a very busted combo, to be honest, and it's really busted with any melee setup or range setup because Lingering Concealment is kind of OP at the moment. After performing an attack that breaks Camo Cloak, you remain hidden for 2 seconds. Now any melee attack will break your Cloak cooldown thing, so it'll reset it. And what I mean by that is, if you are to Camo Cloak and you use a melee attack, it'll cancel your cloak instantaneously, and if you time that right, you can get your cloak back within the 2 seconds that Lingering Concealment is active. So you basically have a permanent invis, and when we combine that with Emperor's Grace, when Camo Cloak activates, you become invulnerable to damage for 2 seconds. You basically can't die ever if you properly input the actual frames here, the frame cancel, and it's a kind of busted combo. It might get nerfed one day, we'll see what happens, but for now, this is the best combo in the game overall, because this guy literally can't die with this combo, and it isn't really good for siege mode because you do get timed out, but for operations, he is incredible. Now, for the signature perk here, we take Pattern of Excellence, performing 3 consecutive headshots for swords equipment charged by 1. Cooldown is 30 seconds. Very strong perk, just free melt-the-bombs, free shock nades, free crack grenades, super strong, and on top of everything else, it just like fills out your entire game plan entirely. Now, for the prestige perk selection, we take Emperor's Grace. When Camo Cloak activates, you become invulnerable to damage for 2 seconds. This perk is S tier, absolutely amazing. This thing makes it so you don't take any damage, and the invulnerability also makes it so you don't get staggered at all by any attack in the game. This is the best form of knockback resist, period. You basically no-clip through enemies. Incredible perk. Pretty much always take this. Same thing here, Versatile Precision. Performing a kill with your secondary weapon restores 15% of your primary weapon's ammo. Cooldown is 15 seconds. This one just enables the ammo economy on your Bolt Sniper, and the Bolt Sniper sucks ass for ammo economy without this perk, so always take this, and really just take this, period, on the Sniper class. Next perk I take is Conviction. When your armor is fully depleted, you take 25% less health damage for 15 seconds. This perk just keeps you alive in like any situation you might get nuked. Very strong. And the final perk I take here is Exacting Focused. After a gun strike, you deal 20% more range damage for 10 seconds. Even without parry weapons, you are gun striking all the time in this game, off of Minoris, off of just perfect dodging, off of just like whacking an execute state guy and shooting him. And a 20% range damage increase does hit some breakpoints, and a 10-second uptime is incredibly long, so super valuable. Now, alternatively, you could take Indomitable Spirit or Versatility. These are both really, really good perks. Indomitable Spirit, though, I don't value as highly for this setup, mainly because if we properly cloak cancel with Lingering Concealment, Emperor's Grace just makes it so we don't get hit, period. It doesn't really matter that much. And Versatility is good just because it gets some bonus damage on your heavy bolt pistol. But that is pretty much all there is for this build. I won't lie, guys. Sniper's in a really strong spot right now. If they remove the timer, this guy will probably have the easiest time of any class, just absolutely clearing all content in the game, because, again, if you properly cloak cancel with Lingering Concealment and things like Purification and Squad Renewal and all of your melee damage perks, you can never die. And when I say never die, I mean literally never die, because you'll be invincible the whole game. Granted, most players aren't going to be able to perfectly input every single time, which is why we take the Squad Renewal perk or Renewal perk to begin with, but either way, very, very strong class, very broken setup, to be honest, and we'll see if they ever patch it, but for now, this is the best Bolt Sniper build, or one of the best Bolt Sniper builds in my opinion. Hey guys, First Regardsman here. Today we're talking about a melee sniper Bolt Carbine build for patch 9.0 Space Marine 2. Now, the Bolt Carbine and melee sniper combo is classic in this game, very powerful, and today I'll be using the magazine capacity and ammo reserve option, mainly because you just want to be able to shoot your Bolt Carbine as long as possible, and we really do benefit from the magazine capacity, because being able to shoot with the rate of fire of this thing is amazing, on top of the fact that we have dexterous hands. Bolt Carbines reload 20% faster, and their weapon spread and recoil reduced by 15%, so we're not losing a lot, especially when you stack that with things like Hone Precision, which are equipped weapons maximum spread decreases by 50% when firing without aiming. This basically turns your Bolt Carbine into a laser beam. Very, very valuable for that option. Now, the rest of the perks I take here are just Headhunter into Rapid Health. Let's move down here into Divine Might over into our increased capacity, and the perk Magazine Restoration, because really this thing is quite ammo efficient already, and it just helps that, especially on top of Versatile Precision. And I just move up here into the perk Recoupment. Killing a Majoris level or higher enemy with a headshotless weapon restores 1 armor segment. Cooldown is 15 seconds. This is a very strong perk. If you don't want to take this, you could just move over and take Gunstrike Reload, or swap out the perk Divine Might here for the Gunstrike Reload, because getting an instantaneous reload off a Gunstrike is also very valuable, especially since in patch 9.0 they did buff the balanced and fencing versions and nerf the block a little bit to be very strong. So these ones are really good for Gunstrikes, and they're also as pretty good as melee weapons now. So if you want to use that, you certainly can. Now, as far as the secondary goes, I do take the Heavy Bolt Pistol, mainly because this thing's Gunstrike damage is just amazing. It also has a great headshot multiplier for long range, pretty damn useful, and the perk tree setup is just going up here, and I always take the magazine capacity and magazine options just because ammo is almost always better on bolt pistols and things like that. Now, as far as the combat knife goes, I am still going to be taking the block. In the footage I will show of this actual run, I was playing in patch 8.0, so this one was slightly better, but if you want to take the balanced or fencing, that's definitely up to you. These are both like actually pretty good weapons now in patch 9.0 because they got a pretty fat buff, but for the perk tree, I would just go down here regardless and always pick up the perk here Shoulder Bash, because we will combine this with things like Lingering Concealment to pretty much infinitely cycle our cloak. Very useful for that reason. Now for the perk tree setup, I take the classic melee mastery. Melee damage increases by 20% against resource level and higher enemies. This is a super chunky melee damage boost for basically free. And this perk here, Medicae Adept, pretty trashed, and the perk up here, Block Break, is not super useful in general. Pretty much only good versus things like Sword Warriors and the Biovores at times, but usually just gonna be melt-bombing them anyways. Now the next perk I take here is Adaptability. Reloading while having low ammo or manually activating Camo Cloak increases melee damage by 25% for 10 seconds. Super easy to pull off, on top of the fact that 10 seconds is a super long uptime, and 25% is a pretty fat boost. Like, we're pretty much just getting a 45% melee damage boost here for free at all times. Now, next perk I take here is Dexterous Hands. Bolt carbines reload 20% faster, and the weapon spread and recoil reduced by 15%. Considering we are using a bolt carbine, this is like the only usable perk here anyways, so pretty much a no-brainer. Then we take the perk here, Squad Renewal. A headshot kill restores ability charge by 10% for any squad member. This is just a Camo Cloak enabler, definitely the best perk by far in this tree. These other two still need a serious buff, even like post patch 9.0. Now, next perk here is Purification. Manually activating Camo Cloak removes negative status effects and restores all contested health. Very, very useful perk, especially when you combine it with things like Emperor's Grace to have an absurd combo where you get all your HP back and you become invulnerable for 2 seconds on your cloak, especially on top of Lingering Concealment. So very strong option, which is why I pick it here. Then move down here into Tactical Ambush. The first melee attack that breaks Camo Cloak deals 150% more damage. This is like 99% useful for your Shadow Stab, but Shadow Stab does insane damage off of block charges. Even in 9.0, like, the charge rate of attacks is not affected by the speed stat on weapons, so Shadow Stab is still just as good as it has always been. A very strong option for sure, and Tactical Ambush is far better than Targeted Shot. Now, next perk here is Lingering Concealment. After performing an attack that breaks Camo Cloak, you remain hidden for 2 seconds. This perk is incredible. You can pretty much cycle this to infinitely give you your cloak back. You know, any melee attack in this game will automatically break your cloak, and Lingering Concealment will leave you for 2 seconds, so you can actually get your cloak back if you precisely time it in that 2-second period. Very, very strong. Basically a perma-invis if you properly use it, especially with things like the Fencing or Balance Knife now, because they are so damn fast that you can just get your attacks off so quickly. Very strong option for sure. Alternatively, you could take Persistence. When Camo Cloak deactivates, you take 20% less health damage and do not lose control upon taking heavy hits. It cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. This is a no knockback effect on the Sniper class, still very strong, and health damage reductions are almost always good in this game, but Lingering Concealment is just super, super strong as well. And for the signature perk, we do take Pattern of Excellence. Performing 3 consecutive headshots restores equipment charge by 1. Cooldown is 30 seconds. This weapon is, or I should say, the signature perk is incredible. Spamming Melt-A-Bombs, especially with the 3 consecutive headshots being incredibly easy with a bolt carbine, is so damn good. S tier perk, probably one of the best signature perks in the entire game, if not the best. And for the prestige perk setup, I do take Emperor's Grace once again. When Camo Cloak activates, you become invulnerable to damage for 2 seconds. This perk is incredible. You use Camo Cloak so often that you're getting the 100% damage reduction from this constantly. Also, the invulnerability from this basically makes you phase through objects. Like, you don't exist to attacks anymore, which means you can go into your cloak, set up a Shadow Stab, phase right through like 4 hits at once, and still get your block charges off. Incredible perk. Honestly, I'd say it's like the best prestige perk in this whole tree here. Such an amazing value, especially when you combine it with things like Squad Renewal and Purification. Now, next perk here is Versatile Precision. Performing a kill with your secondary weapon restores 15% of your prime weapon's ammo. Cooldown is 15 seconds. This one pretty much gives you infinite ammo on your class as long as you have secondary ammunition. Very, very strong. And a percentage increase, especially on our ammo reserve option, is a ton of ammunition back. The next perk I take here is Indomitable Spirit. While performing a gun strike, you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits and cannot be knocked back. This is some of the only no knockback on this class period, and really being able to just pull off gun strikes in this game where otherwise you could not can actually save your life, even with things like Emperor's Grace and Purification. S tier perk for sure. Next perk I take here is Conviction. When your armor is fully depleted, you take 25% less health damage for 15 seconds. This perk is S tier on whatever class it is on. This is actually the best version of this perk in the entire game because it lasts for 15 seconds instead of 10, and 25% less health damage on armor break is so valuable because armor, when your armor breaks, it pretty much just means that you're fucked in most cases, or like that's when you're actually in danger. So this pretty much just prevents you from getting damage nuked there, and damage nukes are like 99% of what will actually kill you in this game. Now, this class actually does have a lot of good prestige perks. You could take Versatility or Exacting Focus over something like Versatile Precision if you wanted to for operations, but this is what I decided to take today, and hopefully this build guide helped. Now, once again, the true solo operation I showed for this was in in patch 8.0 or 8.1, so it's not quite representative of the block knife now, but the block knife is still good. It's just slightly worse because now it's a 4+ speed instead of a 6 speed, so that's pretty much the only downside of it. Hey guys, first Regardsman here, and today I'll be talking about the best Vanguard build for patch 9.0 Space Marine 2. Now the Vanguard is a very popular and very strong option in this game. He has a ton of healing mechanics, a ton of damage reduction, and amazing CHP recovery, while also having excellent close range damage, thanks to things like the automatic bolt carbine, which we will be taking today. Now this is the overall best weapon for the Vanguard class in general, just because its ammo economy is amazing. This thing also gets an increased headshot multiplier within 10 meters of a target, which pairs very well with your grapnel, on top of your prestige perk here, Battlefield Awareness. If a target is within 8 meters, you'll deal 10% more range damage. This is pretty much a free range damage buff for your bolt carbine whenever you grapnel, which happens all the time. This weapon also has a great synergy with fencing weapons with stuff like gunstrike reload, so really it's just a win all around. And on top of all of this, its CHP recovery is almost second to none. Now for the actual perk tree here, I do go into Headhunter through Rapid Health over into the perk Hone Precision. Equip weapons maximum spread decreases by 50% when firing without aiming. This basically turns your hip fire into a laser beam. It's actually more accurate than aiming down sights, so our 2 accuracy here doesn't really matter at all because of that, which gives us the luxury of taking a magazine capacity and ammo reserve option. Then I move through here into Divine Might for a 10% flat damage increase to pick up more headshot damage with Headhunter. Then I go down through this part of the tree for a magazine size increase and more ammo on top of magazine restoration. When your health drops below 30%, your ammo reserve is restored by a full magazine, cannot exceed maximum ammo capacity. Cooldown is 30 seconds. Now, while our weapon is already pretty ammo efficient, this is some of the only ammo regeneration the Vanguard can get, period. So a very strong option for sure, which is why we pick it up here. And since I will be using a fencing weapon here, I do move up and pick up Gunstrike Reload. After a Gunstrike, this weapon instantly reloads. This one has great synergy with fencing because half the time you'll be shooting into a guy's head, they'll do an attack, you'll parry them, Gunstrike, and get your magazine back to do it all over again, or just melee attack them. Very strong option. And the final perk I pick up here is Recruitment. Killing a Majoris level or higher enemy with a headshot with this weapon restores 1 armor segment. Cooldown is 15 seconds. Armor restores in this game are very valuable. The Vanguard has a ton already, but 1 more is that much better. And mainly armor is strong because it has damage caps where HP does not. So things like melee hits, even from bosses, will always be taken down to 0 damage no matter how much armor you have remaining. So having a drip feed of armor is very strong. It also pairs very well with things like Conviction. When your armor breaks, you get a 25% health damage reduction, which is why we really value it so highly. And for my secondary selection on the Vanguard class, I have decided to take a heavy bolt pistol this time, mainly because we are using a fencing weapon like I mentioned previously, and the heavy bolt pistol has the best gunstrike damage of any gun in this game. Very strong for that option, and honestly this class doesn't even have access to the plasma pistol anyways, so it's kind of a no-brainer to take this one. And once again, I pick up the magazine capacity version with ammo reserve options, mainly because we kind of struggle with ammo economy. And the way I build it is just going pure headshot damage for the top tree into tactical precision, over here into the perk increased capacity for even greater ammo reserves. Very useful for this class for sure. And for my melee weapon selection, I have decided to take the newly buffed fencing chainsword. Now in patch 9.0, the speed of this thing got up to 9 and its strength is now 12. Now this is an incredibly fast weapon, which is why I build it for light attacks with stuff like combined onslaught for a flat 10% damage increase to our light combos, on top of things like momentum gain. Each consecutive light attack increases light attack and melee damage by 3% up to 30% for 3 seconds. This thing with a 9 speed is a super huge damage increase, and honestly, even without the gun strikes, this thing can do serious damage. Very, very powerful option, one of the best weapons in the game currently in my opinion. And we have an amazing synergy here with the perk selection Swift Recovery. Heavy attack restores 100% more contested health, applies to the following attacks: Quick Punch, Front Kick, Shoulder Bash, Stomp. Your heavy attacks with this thing, especially with the full throttle skip that I will link in a video up here, is incredibly powerful at getting your CHP back. And we combine this with the full throttle skip and the CHP recovery perk and our 50% increased contested health recovery from our starting perk, which only affects melee in case you're unaware. You can get so much HP back off of a chainsword, and with a 9 speed, your heavy attacks come out so fast that Minoris honestly lack the power to kill you, and even if they did, you just fencing parry them, get armor back. Incredible horde clear tool, incredibly damaging tool, and also gives you gun strike, so pretty much fits everything we'd want to do in this class. And also, even though it has a cleaving potential of 1, this really doesn't affect you at all in this game. Like in actual gameplay, you hardly even notice this because you're just attacking so fast, and most of the time you're attacking single targets and stuff like that. You can still knock guys around regardless, so very, very strong option. Though I will say, if you you want to take the Balance Chainsword, you certainly can, because this one is also very strong, although it is ever so slightly slower, but these are both very good options, and even the Block Chainsword, that's like fits your fancy here. For the perk tree selection, I have decided to take Upper Hand first once again. After a perfectly timed parry, block, or dodge, you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. No knockback, even with the recent grace period on stun locks, is still incredible. It just lets you do things that you otherwise could not, especially if you're swinging around with a fast chainsword. Very strong effect for sure. Alternatively, you could take Melee Mastery for a 10% melee increase versus Majoris and higher enemies, but I just value this one way more. Next perk I take here is Conviction. When your armor is fully depleted, you take 25% less health damage for 10 seconds. This perk is S tier, so good at preventing damage nukes. When your armor breaks in this game, that is when you are at your most vulnerable, and this one gives you a fat 25% health damage reduction during that time period for 10 seconds, and 10 seconds is an incredibly long uptime. It also has great synergy with perks like Recruitment on our Bulk Carbine, and our prestige perks here, Launch Restoration and Restoration, that I'll get into more later. Now, the next perk I take is Consecutive Execution. Killing 7 enemies in rapid succession restores equipment charge by 1. Cooldown is 90 seconds. Equipment recharge in this game is top tier almost all the time, pretty much because getting 90-second melt-a-bombs is just top tier, period. Blows up any Extremis in your way, blows up any Majoris pack in your way, and having anything like that on a cooldown is just amazing. And next perk I take here for the team perk selection is Unmatched Zeal. Melee finishers of Extremis or Terminus level enemies additionally restore health by 30% for any squad member. You know, this one scales up the higher difficulty you're playing on, so things like Hard Siege and Absolute will simply benefit from this more than, say, like Ruthless will, but overall this perk just turns any Extremis or Terminus into a med pack. Very, very strong perk, one of the strongest in the game. Alternatively, you could take Inner Fire, because this perk is also an amazing enabler for yourself and your team. As for the gear selection here, I take Shockwave first. A Diving Kick additionally deals damage in a 5-meter radius. Very strong perk at clearing out things like Bramble. You can pretty much like detonate any Cultist Swarm or Spore Mine Swarm off of one grapnel. I pretty much use it for that exclusively, and these other two perks aren't very strong anyways. And this one, Restless Fortitude, after a Diving Kick, you take 40% less range damage for 10 seconds. This one's okay, but it kind of has some negative synergies at times with stuff like Zone of Impact and Tactical Prowess, mainly because you're going to be executing off of your grapnel more often than just the damage reduction, which is why I take this one instead. Next perk I take here is Zone of Impact. Performing a finish with the grapnel launcher deals damage to nearby enemies. This damage is absurd, and we stack this with Tactical Prowess, which is letting us execute guys at 33% HP and refunding our grapnel on an execute. You can pretty much just wipe out whole Majoris and even Extremis packs at times. The only downside of this combo is that it's pretty buggy, but it works more than it doesn't, and it's still a top tier perk for sure. Next perk I take here is Thrill of the Fight. After a perfect timed parry, block, or dodge, you take 20% less health damage for 5 seconds. This is pretty much up all the time, because even though it only lasts for 5 seconds, you are parry, blocking, and dodging all the time in Space Marine 2, because that's just how the gameplay combat loop works. So that's why we pretty much always take this perk. Now, you could also take Grim Determination when grapnel launcher is in cooldown. Weapon damage increases by 15%. I just don't like this perk that much, mainly because you can't just use it off of like one grapnel charge being down. They both have to be in cooldown, which means you aren't having your Tactical Prowess up or Zone of Impact anyways, so it's really not as useful as it may initially sound, which is kind of unfortunate. And I would actually take the Combat Readiness perk over this one if I were to choose between these two. This one just makes your grapnel come back 20% faster, which is pretty useful for Zone of Impact and Tactical Prowess, especially since we don't have Inner Fire here. And the signature perk is, like I mentioned before, Tactical Prowess. This one just gives you your grapnel back whenever you execute a guy with your grapnel at the 33% HP or lower. Very strong perk, very good synergy with Zone of Impact. Again, the only downside of it is that it's kind of buggy, but hey, you know, it's still top tier despite that. For my prestige perk selection, I do take Battlefield Awareness first. If a target is within 8 meters, you deal 10% more range damage. Well, first of all, we have a grapnel launcher, so we're going close range all the time. We also have a Bulk Carbine, so we benefit off of close range more than most weapons do because of the headshot multiplier increase. And we are also an incredibly aggressive melee class that has incredible CHP recovery on both our primary weapon and melee weapon with this build. So it's just a free range damage buff as far as I'm concerned. Very strong perk for sure. Next perk I take here is Fortitude. Health increases by 15%. All health increases in Space Marine 2 are top tier because the way health works is that the lower your HP gets, the more damage resistance you get. So the bigger your base HP, the more effective HP you have at low HP values. So what I mean by that is that when you're at like 20% HP, your HP is going to have a fat damage reduction, and your 20% HP is going to be worth more than somebody that doesn't have this perk. So very, very top tier perk for sure. Next perk I take here is Launch Restoration. Using the grapnel launcher restores one armor segment. Like I said before, drip fed armor in this game is amazing because it has damage caps that HP does not, and this one is tied to your aggressive abilities. So let's say you're getting shot at and you hit your Q or whatever it is on your controller and you grapnel on a guy, but now you have an armor back on top of the fact that you're able to shoot them with your bolt carbine to get your CHP back, or swing like your melee chainsword at them. Very, very strong synergy for sure with this class. And the next perk I take here is for the same reason, Restoration. Killing 7 enemies rapid succession restores one armor segment. Cooldown is 15 seconds. When we stack this, Launch Restoration, and our Bolt Carbine perk, Recoupment, our drip-fed armor is kind of insane. You get so much armor back, and you're way tankier than you might seem, even with just the perk Conviction here. So, very strong combination. Now, some people might like Indomitable Spirit. While performing a gun strike, you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back. This is a very strong perk, definitely. However, we do have upper hands, so we really don't need a no knockback on this, because we pretty much have no knockback all the time, because we are a fencing melee class, after all, that is grapnelling in constantly. So this 10-second proc is pretty much always active, which is why I don't really rank this one very highly on this class. Much better on classes like the Heavy and Sniper, for sure. Now, that's pretty much what I like to say about the build here. The Vanguard class is very strong. There are a lot of options with him, but overall, Bolt Carbine is a top-tier weapon for bolt automatics in this game, period. Melter Rifle is not terrible. Oculus is not terrible. This one is just overall the best because its CHP recovery and damage is just kind of crazy, and its ammo economy is incredible. Hey guys, first regardsman here. I'll be talking about an Oculus Bolt Carbine Vanguard build for patch 9.0 Space Marine 2 in both Operations and Siege mode. Now, the Oculus Bolt Carbine has been generally superseded by the standard Bolt Carbine automatic variants in the previous patch, but this patch, the accuracy variant, did get a buff to a ×2 headshot multiplier. It's actually pretty damn good now, which is why I'm going to be building around it today. Now, for the perk tree, I just set it up down here. I go into Great Might. Moving over to the perk Retaliation, after a perfectly timed dodge, you deal 25% more damage for 10 seconds. This is actually a super chunky damage buff and very easy to pull off, and 10 seconds is a very long uptime, so basically free damage. Then I move over here into the perk Perpetual Penetration. Each shot penetrates one additional target. Now, this gun only has a 1 piercing value, so this perk is actually more valuable than it is on most guns, which is why I pick it up here. Then I move up here into Fast Reload. This weapon reloads 10% faster, and then over into a very good perk, Finisher Reload. After a finisher, the equipped weapon instantly reloads. So this weapon kind of has a long reload time, and usually reloading your weapon can be a bit of a pain in the ass, and this just makes it instantaneous within your own combat loop, so very strong for that reason. Next perk I take here is Recoupment for more armor regen, because the Vanguard actually has a pretty damn good amount of armor regen already. This just makes it that much better. Then I move down into Extended Magazine, and I pick up Magazine Restoration, because our ammo economy on Vanguard is like the worst possible thing about this class, which is why I always take this perk. Then I take the perk Increased Capacity for more ammo reserves, and I pick up damage buffs on Divine Might, and the perk here, Able Damage. After using a class ability, damage increases by 20% for 10 seconds, so just a free damage buff. And for my secondary weapon selection, I actually like to use the Neo Volkite on the Vanguard quite a bit, mainly because his contested health recovery with his melee weapons and primary weapons is already very good, so he really doesn't need like a super powerful secondary in general. Now, if you want to take a heavy bolt pistol, you could, because this thing does have the best gun strike damage, but I prefer this for blowing up things like spore mines and cultists and stuff like that. It actually does pretty decent boss damage, which is why I kind of prefer it. I just take the ammo variant and take the perk tree this way, and if you want to use a heavy bolt pistol. And for my melee weapon selection, I do take a balanced chainsword here, because in patch 9.0, this did get buffed to a fat 16 strength, 7 speed, and 10 cleaving potential, and having a balanced parry window really doesn't matter all that much in this game at all. Once you actually learn this, it is very easy to parry with, even compared to fencing, so I pretty much take this all the time, and 7 speed is still a very high speed number, even compared to the 9 of the fencing version, though really you could use either, or even a block chainsword if you wanted. But for this version, I do just build down here for light attacks with momentum gain and combined onslaught. I pick up the perk Full Throttle for the full throttle combo skip. I also pick up the perk here Swift Recovery. Heavy attacks restore 100% more contested health. Applies to the following attacks: Quick Punch, Front Kick, Shoulder Bash, Stomp. Because if we combine this with our starting perk of 50% increased contested health regeneration, we are pretty much impossible to kill in melee combat versus Minoras and things like that, so very, very strong option for sure. And for my Vanguard perk tree setup, it is pretty standard here, starting off with Upper Hand. After a perfect timed parry, block, or dodge, you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. This perk just saves your life. That's like the simple way to put it. No knockback in this game is incredibly valuable. Allows you to pull off melee attacks and gun strikes that would otherwise be impossible. Super top tier, which is why I pretty much always pick it here. Honestly, these other two perks kind of need a buff if they want to compete, but no knockback in this game just prevents you from dying, so S tier for sure. Next perk I take here is also S tier, Conviction. When your armor is fully depleted, you take 25% less health damage for 10 seconds. 25% less health damage is a huge damage reduction. This pretty much prevents you from dying as well versus like major damage nukes. Very, very strong perk, very long uptime, and also cycles into your armor restoration, your prestige perk 3, and your weapon perks. Now, next perk I take is Consecutive Execution. Killing 7 enemies in rapid succession restores equipment charge by 1. Cooldown is 90 seconds. Equipment in this game saves games, so top tier perk. 90-second melt-the-bombs, crack grenades, even shock grenades, very strong options, but I pretty much always take this. And Retribution, and especially the perk here, Honed Reactions, are not very good, especially when you have the healing perks, because this one will like cycle out of itself. Now, next perk I take for the team perk selection is Unmatched Zeal. Melee finishers of Extremis or Terminus level enemies additionally restore health by 30% for any squad member. This perk is top tier. This is pretty much free med kits for your whole team on every boss and Extremis guy, even better in siege mode, which is why people pretty much always take it. Now, Inner Fire is also incredible in this game, but it's really up to you which one you want to pick. Now, next perk I take is Shockwave. Diving Kick additionally deals damage in a 5-meter radius. This will actually wipe out things like Bramble and stuff like that. Very useful for things like that, and also just blowing up cultists and spore mines at times, which is why I primarily take it, and these other two perks kind of suck. Now, next perk I take here is Zone of Impact. Performing a finisher with the grapnel launcher deals damage to nearby enemies. This damage is like absurd horde clear potential and boss damage at times, so S tier perk, far better than these two, so I pretty much always select this. And the next perk I move into is Thrill of the Fight. After a perfect timed parry, block, or dodge, you take 20% less health damage for 5 seconds. You are parrying, blocking, and dodging in this game all the time, so this is basically a free health damage reduction stacked with Conviction, so a really, really strong option for sure. Now, for the signature perk selection, I do take Tactical Prowess. Grapnel Launcher can activate a finisher not only on incapacitated enemies, but also on those who have less than 33% health, except for Terminus level, and performing a finisher with the Grapnel Launcher restores its charge. I find this perk to be mandatory. This cycles into all like class ability use perks in your weapon perk tree. Like here with the Oculus, we have the perk Able Damage, or the perk up here, Able Headshot, and even with things like the Heavy Bolt Pistol, we also have the perk down here, which is once again Able Damage. So being able to cycle into your own grapnel constantly with Tactical Prowess is very, very strong, and this also allows you to like loop entire hordes with Zone of Impact. The only thing that kind of sucks about this perk is that it tends to bug out many times and just not give you the execute, but even with that, it's still just top tier. It's the best way to put it. It's still an amazing perk despite all bugs, and still like the best perk overall for the signature tree by far. And for my prestige perk setup, I do just take Battlefield Awareness first. If a target is within 8 meters, you deal 10% more range damage. While we are a melee class and we do have a grapnel launcher, so getting in the face of guys is very, very easy. So this is basically a free damage buff. Next perk I take is Fortitude. Health increases by 15%. Just makes us that much tankier on top of all of our health damage reduction. Then I pick up the two perks here, Launch Restoration and Restoration, because getting armor back in this game is super valuable because armor has damage caps that HP does not. And these two perks cycle really well into the perk Conviction, because to get your armor back, break it, get the 25% health damage reduction for 10 seconds, then get your armor back off of like the cooldowns from Restoration and just using your grapnel, and just get your Conviction procs again. So a very, very strong option. Now, Indomitable Spirit up here, while performing a gun strike, you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back. This is also a very strong perk, just not so much on this setup, because we have the perk here, Upper Hand, which is giving us no knockback all the time anyways, and usually when you're gun striking in this game, it's off of a perfect dodge or perfect parry regardless, so really this doesn't come into effect all that often, which is why I pick these four. But that is pretty much all I have to say about the perk tree and weapon selections here. The Oculus Bolt Carbine with this ×2 headshot multiplier does fit a niche it did not previously. It is pretty good at all ranges, and that's kind of what it's supposed to be. And overall, I think this thing's kind of being slept on currently, so hopefully this build guide helped. Hey guys, first regardsman here. I'll be talking about a double Melta build for the Vanguard class in patch 9.0 Space Marine 2 using the Melta rifle and Inferno pistol. Now, this build is shockingly effective. You get a stupid amount of armor restore on this, and the ammo efficiency is is shockingly good as well, and the Melter Rifle is just stupidly popular in this game, especially for the Vanguard class, and patch 9.0 did buff a couple versions of this gun. Now the range version has better range and less damage fall off, and the version down here, which was previously the firepower variant, is now a rate of fire variant, though I actually kind of prefer the range variant because this thing is pretty good for zoanthropes and bosses, like shooting through a Carnifex into the guys behind him, actually shockingly good at times, which is why I decided to use it today. Now for the perk tree here, I did pick up Decisive Reload, performing a finisher on a Majoris level or higher enemy of this weapon restores ammo by 1. This is an amazing perk. I think it is far better than the magazine restoration up here because really only gets 6 shots back from this on like a significantly more obnoxious thing to trigger, which is dropping your HP below 30%, which can happen, but we also lose out on the amazing perk down here, Rapid Health. When your health is below 30%, killing 7 enemies in rapid succession restores health by 10%. This perk is incredible, especially since I decided to take Inner Fire on this build, so I just prefer this bottom tree significantly more, and Decisive Reload is just incredible in general. Now next perk I take is also God tier, Trick Shot. Killing 5 enemies with 1 shot restores 1 armor segment. Cooldown is 30 seconds. This perk gives you back so much free armor over the course of the game, and if you stack this with the Trick Shot on the Inferno pistol, they have separate cooldowns, and you can pretty much just like blast them on cycle into Minoris hordes and just get a ton of free armor back on top of your prestige perk. So really strong option. Pretty much always pick up this perk regardless of like which path you go here. Next perk I take is Great Might. Damage increases by 10% against Terminus level enemies. This does basically nothing for you because this gun is not amazing versus Terminus in general, but it's better than nothing. Now next perk here is Divine Might. Damage increases by 10%. Pretty strong option for a flat damage increase. Then we pick up the extended magazine. This one just makes it so our magazine capacity is a 6 instead of 5, so pretty useful for that. Next perk here is just First Shot, and then move over here into Retaliation. After a perfectly timed dodge, you deal 25% more damage for 10 seconds. 25% damage buff on this weapon is actually kind of noticeable, not bad by any means, and let me just pick up a free fire rate increase, so that's pretty much all there is for this perk tree. Now for the Inferno pistol, you have a couple options here. You could either take the magazine capacity version or the rate of fire variant. Personally, I think the rate of fire variant is far better because first of all, having a faster rate of fire on this thing means you can kill enemies more quickly, especially Minoris this is primarily good against, and also the rate of fire increase means you get back more CHP, which is really valuable because this weapon is actually really good for CHP recovery, which is why I kind of like it at times. Now for the perk tree, we also don't really struggle with ammo economy here because we have the perk down here, Adamant Restoration. When your health drops below 30%, your ammo reserve is restored by 25% of the maximum capacity. You cannot exceed maximum ammo capacity. Cooldown is 30 seconds. This is the only secondary in the entire game that has this perk, so super valuable option. I pretty much always take it down here, and like this other one up here for like no fear, not even remotely as good as just getting extra ammunition on dropping low HP, so super strong perk. Pretty much always pick this up. Now another strong perk in this tree is Motivated Melee. Melee damage increases by 20%. This weapon has no ammo in its magazine. We are playing the Vanguard class. It's just a free melee DPS increase whenever we use our ammunition here, so pretty strong for that. Now next perk I take down here is Perpetual Range. Effective range increases by 1 meter. This is actually pretty good on this weapon because this weapon's range sucks ass, so I picked this one up as well, and obviously we can pick it up to move freely down into Adamant Restoration. Now next perk I pick up is Extra Shot. Magazine size increases by an additional cartridge. Really, you're not using this thing for damage even with the perk up here, One Shot, so this one is just significantly better in my opinion. And also we move into the God tier perk, Trick Shot. Killing 5 enemies with 1 shot restores 1 armor segment. Cooldown is 30 seconds, and like I said before, when you stack this one with the perk up here in the Melter Rifle of the same name, you pretty much just get the exact same effect over and over by swapping your weapons, and they are on separate cooldowns, so super strong for armor restore, especially on the Vanguard class. Now for my melee weapon selection, I do pick up the Relic tier Blockchain Sword, which I think is by far the best option for this build in particular, and the reason why is that first up, we have 2 Meltaguns, so we already clap Minoris cheeks like a Donkey Kong bongo drum. They really can't do much to us with both of these guns combined, and also we get a ton of free armor off of them already with these guns, and our gun strikes also suck ass on the Inferno pistol, so getting more gun strikes like balance or fencing hardly matters, period. And an added benefit is that the Adrenaline Surge charges from block give us a ton of extra armor versus Terminus, Majoris, and Extremis, and an added bonus on top of all of that is that this thing does so much damage that we can like a one combo hit the breakpoint to actually put guys into tactical prowess half the time. Very strong combo here, and really I just think the Blockchain Sword is by far the best option for this build in particular for all those reasons. And for the weapon perk tree selection on this weapon, I do take Perpetual Strength, moving into Swift Recovery for extra CHP regen. This perk is actually even better on the balance and fencing version, so if you do want to use those variants, this one is a great perk as well. Next perk I take up here is Perpetual Strength. Then I move over into the Stomp area of effect radius increase, because the perk down here, Saw Blade, 5 strikes on a 1 speed chainsword is just never happening, so kind of a worthless perk for us. Then I pick up the perk Combined Onslaught, moving into Heavy Onslaught for even more heavy attack damage. Then I pick up the Full Throttle perk for the combo skip, and then grab Minora's Slayer and Extremis Slayer. Now I will say, if you're going to be using like a balance or fencing version, I would just build it this way instead. Just take Perpetual Strength, Swift Recovery, move over here in the exact same way. Instead we take Saw Blade though, then move up into Combined Onslaught, pick up Full Throttle, and then we go all the way into Momentum Gain, because we do benefit from light attacks off of like each consecutive light attack, increasing our damage by 3% up to 30% for 3 seconds on a fast attacking weapon, significantly more. And we also just benefit from Combined Onslaught for the light combo attack weapon damage increase. So a pretty strong option there for like balance and fencing, but I still prefer block. Now for the Vanguard perk tree selection here, where this whole build actually starts to come together, I pick up Upper Hand first. After a perfectly timed parry, block, or dodge, you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. No knockback in this game. It's just one of the best status effects, period. It saves your life from stun locks, also lets you do things like gun strikes and block combos you otherwise could not do, period. So top tier perk wherever you can find it. Pretty much always pick this up. Melee Mastery and Moving Target are by no means bad. This perk is just way better. Next perk here is Conviction. When your armor is fully depleted, you take 25% less health damage for 10 seconds. This is a very powerful perk. 25% health damage reduction is super chunky, and a 10-second uptime is a very long uptime, and usually by the time this thing runs out, you already have armor back, so pretty much always pick this up as well. Though alternatively, you could take the perk here, Close Combat Focus. You take 20% less range damage. This one will affect your armor, but having an anti-nuke for your HP is still valuable regardless of this. And also, we will be picking up a range damage reduction here with Restless Fortitude later, so not that valuable for us on this build. Now, next perk here is Consecutive Execution. Killing 7 enemies in rapid succession restores equipment charged by 1. Cooldown is 90 seconds. Now, a 90-second Shock Nade, Crack Grenade, or Melt-A-Bomb is invaluable on all classes, but Crack Grenades for this build in particular for operations versus Tyranids is very strong, because we have a Melter Rifle and Inferno Pistol, so Zoanthropes are very annoying for us, and this one just helps us get back nades and stuff like that. Now, for the team perk selection, I decided to take the perk here, Inner Fire. All squad members can restore ability charge by 15% by performing finishers on Majora's level or higher enemies. Now, the description here is actually wrong. You don't have to actually do a finisher on Majora's or higher, you simply have to kill them, so it's even better than it sounds. And this perk is simply an amazing enabler for not only you, but your teammates as well. And since for this build, we are taking the perk Launch Restoration, using the Grapnel Launcher restoring 1 armor segment to us, more grapnels means more armor. It also means more triggers of things like Restless Fortitude. After a diving kick, you take 40% less range damage for 10 seconds, and this damage reduction also counts for the armor we got off of things like Launch Restoration, so super valuable for us. And the best perk combo on the Vanguard period right now is Zone of Impact plus Tactical Prowess. This perk giving you significant AoE damage on a grapnel finisher, and this one allowing you to grapnel finisher anyone that's at 33% HP or below except for Terminus, and giving you your grapnel back upon finishing them with a grapnel launcher. So really strong perk. Unfortunately, this one loves to bug out and just eat your grapnel, so Inner Fire can help you get it back more quickly and just makes it a lot easier to use. So really strong combo here. The Unmatched Zeal perk is definitely easier to use for some players, but you'll actually find more stims, especially in the operations, if you take Inner Fire, because let's say you get low HP in Space Marine 2 and you break open a box, you are significantly more likely to find a stim at low HP than max HP, so you might actually be losing out on stims you'd otherwise find if you do take this perk in operations. And honestly, for operations period, I think Inner Fire is just better, because it just generates so much value for things like the Assault Jump Pack, Tactical Auspex, Bulwark Banner especially. If they have like Invigorating Icon or something, you're not going to be missing like the healing to begin with anyways. So Inner Fire is just a god tier perk, really has been since the game came out, and really just helps us build, period. And the first perk I take in the gear section is Restless Fortitude. After a diving kick, you take 40% less range damage for 10 seconds. This perk is incredible. 40% less range damage damage is super chunky, 10-second uptime is super long, and since we do have the perk down here, Launch Restoration, you go in on the guy, you get a 40% range damage reduction to your armor first, and if your armor actually breaks, you then also trigger the perk here, Conviction, for a 25% health damage reduction on top of the range damage reduction. So you were just stupidly tanky versus both melee guys. If there are any range guys around you shooting at you, you'll take basically no damage from them. Now, the only thing that sucks about this perk is it has a negative perk synergy with Tactical Prowess, because if you actually perform a grapple finisher, you will not trigger the Restless Fortitude ability, which kind of sucks, but that's why we take the Inner Fire and Combat Readiness perk down here to get our grapple back so quickly that we really don't care about just like doing a normal grapple on a guy, so you just use this over and over. Now, you could take Shockwave, but I don't really care about this perk all that much because this is primarily good to clear out Bramble and stuff, and we have an Inferno Pistol and Melter Rifle, which do that anyways, so not super valuable for us. And the next perk I take is Zone of Impact. Performing a finisher with the Grapnel Launcher deals damage to nearby enemies. This is an incredible perk when combined with Tactical Prowess to just clear out whole hordes by itself, and like the main thing holding this back is like weird grapnel targeting bugs and stuff like your grapnels being eaten by the game period, which is why I take Inner Fire and Combat Readiness again, because getting your grapnel back faster just means you get more Tactical Prowess Zone of Impact triggers versus Fortitude triggers and armor. So really valuable perk combo synergies here, and Combat Readiness is a pretty damn good perk. Now alternatively, you could take the perk up here, Thrill of the Fight. After a perfectly timed parry, block, or dodge, you take 20% less health damage for 5 seconds. This is a pretty strong perk, but 5 seconds is not like a super long uptime. Getting my grapnel back more just means more damage reduction in the first place off of armor and things like Restless Fortitude, so I just value this one a bit more highly, but that's really up to you. Now for the Prestige perk selection, number 1, we take Battlefield Awareness. If a target is within 8 meters, you deal 10% more range damage. Well, we have an Inferno Pistol and a Melter Rifle, so we're pretty much always going to be within 8 meters of a target, and we have a ton of grapnels, so very valuable perk for us. Pretty much always take this one. Next perk I take is Fortitude. Health increases by 15%. This one just makes you tankier. Super valuable perk wherever you can find it. Kind of a boring effect, but a very powerful one. Next perk is Launch Restoration. Using the Grapnel Launcher restores one armor segment. This perk is incredible because usually you want armor when you go in on a guy to begin with. Very strong to keep you alive, and also benefits from damage reduction to range. Next perk here is Restoration. Killing 7 enemies in rapid succession restores one armor segment. Cooldown is 15 seconds. This is just extra armor restore on us, and also this will stack with things like Trick Shot on the Melter Rifle to give you like 2 armor back off of shooting into a horde of Minors, so very powerful synergy there. And the amount of armor restore you get on this build is kind of stupid to begin with. Very strong options, which is why I like both of these. And armor restores in Space Marine 2 are just meta for a reason, because armor has the damage caps that HP does not, and armor just saves your life, and it's basically free damage reduction, which is why I prefer this. Now, if you want to take Exigency Charge and like sit at low HP, you could, but Rapid Health will heal you above this pretty often, and the perk down here, Equipment Damage increasing by 20%, is not very powerful at all, because this only hits like 1 breakpoint in the whole game versus Zoanthropes, which hardly matters, and Indomitable Spirit, kind of redundant when we have the perk here Upper Hand, which is why I picked these 4 here instead. Hey guys, first Regardsman here, and today we'll be talking about the best Bulwark Power Fist build for patch 9.0 Space Marine 2 for both Operations and Siege mode. Now, just like all the other melee weapons in patch 9.0, the Power Fist did receive some buffs, and this thing was already the best melee weapon in the game, and now it is even better. And today I will be using the balanced version, because this one has an amazing strength value of 15, 7+ speed, and an epic cleaving potential of 12+. Now, speed doesn't matter too much on this weapon because it does not affect the actual charge up time of your charge attacks, but it's still nice to have sometimes. And for the perk tree here, I do pick up the perk Perpetual Strength, and I move over into the perk here Heavy Preparation. Heavy attack preparation time is reduced by 30%, applies to the following attacks: Thrust Jab, Back Fist, Hammer Hook, Back Fist 2, and Thrust Jab 2. Now, charge attacks are basically all that matters on the Power Fist, so this is an S tier perk, pretty much always take this. Then we go over here and grab the 10% damage buff from these perks, and then I move over into the perk Focused Intention. When your health is below 30%, you take 50% less health damage while preparing heavy attacks. Now, we stack this perk with all of our other damage reduction like Conviction, Scramble Targeting, and Steel Within. You are stupidly tanky. This is part of the reason that the Power Fist is so damn good, because you're just like ridiculously tanky while you're charging up your attacks. And even when you do them with things like the Strength of Will perk, which is while performing a heavy attack, you take 20% less range damage, and range damage reduction like this also affects armor, so even better. And really, the Power Power Fist is just stacked with damage reduction on top of damage, so S tier pick pretty much always. Now up here we have Tide of Battle. Power wave forward distance increases from 4 to 8 meters. This one actually increases your power wave distance from 10 to 20 meters, so kind of a misnomer here, but that's just how it is. Next perk is Following Blow. Back Fist and Back Fist 2 can be performed instantly after a charged thrust jab or hammer hook. This can actually help you catch out guys that you could otherwise not get into execute, so pretty useful. Next perk here is Combo, and then we move over into Majora's Slayer for that extra 10% Majora's damage, which can help us hit some breakpoints, so pretty useful here as well. Now for the secondary weapon selection, I do once again take the Plasma Pistol. This thing did get buffed on its rate of fire variant in patch 9.0. It is kind of insanely fast charging now. It gives you back a ton of CHP, really good for staggering enemies, and also the gun strikes on the Plasma Pistol in base have an AoE effect, and it's just a very strong option in general. This is probably like the best overall secondary in the game currently, even over the Heavy Bolt Pistol, because the rate of fire really is that good. The only thing holding back this variant of the gun is the ammo economy, but on Bulwark that does not matter as much because you do have the perk here, Auxiliary Reload. Melee kills of Extremis level or higher enemies restore your secondary weapons ammo by 1 magazine. This is some of the only secondary ammo regen in the entire game outside of like an Inferno pistol, so super strong option for the Bulwark and makes the rate of fire Plasma Pistol that much better. Now for the perk tree selection, I do just pick up all ammo economy and perpetual velocity for that extra charge rate, and I also pick up the extra 10% damage down here for Divine Might. Now if you want to use a Neo Volkite or Heavy Bolt Pistol, or for whatever reason the Bolt Pistol, you can, but for the Heavy Bolt Pistol I'd probably build it down the top tree because you don't really get as much effect out of things like able damage because you're not using your class ability as much. And for the Neo Volkite, you know, you can really go top or bottom, that is up to you. I've tried both, they both work pretty well, but usually I just pick the ammo version or the firepower if I really want like a little bit of extra boss damage. That's up to you as well, but overall Plasma Pistol probably the best option period currently. Now for the Bulwark perk tree selection, I do pick up the perk Conviction first. When your armor is fully depleted, you take 25% less health damage for 10 seconds. I really like building full tank Bulwark because you are just ridiculously tanky on this class if you pick up all of these perks. Now alternatively, you could pick up Intimidating Aura. A perfectly timed parry deals area of effect damage within a 5-meter radius. Cooldown is 5 seconds. This is a very good perk, but I actually prefer this on block weapons because block weapons can kind of struggle to get like that last hit at times, especially with how slow the block Power Fist is. But for like everything else, I just kind of like the Conviction perk because it really is just that good. Next perk here is Scramble Targeting. If you're surrounded by 5 or more enemies, you take 25% less damage from range attacks. This is just a top tier damage reduction perk for range damage, very strong bonus here, and these other two perks aren't very good, so I pretty much always pick this one up. Next perk is Seal Within. When your health is less than 50%, you take 30% less health damage. This, stacked with Conviction and stacked with things like Focused Intention on the Power Fist, just makes you ridiculously tanky. Super strong option. I honestly prefer this regardless of using a balanced fencing or block weapon. Now Armor Reinforcement down here is also very strong, so you could take this if you want, but I just think Seal Within is like a ridiculous amount of value, so I pretty much always pick it up. Next perk here for the team perk selection is Focus Restoration. Every 30 seconds, all squad members automatically restore 1 armor segment. This perk gives you so much value for your entire team. Armor restores in this game that basically come out to free damage reduction, so super strong option. Now really all the team perks on Bulwark are good. Advanced Conditioning is also very strong, can really help you get back CHP, and even Effective Formation is pretty damn good because 20% less health damage from Extremis and Terminus is not bad whatsoever because these are usually the enemies that will be fucking you up anyways, so pretty strong option too, but it's really up to you which one you want to take. I just think Focus Restoration is the best one overall. Now for the gear perk tree, I always take Purity of Purpose. The banner deals damage over time to enemies within its area of effect. This perk is so valuable for wiping out Minoras, dealing significant damage to Majora's, Extremis, and even Terminus. It is by far the best perk in this row, so pretty much always take this. These two perks really do need a buff if they ever want to compete with Purity of Purpose, because this one just makes your banner have way more value. Now for the next perk here, I just take Invigorating Icon. When the banner is activated, all squad members regain maximum contested health, but it recharges 50% slower. This perk is just god tier. Getting back HP on a banner is so damn strong. It can absolutely carry your runs. Now Glorious Shield is also very good, but this one is just better, so if you want like absolutely min-max, I would just take this. Next perk here is Merciless Resolve. After a Shield Bash or Thunder Hammer Pommel Smash, melee damage increases by 15%. You do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. Now, no knockback in this game is pretty much top tier wherever you can find it, which is why I pick up this perk and Armored Advance. And now also to trigger this perk, you do not need to do anything except do a shield bash. It doesn't actually have to hit anybody. And also the 15% melee damage increase can hit some breakpoints for your balance fist. So overall, top tier perk, pretty much always take this for operations. Now, if you are in siege mode, Rejuvenating Effect, which is when the banner is activated, it revives incapacitated squad members within its area of effect. This one can be very, very powerful as well to absolutely clutch and get your guys up, but I just think Merciless Resolve is better for most scenarios. Now for the signature perk tree, I do just pick up Armored Advance. If you have armor remaining, you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back. This is just another no knockback effect, and this is just a top tier perk in general, so stacking these two together, if you use them in conjunction, you'll pretty much never be out of no knockback effect, which is pretty top tier. Now for the prestige perk selection, I just pick up Auxiliary Reload for ammo economy, and then I move over here into Overcharge. Charge attack damage increases by 20%. This is a charge attack damage perk for a Power Fist build, so pretty much always take it. Next perk here is Powerful Shot. Range damage increases by 20% for extra range damage. And then I pick up the absolute god tier perk here, Masterful Defense. Ability charge is restored by 1% for every blocked range attack. If you're fighting Chaos especially, this can absolutely fill your banner back up to full easily on a Soul Can Terminator, or even Flamer Marines. Very, very strong perk, and another reason the Bulwark Shield is just top tier in general, and the Thunder Hammer is kind of falling behind, but Masterful Defense is just, it's that perk, so pretty much always take this. And that's pretty much all there is for the Bulwark build here. Now if you want to use the Block Fist, you certainly can. This one is very strong as well, and it's probably a way better boss killer, but overall I think Balance is just safer to use and just a little bit more effective versus hordes because of the cleaving potential, but those are your two options. I wouldn't really use the fencing one because the cleaving potential is terrible and the damage isn't that epic compared to these two, and honestly a balanced parry window isn't too bad if you want parries, so I've just used this one. Hey guys, first Guardsman here, and today I'll be talking about a Thunder Hammer Bulwark build for patch 9.0 Space Marine 2. Now the Thunder Hammer, like all the other melee weapons in this game for patch 9.0, did get buffed, and today I will be using a block version because this one hits like an absolute truck with 16 plus strength, and despite only having 2 speed, the Thunder Hammer doesn't really care about speed all that much. It does matter a bit for your ground slam and your light combos, but things like Aftershock and Pommel Smash are barely affected or not affected at all in the case of Aftershock when it comes to your speed stat, so it's still a very strong weapon, especially on the Bulwark class where we primarily use Pommel Smash anyways, and Aftershock to deal major damage, and our parry with things like Intimidating Aura is very, very powerful on top of that. So for the perk setup here, I just take the perk Perpetual Strength down here into Fast Preparation. Aftershock preparation time is reduced by 30%. Aftershock is one of the most valuable attacks on this thing to begin with, so it's pretty much a mandatory perk in my opinion. And then I pick up the perk Perpetual Strength down here into Seismic Chain and Shattering Impact. So these two perks are really, really useful. This one makes your ground slam have an area effect radius increase of 50%, and this one just gives you an extra ground slam if you hold the button down again. So ground slam is just your little mini combo after one light attack, or a pommel smash. So pretty good, though I will say on a 2-speed weapon, this is kind of negatively impacted compared to a lot of your other things, and also your light combo is too. So it is kind of unfortunate, but we have to build down here to move over into Aftershock Improved and pick up our dead end perk for Pommel Smash having 50% more damage, because primarily on the Bulwark class we will just be using extra Pommel Smash damage because he has a ton of perks around that anyways. That's why I build it this way. Now for the actual secondary weapon here, I do take a Plasma Pistol because the rate of fire variant for this weapon got buffed last patch. This thing charges super fast, amazing for getting your CHP back, also has AoE gun strikes, and overall I think this is probably the best secondary weapon in the whole game currently. And the way I build it is just for ammo efficiency and shot charge speed, because this thing is not super ammo efficient even with auxiliary reloads. You kind of have to be a little careful about how you use it, but overall it's very, very powerful. Now alternatively, you could use a heavy bolt pistol. This is up to you if you want to take this instead. I just think this one is far better for CHP recovery and stagger, but that's really up to you. Now for the Bulwark perk tree selection, I do take Intimidating Aura first. A perfectly timed parry deals area effect damage within a 5-meter radius. Cooldown is 5 seconds. Now despite the tooltip here saying it only works on a perfect parry, it also works on a perfect block as of patch 8.0. So a really strong perk for all weapon types, and I actually prefer this on block because it really helps you deal damage to enemies that are kind of hard to catch at times with actual melee attacks. Things like Lictors that have a very awkward combat string, and also just enemies like Sword Warriors that actually execute them, pick up some extra HP. Very strong on block weapons for that reason, but really this is a top tier perk for every single weapon, and so are all the other ones in this first tree, if we're being honest. Now, next perk I take here is Scramble Targeting. If you're surrounded by 5 or more enemies, you take 25% less damage from range attacks. Now, this perk is just free damage reduction for something that happens in this game all the time, which is you getting surrounded by 5 or more enemies, and 25% less damage from range attacks does affect your armor as well. So this is really, really good at preventing you from getting damage nuked, and armor in general already has damage caps in Space Marine 2, so it's just like a total value machine, and these other two perks don't really compare. Now, the next perk here is Super S tier, Steel Within. When your health is less than 50%, you take 30% less health damage. Now, a 30% health damage reduction on top of 25% damage reduction from range attacks from Scramble Targeting, and a 30% higher base HP is super chunky damage reduction. You're an absolute tank below 50% HP with this perk. Very, very strong, though I will say if you are using a fencing or balanced hammer, which you could definitely do with this build, I would probably just take armor reinforcement instead if you don't want to take this, because this perk is also super, super strong for armor restoration. Now, next perk I take is the team perk Focus Restoration. Every 30 seconds, all squad members automatically restore 1 armor segment. This perk is just incredible. This comes out to so much armor over the course of the game, and even if you're playing by yourself, this perk is good. And if you're playing with like teammates and stuff, it is that much better. Like, Tactical Class gets a ton of armor out of this where he usually gets none. Super strong for keeping your teammates alive, and you don't have to do jack shit, so very strong perk for that reason. Now, alternatively, you could take Advanced Conditioning. Contested health fades 50% more slowly for all squad members. This perk is also very strong. This one is just slightly better. Now, next perk I take here is Purity of Purpose. The banner deals damage over time to enemies in this area of effect. This perk is one of the best perks for your banner, period. This will wipe out Minotaur's hordes. This turns a Glorious Shield banner, even an Invigorating Icon banner, into an absolute like shock grenade machine. Deals serious damage to even bosses. Super, super strong. S tier for sure, and these other two need a serious buff if they want to compete. Now, next perk I take is for the Pommel Smash Concussive Force. Shield Bash, it deals 200% more damage. Thunder Hammer Pommel Smash, it deals 100% more damage and deals area effect damage within a 7-meter radius. Cooldown is 5 seconds. Now, your Pommel Smash is just your lunging attack with a Thunder Hammer when you do like a sprint. Very, very easy to pull off. Very low recovery frames. Very easy to get out of even sniper shots with it, and this one makes it so you can just bop guys in the face. Pretty strong. Maybe not the strongest perk in this tree here, but definitely useful for a Thunder Hammer. We are building for damage primarily here. Now, next perk I take is Merciless Resolve. After a Shield Bash or Thunder Hammer Pommel Smash, melee damage increases by 15%. You do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. Now, you don't actually have to hit anything with your Thunder Hammer Pommel Smash to pull this off, so it happens all the time. It's pretty much just a free melee damage increase on top of no knockback, and no knockback can still save your life, because the recent patch they did to like stagger resist doesn't really feel like it did anything, so no knockback is still top tier for sure. Now, for the signature perk, I also picked up the Armored Advance here. If you have armor remaining, you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back. Now, with these two perks combined, you will pretty much never be knocked back again, so very, very strong combo. And if you don't want to even take this because you think this one's enough, you could just take Emergency Countermeasure for a shock grenade every 90 seconds when your armor breaks. This one's also very powerful. Now, for my Bulwark Prestige perk selection, I do take Auxiliary Reload first. Melee kills of Extremis level or higher enemies restore your secondary weapons ammo by 1 magazine. So for a heavy bolt pistol, it's just your 1 magazine, and for a plasma pistol, it's a percentage-based restore. Either way, this perk is really, really good. Obviously, it scales up with your difficulty, so Absolute and Siege mode especially get the most value out of this, but it's pretty good regardless, and ammo economy in this game is strong for any class, and let's be real, if you're prestiging your Bulwark, you're probably playing on Absolute for the most part, or lethal, where there are more Extremis. And I will say, in patch 9.0, Extremis feel like they got buffed in like their spawn rates on the absolute difficulty, so even more valuable than ever. Now, next perk I take, since I am not taking Invigorating Icon, is Resilience. Medicae stims restore 40% more health. This one just makes your stims more valuable, and especially since you have like a higher base HP, you get even more value out of stims than most classes do. This just makes it that much better. And really, we have an extra perk slot anyways for prestige perks because we aren't taking Masterful Defense, since we are using a Thunder Hammer and have no shield. Now, the next perk I take is Overcharge. Charge attack damage increases by 20%. This is really good for your Thunder Hammer. It's like the only thing it actually affects here is your melee attacks, not like your secondaries or plasma pistol whatsoever. Very strong damage increase, especially for things like the Power Fist as well, which is why I take it here. Now, final perk I take is Powerful Shot. Range damage increases by 20%. Pretty boring, but pretty damn useful because 20% increase to your range damage is just a super chunky number. Now, the perk Standard Bearer here here, when Chapter Banner activates, you become invulnerable to damage for 2 seconds. Invulnerability in this game is super strong as a perk effect. Unfortunately, on the Bulwark class, you do not banner enough to get like the full value out of this like you would if you were a sniper with Emperor's Grace, so that's why I pretty much never take this. And Emboldened Stand just gives you no knockback for anyone in your banner area, but if somebody's standing in your banner area, they're probably not caring about getting hit all that much anyways because there's so much damn armor going around. Now, that is pretty much all I have to say about the prestige perks here. Now, the final thing I want to say about this build before I show some gameplay is that if you do want to use a different type of Thunderhammer like the Balance or Fencing, you definitely can. I think the Fencing is kind of excessive with 8 speed, but Balance Thunderhammer, 14 strength, 6 speed, and 12 clean potential is very strong right now, and you pretty much build it the same way regardless because overall, the Bulwark benefits from Pommel Smash for the most part anyways, so it doesn't really matter too much, but really it is up to you because these are all good options at the moment because melee weapons did get a buff, and they're pretty strong in Space Marine 2 currently. Hey guys, First Regardsman here, and so I'll be talking about a maximum tank Power Sword Bulwark build for patch 9.0 Space Marine 2. Now, the Power Sword is one of the most interesting weapons in this game. It has like the most mechanics tied to it of any melee weapon period, and it's super fun and got buffs across the board. Now, really, for this build, you don't have to use a block Power Sword like me. You can really use whatever you want because it's not that important. But for the perk tree here, I would set up the same way regardless, which is going to Armored Strength. If you have armor remaining, melee damage increases by 10%. I don't usually like this perk, but on the Bulwark class, you have so much armor regen that's actually pretty amazing. You have stuff like armor reinforcement, focus restoration, and of course your banner, so pretty strong for him. Then we move over into a really good perk here, which is Master of Offense. After switching sword combat style, you deal 20% more melee damage for 5 seconds. Cooldown is 10 seconds. Now, a 20% melee damage buff for 5 seconds is pretty chunky, especially since they were able to actually fix the sword combat switch out of dodge to let you do a lunging attack again. So pretty strong perk here, even with a 10-second cooldown. Next perk is just like the Perpetual Strength perk here, Perpetual Strength for a 10% melee damage increase. Then I pick up the perk Tranquility. While in Power Roll stance, you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back. Now, this perk is not super valuable on us because we do have perks like Merciless Resolve and Armored Advance, so we basically have no knockback all the time anyways, but it's still pretty good when like we actually don't have those for whatever reason. Next perk is Melee Onslaught. Weapon deals 10% more melee damage, pretty self-explanatory, just free melee damage. And the next perk here is Hard Target. While performing a light combo, you take 15% less range damage. This is just more damage reduction for a class that already has a ton. Super strong perk, and maybe not the best on the 1+ speed block version, but like Balance and Fencing, it's great. Now, for the next perk here, we have Cutting Edge. Power Rake deals 50% more melee damage. Power Rake is just your like heavy attack on this weapon after you do like a light attack or anything where you slap the floor in like a line. Very strong attack. It got buffed a while back, and this perk just makes it even stronger. And like honestly, Power Rake deals the most damage on this weapon period, so super strong perk to pretty much always pick up. And then for the rest of these perks, I just take Extremis Slayer and the Majora's Slayer and Terminus Slayer for bonus damage. We really don't need to pick up the perk Minora's Slayer because Minoras are already like the easiest thing in the entire game to kill on a Power Sword anyways, so these ones are just far more beneficial. And I just pick up the perk here, Power Restoration, for more CHP recovery, but if you don't want this one, you can always just take the Speed Restoration. They're both pretty good depending on like what you're fighting. And that's pretty much all there is to the actual weapon perk tree here. Now for the secondary weapon choice here, once again we take the newly buffed Rate of Fire Plasma Pistol. This one is just incredible this patch. The DPS output is buffed thanks to the increased charge rate on top of better CHP recovery, better stagger, and of course AoE gun strikes. The only thing kind of holding this weapon back is the ammo economy, but like honestly it's still worth using over the other options just because it does so much damage and has great CHP recovery. And we are also the Bulwark class, so we do have access to the Prestige perk Auxiliary Reload. Melee kills of Extremis level or higher enemies restore your secondary weapons ammo by 1 magazine, so this is basically one of the only classes in the entire game that can actually get ammo back on their secondary pretty easily. Super strong perk for sure. It makes the Plasma Pistol actually fairly ammo efficient, and also we do have a range damage buff in our Prestige perk tree as well, so like overall it's just the best option. And for the perk tree, I do just build into ammo and shot charge speed here, perpetual velocity, and stuff like Plasma Collection and efficient charge, on top of picking up the Divine Might perk for bonus damage, because even though this thing is not like the best for killing Zoanthropes, it's still pretty good. Now for my Bulwark perk tree selection, I do take Conviction first. This one reads, when your armor is fully depleted, you take a 25% health damage reduction for 10 seconds. Now a 10-second uptime is super long, and a 25% health damage reduction is amazing for any class that has access to this perk, but because we have a starting health increase of 30%, it is even more valuable on us than most classes. A super powerful option. Now alternatively, you could use the perk here, Intimidating Aura. A perfectly timed parry deals area area of effect damage within a 5-meter radius. Cooldown is 5 seconds. Now this one's tooltip says it only works on perfect parry, but it also works on perfect block. They're both very strong options, but I'm going for full tank today, so I'm taking this one. Now next perk I take is scramble targeting. If you are surrounded by 5 or more enemies, you take 25% less damage from range attacks. 25% less damage from range attacks is super chunky. Getting surrounded by 5 enemies in this game happens all the time, and this one also affects your armor with its damage reduction, so super strong for that. And the next perk I take here is Steel Within. When your health is less than 50%, you take 30% less health damage. Now this perk is also incredible. 30% less health damage, just like flat out below 50% HP with a starting HP increase of 30%. It's just incredible. If we stack this with Conviction, we are just damn near unkillable at like 30% HP and below. You are so damn strong with this perk. It is just like a god tier perk for sure. Now alternatively, you could take Armor Reinforcement because this perk is also incredible, but like honestly I just prefer Steel Within. And the next perk I take here is the team perk Focus Restoration. Every 30 seconds all squad members automatically restore 1 armor segment. Armor is just free damage reduction. This one counts for your whole team versus every enemy in the game every 30 seconds. Comes out to like a stupid amount of armor restored over the course of like a 1 hour or 3 hour siege mode match. Very powerful perk. Now Advanced Conditioning is also very good for like an easier time getting CHP back. And the perk down here, Effective Formation, reads all squad members take 20% less health damage from Extremis and Terminus level enemies. Now like the enemy specific damage reductions in this game actually count for like, or they're, I should say they are calculated a little bit differently than like flat out damage reductions, so they're actually more valuable than it might seem at first. And Extremis and Terminus level enemies are the ones that usually fuck you up the most, so this one's actually pretty good. If you stack this with like Steel Within, Conviction, and Glory Shield, you have a stupid amount of damage reduction. It's something like 100% plus, even though it's not actually calculated that way. It is multiplicative, but either way, very strong option as well. Now for the perk here, Purity of Purpose, the banner deals damage over time to enemies within its area of effect. This perk is just the best perk in this whole row by far. It basically turns your banner into a shock grenade, does significant damage to Minoris, Majoris, Extremis, and even bosses. God tier perk, pretty much always take this because these ones don't even come close. Now if you stack this with the perk Glory Shield, all squad members within the banner's area of effect take 20% less damage, and the banner lasts 20% longer. You get extra value out of it, and honestly I love Glory Shield, which is why I'll be taking it today over Invigorating Icon, although Invigorating Icon is obviously stronger because health increases, or I should say HP regen in Space Marine 2 is just super strong. And the next perk I take here is Merciless Resolve. After a Shield Bash or Thunderhammer Pommel Smash, melee damage increases by 15%. You do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. Now to trigger this perk, all you have to do is just Shield Bash the air, which is super easy to do. You can also animation cancel your own Shield Bash, so it's basically like no downside to actually doing this. And a free melee increase of 15%. It's just super strong, and no knockback. It's just an extra bonus when our Armored Advance is down, because this is a signature perk I will be taking today. Armored Advance, if you have armor remaining, you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back. Super strong perk. If you have no knockback active while blocking with your shield, you do not get staggered from things like sniper shots and someone throw balls, so no knockback is already god tier, and even better on the Bulwark class. So super strong options here, both of them. And for the prestige perk selection here, you actually have some options for once, because this perk tree is set up pretty well. Kind of shocking to be honest, but first up we have Auxiliary Reload. Melee kills of Extremis level or higher enemies restore your secondary weapons ammo by 1 magazine. I actually don't like this perk a ton outside of true solo or siege mode, because in group play for operations, you really don't need to shoot your gun as much, and like usually you're using it as like a stagger machine or a CHP recovery machine, and the ammo boxes are pretty plentiful alongside ammo caches, and someone's usually shooting the Neurothrope or Zoanthrope, so you don't have to. So I wouldn't really take this in group play, but if you're by yourself or something and playing siege mode, I would take it. Now next perk here is Resilience. Medicae stims restore 40% more health. This perk is actually super good for like making your stims more valuable and just helping the total resource management of your team in general. I actually like this perk a lot. It just makes your stims super powerful. Next perk here is Overcharge. Charge attack damage increases by 20%. Now this actually affects the damage on your Power Fist charge attack, your Thunderhammer charge attack, and your Power Rake on the Power Sword, even though you wouldn't expect it to. So I pretty much take it for like 3 out of the 4 weapons for this class. Super strong perk for just a free damage buff. And the next perk I take here is also a free damage buff. Range damage increases by 20% with Powerful Shot. I mean, it's pretty boring, but you know, damage is damage. And the next perk here is Masterful Defense. Ability charge restored by 1% for every blocked range attack. This perk is kind of god tier. CDR kind of breaks a lot of the abilities in this game because the banner has a very long cooldown, but this can kind of circumvent that, especially versus chaos, so super strong option. I would pretty much always take this unless using the Thunder Hammer because you have no shield, but honestly the Thunder Hammer is the worst weapon on the entire class for this reason, because Masterful Defense is just the best. Hey guys, first for Guardsman here, and so I'll be talking about the best assault build for both Operations and Siege Mode patch 9.0 Space Marine 2. Now this patch, it gave Assault some serious buffs. He is great against both factions now. Chaos and Tyranids crumble before this guy with the proper setup, and we're going to try to show you how to do that today, even in Hard Siege True Solo, with the Power Fist, because the Power Fist is the single best melee weapon in this game currently. It does stupid damage to Terminus, stupid damage to Majoris and Extremis with its charge attack, and it has a dumb range that lets you punch into Zoanthropes and Neurothropes out of the sky, and also all the melee weapons got buffed, so it's better than ever. And today I'll be taking the Balance variant because this one has a great breakpoint hit with a 15 strength, on top of some pretty good speed and an amazing cleaving potential, and cleaving potential just tells you how many enemies you're able to hit off of like a single attack and actually damage. So say you have like low cleaving potential and you punch a guy with like a massive charge attack, you might hit like 40 guys, but you only damage like 4 of them off like the set hit limit, and this just increases that, so lets you hit more guys with charge attack and actually damage them. So very valuable for that reason. Now for the perk tree setup here, we take Perpetual Strength into Heavy Preparation. Heavy attack preparation time is reduced by 30%, applies to the following attacks: Thrust Jab, Back Fist, Hammer Hook, Back Fist 2, Thrust Jab 2. This is a super valuable perk and pretty much a mandatory perk on the Power Fist because you're pretty much only charge attacking with this weapon in the first place, so definitely S tier. Then we take Perpetual Strength, and move up to another S tier perk with Focused Intention. When your health is below 30%, you take 50% less health damage while preparing heavy attacks. This stacked with our damage reduction that we'll get into later makes you absurdly tanky on a charge attack, and it's part of the reason why the Power Fist is so damn good. You get damage reduction on top of stupid damage. And then we also move over here into Tide of Battle to make our power wave forward distance go from 4 to 8 meters. Now this actually takes it from like 10 to 20. The description's incorrect, so even better than it sounds. And then we also pick up the perk here, Following Blow. Back Fist and Back Fist 2 can be performed instantly after a charge Thrust Jab or Hammer Hook. This is actually helpful for hitting some breakpoints. And then we also pick up the perk down here, Strength of Will. Performing a heavy attack, you take 20% less range damage. It's just more range damage reduction while our actual attack is going on. And then we also pick up Majora's Slayer because damage is damage, and damage is good, and we're using a Power Fist, and this thing hits like a truck. And for our secondary weapon selection, I do take a Plasma Pistol. This one actually got buffed on its rate of fire variant this patch, and now it charges absurdly fast. Really good for getting your CHP back. Also has AoE on its gun strikes and has amazing synergy with the assault class in general. Definitely the top tier pick currently, despite its ammo problems. And for the perk tree, we pretty much just build into all ammo because unfortunately, like I said, assault does currently have like ammo economy issues, and this is the best way to solve that for now until they add something in for him. But overall, it's still the best pick by far. And for the perk tree setup, I do take Armor Reinforcement first. Non-finisher gun strikes restore 1 armor segment. This perk is incredible. Armor restore off of a non-finisher gun strike, especially in Hard Siege, is top tier for sure. Super tanky as a perk, and also stacks with damage reduction, like our flat damage reduction here for range attacks that we have on both Hammer of Wrath and Scramble targeting, because this will affect our armor as well, so Armor Reinforcement gets even more value from those. Now, alternatively, you could take Overcharge for a 25% damage increase on charged melee attacks. That will let you hit some one-shot breakpoints on the balanced Power Fist here, but overall, I really don't value it as highly as this, especially for Hard Siege, because you just get hit by so much shit in Hard Siege that like you just need the extra armor at times. And Overcharge is nice to have, but I'm not really missing it when I have this. Now, for the next perk I have is Defense Mechanism. Contested health fades 50% more slowly. Now, this is newly reworked from the Retribution perk here. It's just straight ripped from the Bulwark team perk, and it's S tier here, just like it is over there. Well, actually, it's A tier over there. It's S tier on here because it's part of our core perk tree, and is 100% worth giving up your auxiliary arsenal here and your equipment recharge, because this perk just makes the assault class flow so well. It is very hard to actually lose your HP on this class when you play them properly when you have this perk. Super strong, especially in Hard Siege. I would pretty much always take this in Hard Siege, just like Armor Reinforcement here. Now, next perk is Perseverance. While performing charge attacks, you take 25% less health damage and do not lose control upon taking heavy hits and cannot be knocked back. Now, this stacked with all of our weapon perks and the Power Fist for stuff like Focused Intention or even the perk Strength of Will, our damage reduction gets absurd while charging the Power Fist, which is part of the reason this fist is so damn good on top of its damage. because you're super tanky while charging on top of being super damaging. So S tier perk for sure here. You could take knowledge of the enemy, but this doesn't actually hit breakpoints here. You need to have like 5% more, which is kind of funny, but that's just unfortunate. Now for the team perk, I take strategic strikes. All squad members deal 20% more melee damage against extremis and terminus level enemies. We are punching bosses all the time with our fist. I value this one pretty highly. Now you could also take proven efficiency for more gun strike damage if you want to. I decided to take this one today. These are both good options. I think they're pretty replaceable with each other. Now next perk is Hammer of Wrath. After using your jump pack, you take 30% less range damage, do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and cannot be knocked back for 15 seconds. This perk is incredible. You can cycle into this over and over and over with Zealous Blow, because a ground pound kill restores jump packs charged by 10%. Since we are not taking Precision Strike for the 100% more damage, but reduced radius of 50% on our ground pound, we actually get the full radius of our ground pound while using Hammer of Wrath, and you can just trigger this very easily and punch a bunch of minors with your landing. And they did make all the ground pound damages the same, so this works the same for pretty much power sword, chain sword, whatever you want to use. And the 30% less range damage is absurdly good in this game, and a 15-second uptime is incredible. And this will trigger off of both your jump pack and Wings of Flame charges, so really good regardless of what build you want to use on it. Now down here I take Zealous Blow. A ground pound kill restores jump packs charged by 10%, like I said before. This is just a top tier pick for siege mode, period. There's so many enemies in siege mode that sometimes they come out of a portal and you'll just land over and over and over into them. It's especially good now because the ground pound has iframes on the actual landing animation now, so you can like land directly into sorcerer shields and stuff like that, spore mines. You don't have to care about anything anymore. Very strong for that reason, and that's also why I take the perk up here, Pride and Duty. After a finisher, ground pound deals 25% more damage for 10 seconds. This is the overall most damaging option when it's actually active, and it does activate a lot. It will also refund itself like the 10-second period here, and what I mean by that is if you reapply this, like you re-execute a guy while this is active, it'll reapply. It's not true for most of the perks in this game. For this one, it is. Also true for this perk here. The 15 seconds will reapply if you do another jump pack at any point, so you get the full 15 seconds again. Very useful quality of life thing there. Now down here you could also take Diligence. A fully prepared ground pound deals 20% more damage, but preparation time increases by 25%. This is mainly useful for when you don't have an execute up, but you need to like jump on one guy, but I just prefer this one overall. Now for the signature perk, I take Ample Ammunition here. Any use of jump pack reloads the equipped ranged weapon, increases its damage by 50% for 10 seconds. Now using your jump pack with Ample Ammunition and a rate of fire plasma pistol, you get like a 50% damage buff to your rate of fire plasma pistol, and this thing charges so damn fast that you get like the full benefit out of it within those 10 seconds. Really good for like jumping in a Terminator's face or even a boss at times and just nuking them. It does pretty stupid damage even without the extra auxiliary arsenal here, and with just like the prestige perk bonus for 15% from practice aim. Very strong perk, kind of my preferred for now. Now you could also take Commitment because this makes your jump pack dash functional, but I just prefer this one currently with like how he's set up. Now for the prestige perks, I take Unyielding Oath now. When charging a ground pound, you become invulnerable for 3 seconds, and I skip over Adrenaline Boost for this because we really do not need the no knockback effect anymore because we have it so often with Hammer of Wrath and the Perseverance perk here. So Adrenaline Boost kind of be skipped over, and Unyielding Oath is super good versus Chaos. You're pretty much invincible from like the moment you go up with your jetpack to the moment you land during the entire landing animation as well. You feel super strong with this combination. Unyielding Oath is definitely top tier. I think I kind of undervalued this a little bit last patch, but it's definitely better this patch because of the iframes on landing, so definitely S tier pick now. Next perk I take is Fortitude. Health increases by 15%. Pretty self-explanatory, just a health increase makes you tankier, and tankier is pretty much always amazing in this game. And Scramble Targeting. If you're surrounded by 5 or more enemies, you take 20% less damage from range attacks. So this perk stacked with this perk here off of like one jump pack charge, you're just going to have like a 50% flat range damage reduction like in a giant squad. Pretty incredible combination. That is a super chunky bit of damage reduction. If you have like a heavy on your team with Encompassing Aegis, that's a 75% damage reduction versus range attacks to your armor. You feel absurdly tanky. Very strong combination, which is why I take it here. And the next perk I take is Practice Aim. Range damage increases by 15% because Duelist is not very useful at all. This doesn't really affect your actual starting frame on the balance fist here whatsoever, and once you know the parry timings, it doesn't really do much for you whatsoever. And the Practice Aim is just a flat damage increase, which is quite boring but very useful. So that's pretty much all there is for this build, guys. really all you have to do is just cycle your Hammer of Wrath here to make sure you have that 30% less range damage active, because that is pretty mandatory versus Chaos to not get nuked. You can see it in like the upper left of your screen underneath your HP bar when it's active, and 15 seconds is a super long uptime. And when you combine this with all your other damage reduction, you are just insanely tanky. And if you do get hit for whatever reason, you get it back pretty easily with the rate of fire plasma pistol and the contested health fade of 50 decay slower. Or what the fuck did I just say there? The contested health decay rate being 50% slower is very, very helpful on top of everything else. And that really is just the best assault build at the moment, in my opinion. The only thing I might actually change here would be like overcharge for some of the operations, but in siege mode, I do think armor reinforcement is just better, especially when you hit like those later waves, because you really do need the armor at times because it becomes more valuable than HP. And armor in general is just very, very strong in Space Marine 2. And the Power Fist is also just very, very strong, and so is the assault class. And that is pretty much all I have to say about. Hey guys, first for Guardsman here, and today I'll be talking about a Thunder Hammer assault build for patch 9.0 Space Marine 2. Now the Thunder Hammer is a ton of fun to use in this game, hits like an absolute truck, especially the block buffed version, and it has amazing perk synergies with things like Zealous Blow. Now the version I've chosen here is once again the block relic tier version, because despite only having 2 speed, Aftershock and Pommel Smash on this thing really aren't affected at all, and Ground Slam is still totally usable as long as you're not building into things like Shattering Impact and Seismic Chain, which you will not be doing today. And really, this thing just hits so hard and has such amazing stagger with Adrenaline Surge charges that I actually kind of love this weapon currently. And for the perk tree setup, I just take Perpetual Strength down here and move over into Fast Preparation. Aftershock preparation time is reduced by 30%. This is a really, really powerful perk because Aftershock is like the heaviest hitting attack on this thing, period. This just makes it come out faster, so super valuable for that reason. Then move up here to Perpetual Strength, and then I pick up Extremis Slayer and Reclamation, skipping over Seismic Chain and Shattering Impact, because I really don't get as much benefit out of Ground Slam because of the 2 speed. There's a bit of a downside of this weapon, but overall it's still very much worth using with things like Ground Pound. Then I move down here, take Offense Initiated, and then pick up the perk Perpetual Strength, moving down into Aftershock Improved. Aftershock gains an additional smash. Now, since there is a CHP recovery limit per melee hit in this game, the second hit of Aftershock Improved will never give you back CHP, which does kind of suck. It's like a game limitation currently, kind of sucks, but that's just the way it is. So despite that, this is still worth taking because it is just a super heavy hitting ability, and really when using the Thunder Hammer, you just want max damage. The next perk I take here is on Minoru Slayer, and then I move up here into Majora's Slayer because Majora's level enemies are just super prevalent, and usually they're the ones that you want to kill the most. Now for my secondary weapon selection here, I do take a Rate of Fire Plasma Pistol because this thing did get buffed in patch 9.0, and now it charges incredibly fast, super good for CHP recovery. And we take the perk and our actual perk tree here, Defense Mechanism, that makes our contested health fade 50% more slowly. It is really hard for the assault with a Rate of Fire Plasma Pistol to actually lose his CHP in general if you actually charge your shots and use them properly. It is kind of ammo inefficient, but that's kind of a problem for the assault in general, which is why we build for pretty much all ammo economy here and pick up the extra perk here, Perpetual Velocity, to make it charge even faster, because usually getting your shots off is like the single most important thing, and the rate of fire on this is just indispensable in my opinion. And also the gun strikes have an AoE effect, which is super useful for the assault class with its 50% increased dodge window. Now for the actual perk tree setup, I do take Armor Reinforcement first over Overcharge. I have tried both of these perks on the Block Thunder Hammer, and even though Overcharge does make your Aftershock do stupid damage, the Armor Reinforcement perk just keeps you alive, and oftentimes with the Thunder Hammer especially, it is so slow that you need to trade into enemy hits, and armor is worth more than HP in this game due to damage caps, and being able to trade and get your armor back off of perfect dodges and things like that is just too strong to not take in my opinion. So Armor Reinforcement is the way to go for the Thunder Hammer especially. With the Power Fist, I'd probably take Overcharge at times, but Armor Reinforcement on a Thunder Hammer is just like super S tier. Next perk I take is new to patch 9.0. This has replaced the Retribution perk that used to be here. Contested health fades 50% more slowly with the Defense Mechanism. Now this perk is amazing for keeping you alive. The Thunder Hammer is slow on all variants, and having a slower fade to your CHP will just let you get your CHP back far more easily. Pretty self-explanatory here, but overall this perk is top tier on the assault class. I prefer it over Auxiliary Arsenal and Consecutive Execution, which is saying something because these are both incredible perks as well. Now next perk I take is Knowledge of the Enemy. Melee damage increases by 15% against Majora's or Extremis level enemies. This is just free damage for our ground pound with like no other prerequisites. It's just super strong option, and usually the guys you're landing on are Majora's or Extremis, and killing Minoris and stuff like that isn't really hard in the first place. Now, next perk I take here is Strategic Strikes. For the team perk selection, all squad members deal 20% more melee damage against extremis and terminus level enemies. This is just more melee damage for your Thunder Hammer, and your Thunder Hammer doing melee damage is kind of the whole point. And since we won't be taking Precision Strike, having more melee damage versus extremis especially can help you hit some breakpoints occasionally and just ground pound them off of Pride and Duty and Smiting Angel with some Adrenaline Surge charges. Very, very strong option. Though if you want to take Proven Efficiency, this one also works because even though we aren't using like a fencing or balanced weapon, since the Assault class has a 50% increased perfect dodge window, it is very easy to pull off gun strikes in this game with this class without any type of like fencing weapon whatsoever, so Proven Efficiency is still top tier for sure. Now, next perk I take got buffed this patch. Smiting Angel ground pounds damage increases by 25%. When we combine this with the perk Pride and Duty, after a finisher ground pound deals 25% more damage for 10 seconds, we have a 50% increase to our ground pound damage, and we pretty much just wipe out Minoris and Majoris packs casually. We have the perk Zealous Blowdown here. A ground pound kill restores jump packs charged by 10%. You are basically able to cycle your assault ground pound indefinitely. Super powerful combo. This is like a really classic combo on the Thunder Hammer. It's been in the game since launch, but Zealous Blow I think is like one of the best perks in the entire game currently for assault because it just generates so much value. And when you combine it with the buffed perk of Smiting Angel and the ground pound damage here and the buff damage of the block Thunder Hammer, you are just going around deleting hordes that previously were a little bit harder to do for a Thunder Hammer, so super strong option. And for the final signature perk I pick, I take Commitment. A perfectly timed dodge using a jump pack dash restores jump pack's ability charge by 1, or whatever you're using. You can actually double charge off of this with things like Wings of Flame, but we're not using that. Now, I only take this because otherwise our jump pack dash is basically unusable in this game without this perk, or you're gonna be wasting like a ground pound, which sucks. That's the only reason I actually take it. I didn't actually even use it in the game I'll be showing, but for the most part, it's just occasionally useful. Though if you want to take the perk up here, Ample Ammunition, any use of a jump pack reloads the equipped ranged weapon, increases damage by 50% for 10 seconds. This is also super valuable because, you'll ground pound with your Zealous Blow into a whole horde. You'll be 2 feet in front of an enemy. You'll have a 50% range damage boost to your super fast charging rate of fire plasma pistol and just blast their face. You can hit some breakpoints at this for sure. These are both really strong options, and this one just sucks. Now for my prestige perk selection, first up we have Unyielding Oath. Now I did not actually take this in the run I'll be showcasing. Instead I picked Practice Aim, but Unyielding Oath is a very powerful perk. When charging a ground pound, you become invulnerable for 3 seconds. I actually undervalued how useful this thing actually was because it lets you tank things that would otherwise kill you. Stuff like sniper shots, things like neurothrow beams, and some of the chip damage from Devourers. Very, very powerful perk for sure. So if you want to pick this over Practice Aim, you sure can. Next perk I think is like indispensable for the block Thunder Hammer in general, which is Adrenaline Boost. After a perfectly timed parry, block, or dodge, you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. No knockback on the Thunder Hammer especially, despite its own like hyper armor it has, is just super useful for stuff like Pommel Smash. Very strong option in general for all melee weapons, and no knockback in this game is like S tier wherever you can find it. So before Assault had this perk, he was hurting a lot, and now he is significantly better because of it. Now, next perk here is Fortitude. Health increases by 15%. This perk is just a tank perk, and tank perks for HP are good wherever you can find them, so always take this. Same thing here with Scramble Targeting. If you're surrounded by 5 or more enemies, you take 20% less damage from range attacks. A flat 20% less damage from range attacks for something that happens in this game all the time, which is being surrounded by 5 or more enemies, is very good, and the damage reduction from this actually affects armor, and armor already has damage caps. We also restore our armor with things like armor reinforcement, so very strong perk synergy there, and Scramble Targeting is some of the only damage reduction Assault has, period, so super good option. And the last perk here that I think is top tier is Practice Aim. Range damage increases by 15%. Pretty boring perk effect, but damage is damage. It's just a 15% free increase. Though today I decided to take Adrenaline Boost, Fortitude, Scramble Targeting, and Practice Aim. You could alternatively take Unyielding Oath, Adrenaline Boost, Fortitude, and Scramble Targeting because they are very, very strong perk combos regardless. And Duelist, not super useful once you know the block windows and stuff like that, and Commendation is just trash. So that's pretty much all there is for the setup of the Thunder Hammer Assault build. One more thing I want to mention is that Adrenaline Surge charges that you get from your block weapon do actually affect ground pound and stuff like that, so keep that in mind. And alternatively, if you want to take something like the Balanced Thunder Hammer, you can do that too. This thing still hits pretty hard and still benefits quite well of things like Strategic Strikes and the new Smiting Angel / Pride and Duty combo, but it's really up to you. I wouldn't really take a Fencing Hammer because 8 speed is a little excessive on a Thunder Hammer, and balanced parry windows really aren't that bad, especially on the Assault class where you can perfect dodge. Hey guys, first regards, Vin here, and today I'll be talking about a one-shot Wings of Flame Power Sword build to instantly kill Majoris Majoris in Space Marine 2 patch 9.0. Now, the Power Sword is a very entertaining weapon in this game. It has the most interesting moveset of any melee weapon, in my opinion, and today I'll be using the block version, because this one will be able to one-shot any Majoris in base. Now, you could also use the balanced version, but to one-shot Majoris with the ground pound, outside of things like Precision Strike, you will also need like Pride and Duty or Diligence, so just keep that in mind, or like an Aerial Grace trigger. Now, for the actual setup of this weapon, I do just take the perk up here first, Armored Strength. If you have armor remaining, melee damage increases by 10%. I don't usually like this perk all that much, but since we do have armor reinforcement on this class, it's actually quite a bit better. Now, the next perk I take here is pretty damn good, Master of Offense. After switching sword combat style, you deal 20% more melee damage for 5 seconds. Cooldown is 10 seconds. Now, in patch 9.0, they did fix it so that when you swap your stance out of a lunge, you can do a lunging attack again, so very, very strong. Next perk here is Perpetual Strength, and Perpetual Strength for more melee damage. We pick up the no knockback with Tranquility on our Power Whirl, and then pick up the perk Melee Onslaught for like a flat melee damage bonus, then pick up Hard Target, and then pick up a very important perk here, Cutting Edge. Power Rake deals 50% more melee damage. This is one of our strongest attacks on the Power Sword period, so a 50% damage increase to it is super strong. And I just go up here and pick up the Extremis Slayer, Majoris Slayer, and Terminus Slayer perks, and I skip over Minoru Slayer because Minoras really aren't a problem for this weapon to begin with, and then I just pick up Power Restoration for CHP regen, though you could also pick up the perk Speed Restoration. Now, for the secondary weapon, I do take the Plasma Pistol once again because we are using Wings of Flame. It will be gun striking all the time, and because of that, the AoE gun strikes of the Plasma Pistol are very useful. And also, the rate of fire Plasma Pistol is kind of insane for like getting CHP back now. It charges stupidly fast, has a pretty decent ammo economy considering, and for the perk tree, I just build pure ammo and into perks here like Perpetual Velocity for an even faster charge rate, and then pick up the extra perk down here with Divine Might for even more damage. Now, for the perk tree selection, I do start off here with Armor Reinforcement. Non-finisher gun strikes restore 1 armor segment. Now, the perk here, Overcharge, damage from charged melee attacks increases by 25%. This does actually work on our Power Rake, but I just value Armor Reinforcement way more because armor in this game saves your life, especially on the Assault class, that even with the perk here, Defense Mechanism, you can still struggle with survivability at times because we don't have perks like Hammer of Wrath, so I really do value Armor Reinforcement quite a bit. This is actually one of the best perks in the entire game, and even if you are using a block weapon or something, the perfect dodge timing of the Assault has a 50% increase, so getting gun strikes is very, very easy. Now, next perk I take is God Tier, Defense Mechanism. Contested health fades 50% more slowly. Now, this perk did get a rework. It used to be Retribution for a bonus to melee damage when you were grabbed or knocked back, but now it is the same as the Advanced Conditioning perk on the Bulwark, and it is just as good here as it is there, if not better, because you don't actually have to give up like a team perk at all. Now, Defense Mechanism just makes it so you get your HP back far more easily. With how slow half the weapons on Assault are, it is incredible, especially with the fact that you can combine this with things like your Ground Pound and charge it up, and then go back down and get your CHP back where otherwise you could not. So really strong there. Now, alternatively, you could take Auxiliary Arsenal for more secondary weapon damage, or Consecutive Execution for equipment recharge, because these are both incredible perks up here, but this one is just amazing. The next perk I take here is Knowledge of the Enemy. Melee damage increases by 15% against Majoris or Extremis level enemies. Now, this will boost up the damage of our Ground Pound quite a bit, and now they did buff the perk down here, Active Attrition. Enemies hit by melee attacks take 15% more damage for 3 seconds, but even with 15% more damage and a 3-second like timer here, I just don't like this perk as much as Knowledge of the Enemy, because this one has no prerequisites other than take the perk. I just find this one far more valuable. Now, next perk I take is Proven Efficiency. All squad members deal 30% more gun strike damage. Gun strikes happen for everybody in this game all the time, regardless of weapon type and regardless of class, so really strong perk for sure, and really I just value this a lot because we are taking Wings of Flame and Aerial Grace on top of things like Strategic Strikes just not being super valuable for this build in particular, so I pretty much always take this perk here. Now, next perk is Precision Strike. Ground Pound deals 100% more damage, but its radius is reduced by 50%. This just allows us to one-shot guys that we otherwise could not. Really, really strong option. Now, you could take some other ones like Hammer of Wrath, but I just like this one significantly more. Next perk here is Wings of Flame. A jump pack dash damages enemies along its trajectory and always works as a perfect dodge when dodging the attack. So basically, while you have this perk, every time you hit your jump pack dash, every single inch of your jump pack after the initial dodge will count for like a perfect dodge. Very, very strong, and the damage this does is not like really really small either. It's actually quite strong. So pretty much always take this if you're using the commitment perk for like a Wings of Flame build. Very, very strong option for sure. Next perk down here, Aerial Grace. After a perfectly timed dodge using a jump pack dash, you deal 30% more damage for 10 seconds. I do like this perk and I take it quite a bit, but I kind of like Diligence and Pride and Duty more. But like the actual damage here does count for more options than just ground pound, but ground pound is usually what you're doing in the first place. So it's kind of up to you. And I will say, if you are using like a balanced weapon, Pride and Duty and Diligence are probably the way to go, because they'll actually hit the break point to one-shot any Majora's with Precision Strike. Now, next perk here for the signature perk tree is the Commitment perk. A perfectly timed dodge using a jump pack dash restores your jump pack's ability charge. This is kind of mandatory for any Wings of Flame build, because otherwise you are going to run out of jump pack dashes so quickly. So pretty much always take this if you're taking Wings of Flame. Now for the Prestige perk selection, you have a couple options here. You could either take Unyielding Oath first. When charging a ground pound, you become invulnerable for 3 seconds. This one basically makes you immune to sniper shots and stuff like that. And I know a lot of people have trouble with that, so this one's actually pretty good for that. Now alternatively, instead of this perk, you could take Practice Aim for a range damage increase of 15%. That is pretty much up to you, but either way, I would take the next perk, Adrenaline Boost. After a perfectly timed parry, block, or dodge, you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. No knockback in this game just saves your life, especially when you're using a class like Assault for your melee combat all the time. So pretty much always take this perk for like any Wings of Flame build when you're not using Hammer of Wrath. And then the next perk I take is Fortitude. Health increases by 15%. Health increases in Space Marine 2 are incredibly valuable because health gives you more damage reduction the lower your HP gets, so a higher base pool means you have more effective HP at those lower HP levels. Hopefully that makes sense. A next perk here is Scramble Targeting. If you're surrounded by 5 or more enemies, you take 20% less damage from ranged attacks. This perk is some of the only damage reduction the Assault has outside of like the Hammer of Wrath perk, and the damage reduction from this does count for your armor, so unlike the perks like Conviction that are only health based. So a perk like Armor Reinforcement will actually give you more benefit out of a perk like Scramble Targeting. So Scramble Targeting also very good, and 5 or more enemies is not very hard to find in this game, so very strong perk. And the perks up here, Duelist, and the one down here, Commendation, not very good, so I wouldn't really ever take these. So that's pretty much all there is for this build setup, though I will mention once again, if you're going to be using a balanced or fencing power sword, I would pick up Pride and Duty to hit those one-shot breakpoints on the ground pound for Majora's enemies. A very strong option, but that's pretty much all there is to this build. Hey guys, first Regardsman here, and so I'll be talking about a Chainsword Heavy Bolt Pistol build for patch 9.0 Space Marine 2 on the Assault class. Now, the main function of this build will be using the perk Proven Efficiency to maximize gun strike damage, while also taking full advantage of our jump pack with stuff like Smiting Angel, Zealous Blow, and the perk here, Commitment, and also maximizing our secondary and primary weapon damage with the perks Aerial Grace, Active Attrition, and Auxiliary Arsenal on top of Practice Aim. Now for the Chainsword selection I have chosen the balanced version, because in patch 9.0 this weapon has a fat 16 strength, 7 speed, and 10 cleaving potential. Super strong to pretty much fit every niche of this build, and a balanced parry window is not the best, but it's also pretty usable in this game for gun strikes, so still totally great for us. Now for the perk tree selection, I just build it pretty standard. Just go down through Swift Recovery, moving into Full Throttle for the combo skip, and picking up the light attack perks because we do have 7 speed to take advantage of them, with Combined Onslaught, which reads that light combo attacks of this weapon deal 10% more melee damage, and the perk down here, Momentum Gain, which reads each consecutive light attack increases light attack melee damage by 3%, up to 30% for 3 seconds. So really strong perks for a light attack combo build, which we kind of take advantage of with our super fast weapon. Now, you can also use this on the fencing version. That's really up to you, but I really value the balanced one because 16 strength does help our ground pound damage and just our damage in general. Now, since I am maximizing my secondary weapon damage, I have chosen the Heavy Bolt Pistol today because this thing's headshot multiplier is very strong versus ranged Majoras and things like Someone Throw, so I really do prefer it here. Now, the ammo reserve option of this one is overall the best because ammo economy is kind of trash on the Assault class, but we also go down the perk tree here for even more ammo economy on the Increased Capacity perk, and we also pick up some pretty good synergy perks for the Assault class with things like Death Strike. After killing a Majora's level or higher enemy in melee combat, you deal 25% more damage for 10 seconds. And then we also pick up the perk here, Able Damage. After using a class ability, damage increases by 20% for 10 seconds. So you basically get a 50% damage buff to your Heavy Bolt Pistol on top of the 30% buff from Auxiliary Arsenal and Practice Aim when you actually pull off a Commitment dodge with things like Aerial Grace. So really strong combo there with the Heavy Bolt Pistol, very strong for headshot damage. And then of course I go up here and pick up the perk Tactical Precision for even more headshot damage because non-headshot damage of this gun sucks anyways, so pretty much always build for headshots. Now for the assault class perk tree, I do pick up the perk down here, armor reinforcement first. Non-finisher gun strikes restore 1 armor segment. This perk is by far the best in this first row because overcharge is terrible for the chainsword. The full throttle attack is garbage anyways. This one barely helps it, and this perk is quite literally non-functional on every single weapon except for the Thunderhammer currently because it's bugged out, and even if it wasn't, it would still be bad, so pretty much always take this. Next perk here is Auxiliary Arsenal. Secondary weapons damage increases by 20%. I take this because I combine it with Practice Aim down here for a 35% range damage bonus, which makes our heavy bolt pistol headshots hit like a truck. Very good for zone throws, for range Majoris and stuff like that. It really helps you clear them out. I really do like this perk quite a bit. Now, this row here does have incredible perks all the way down, so Defense Mechanism and Consecutive Execution are great options if you want to take those, but I am building around my heavy bolt pistol today, so I took this one. Now, next perk I take is Active Attrition. Enemies hit by melee attacks take 15% more damage for 3 seconds. Now, this perk actually applies a 15% damage taken debuff to the enemies it hits, so it's really good for bossing, and your teammates can also take advantage of that. Now, Knowledge of the Enemy, this perk is pretty damn good for your ground pounds like Nuke, Majoris, and Extremis. I'm not really building around my ground pound outside of horde clearing today, so I took Active Attrition instead. Now, the next perk I take is Proven Efficiency. All squad members deal 30% more gun strike damage. Gun strikes happen in this game all the time, and more damage on them is always great. And the next perk in my gear tree is Smiting Angel. Ground pounds damage increases by 25%. This perk has a great synergy with the perk down here, Zealous Blow. A ground pound kill restores jump packs charged by 10%, and these combined, they just give you insane horde clear potential, and honestly, Zealous Blow is just so damn good to make your jump pack more efficient on the ground pound. Say like you land on a Majoris, and there's even like 3 guys around him that you kill who are Minoris enemies, that's 30% of your charge back you would have never gotten otherwise, so very strong, which is why I decided not to take Wings of Flame today. Now, Aerial Grace, after a perfectly timed dodge using a jump pack dash, you deal 30% more flat damage for 10 seconds. Very strong perk if you properly get your jump pack dashes off, or at least your jump pack dodges off, and this also affects your ground pound, your secondary, your primary. Very strong option to like maximize damage. Now, it may take some practice on the timing of the jump pack dodge with the Wings of Flame perk. I by no means have a perfect rate of dodging on this thing, but it's still worth using regardless because this is a super fat damage buff and also feels pretty fun to use, and Commitment is basically mandatory for this perk combo because otherwise your jump pack dodge is non-functional. This really should be a passive, but it's not, so you're kind of locked into this perk if you want to like take use of your jump pack dodge. Kind of sucks, but that's the way it is. Now, for the Prestige perks, I do take Adrenaline Boost first. After a perfectly timed parry, block, or dodge, you do not lose control upon taking heavy hits, and you cannot be knocked back for 10 seconds. Now, whenever I'm not using Hammer of Wrath for like a 15-second no knockback effect, I pretty much always take this perk. Super valuable for gun strikes, stun locks, and stuff like that. Next perk I take is Scramble Targeting for a range damage reduction while surrounded. This happens all the time. It's pretty chunky damage reduction. And the next perk I take is Practice Aim for the reasons I mentioned previously. And the final perk I take is Fortitude. Health increases by 15% because this class really benefits off of increased HP, and really so is every class in this game. Now, I also want to mention, if you want to take Unyielding Oath, you can like swap it out for Adrenaline Boost, the perk here, Practice Aim, or Scramble Targeting. It's really up to you. I would probably give up Practice Aim because the range damage buff is the overall least useful here. But Adrenaline Boost, I think this is kind of mandatory unless you're using Hammer of Wrath, because no knockback, especially on the Assault, is very, very strong. And previously he didn't have this, which is why he got so much stronger when they actually gave him this Prestige perk. So great time for the Assault in general, to be honest, in patch 9.0. But that's basically all there is to say about this build. It's pretty damn fun. I did take it to the Hive Tyrant. If I was going to be fighting against Chaos with this build, I would take Hammer of Wrath and Defense Mechanism instead, and probably a Plasma Pistol. That's really up to you. And to be honest, most people just play Tyranids in this game anyways, because Chaos is kind of boring. But if you like content like this, subscribe for more, and as always, thank you for watching, guys, and take it easy. Here's some gameplay. Bye.
Jump pack review. I am the righteous sword. Another alien falls.
That guy's gonna drop that down. I'm gonna go over here. Bro, this is the range.
I am airborne ready. Xenos infestation is scary. Reload. Reloading magazine. Xenos avenging angel. You're exposed. Be an angel of death. Finishing fire. That pitiful Xenos was the horrid rot. Jump pack refuel. Commencing reload.
Alright, what's next? Oh, a bunch of range guys again.
I am the righteous storm. Xenos hunger is insatiable, but the Imperium is indomitable. Take flight and let terror fall. I'm airborne ready. The world this Xenos sought to conceal now conceals. Wrath shall reign. Jump pack refuel. Another alien falls to the Imperium's keen blade. Avenging angel of your disposal. I am the righteous storm.
Alright, those Zells, what these guys look like?
Another alien falls. Avenging
Kill
angel.
him.
Take flight on the avenging angel will dispose of the enemy summons airborne ready. Flight and let terror. The world has seen our swords consumed, now consumed its carcass. Jump! The Emperor demands your purgation!
Oh, whoops. I was in the stag room.
Let terror! I am the righteous storm! That pitiful Xenos is but horrible. Jump pack refuel. Its hammer rises to strike. I am airborne ready. Avenging angel at your disposal. Rejoice! We have more punishment to mete out! My skin crawls with the alien's thoughts. I am the righteous storm!
Weird dodge.
I am airborne ready. Swapping out. Jump pack refueled. Imperial thunder release. I am airborne ready. The Imperium's hammer rises to strike.
That's pretty much all there is to that build, guys. That is a wrap. That is the Commitment, Zealous Blow, Aerial Grace, and what's the other one I used? Oh yeah, Smiting Angel. That's the build. That's the Sanguinius approved build. Classic Blood Angel Assault, 8th Company. There you can't see the marking.